Oh, yeah. What's going on, everybody out there? Welcome back to the Sin Bin podcast, episode 4. I am your host, Moodz. Yeah. And of course, I have all my sinners up in the house with me tonight. We got the Mexicant, also known as JP. We got Mr. Saucedo, also known as Tyler. And we got Tony, the Shiner Hartman. And now the reoccurring special guest, Dan, the AI porn man. What's going on, all my sinners? Yeah.
Hello.
So he was the special guest. Now he's the
Happy April.
reoccurring special guest. I'm not really too sure if that's actually a thing. It feels like an oxymoron at this time. Reoccurring special guest. I don't know. I guess it's a
Really,
thing.
it depends on the Melusine like release schedule, right? Like if they come out with one a month, we got you, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to interfere with your guys' show or anything like that. The way that I mentioned before is that if there's a title that I feel is worth mentioning, or at least having some discussion on, then I'll ask to be on there. But if not, then I mean, this is your guys' show. I'm not trying to get in the way, so I'd rather just kind of be like here and there. Not.
Can you just say it? Just say you're sorry.
All right, my best friends Bob and Doug McKenzie. They told me to say I'm sorry. I'm just a mess. I'm my fellow Canadians. I'm gonna go watch The Pit, the best film ever made. See you guys next week. I'm out of here.
Yeah, you need a little bit more sore in your stuff.
Nobody gets. We got to give a little bit of context to that joke right there. So I was working today, and the wife sent me a message, and she said, "You know, Dan could be from Canada. He says sorry a lot on the podcast." she was doing her like 20-kilometer run, and she was listening to the podcast, and it fucking made me laugh out loud. I was
what
like, "That was so
fuck
funny."
is a kilometer?
Shut up!
Like,
stop being so American.
It's like a little more than half a mile.
Don't talk in euros.
Shit,
don't talk in.
Why don't you just do a whole mile instead of like a little over?
You do realize that the whole world operates on that, and you guys don't. So you're the outcast.
We speak
So
American.
what does
in
that
this,
tell
in this
you?
Chat.
What does that tell you? We march to the beat of our own fucking drum.
Well, then don't fucking get all
Hell yeah,
uppity,
God
uppity
bless
on that
America.
shit. If you guys are the only ones doing some shit, fucking outcasts over there. Yeah. All right,
Will
man.
you guys drive on the right side of the
man.
road as well?
Shut the fuck up. We're not that English.
You gotta stop on the road for all the sheep. Gotta pass by through.
I mean the left side of the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, episode 4.
Yeah.
We are here. We're a few days late because somebody couldn't get their shit together. We were supposed to record this a few days ago. JP was like, "I can't record. I'm not ready." You
I had
know
a
how it
rough
goes.
week, man.
Anyways, you always have a rough week, man. Excuses, but for real though, man, we got it together and we were actually be able to. This is like the only day this week we all could get together to record, so it's pretty special. It's actually happening. It's happening during the Leafs and the Bruins game. So me and Tyler are going head to head right now. He's fucking dying laughing at me right now because the game is very typical. What's happening right now?
If you see me doing this, it's because I'm watching the Bruins game.
Well, that's I got multiple people have commented on the last show because I was watching the TV the entire episode.
Yeah, I think you were actually. Every time I looked at you, you were like, fuck. But at least I've got my phone
thought you
set
were
up right
playing,
above
like,
my camera, so it actually looks like I'm looking at the camera. So if it looks like I'm being all creepy, I'm actually watching the game. But
I thought you were playing Xbox or something.
oh fuck no.
So
No, I'm
usually-
literally like it's perfectly set up, man. It's awesome. It's pretty cool.
I thought you
do
were looking at
is-
some like work surveillance camera or some shit.
Usually I'll
Supervising
put
some
on,
motherfuckers on the clock.
Right.
I'll put on one of the movies that we're covering or sports, which tonight it's sports.
Well, it's the
I got
playoffs. man.
Spectors on right now. I'm trying to remember this movie. I watched it last week. I'm like,
Spectors,
I
dude,
feel like
I watched it
I got
like
an old man brain.
3 times. Still don't remember it.
I watched it a month
Before
ago and I
recording.
can't tell you literally anything.
Yeah.
Well, we're in for a real in-depth discussion then.
Yeah. So I guess the new announcements
Yeah, they weren't out,
anything in
right?
particular that you guys were interested in for next month?
There's
Uh,
nothing that like that was like a huge like, oh man, like I'm glad that's finally coming out, or like I definitely have to see that. There's definitely like a lower month like to that degree for me, I think.
For me, it was actually really good. Like, so you get the early 80s slasher that's never been on disc that checks off a box.
What's that?
The House Where Death Lives.
Yep.
Okay.
Ooh, already got it. Look at that.
You damn right. And then Witch Story, just having a late 80s Italian movie also like in UHD for the first time. That's ridiculous. And then the Paul Schrader movie on Cinematograph. Like that's one I've never seen.
Dangerous Thing.
Yeah,
Actually,
that
great
looks
film.
cool.
It's underrated.
No, it's Touch.
Harvey
Touch.
Keitel, Madonna.
Touch.
Yeah,
Dangerous
that's
Oh, no,
gonna
I'm
be.
sorry. My bad.
Next month, yeah.
I'm
My
sorry.
bad.
I'm looking more forward to that one that we already know about, the Abel Ferrara movie.
What, Dangerous Game?
Yeah,
How do we know about
Okay,
that?
yeah.
I'm really excited about that.
that's
But then, yeah.
that's the halfway to Black Friday pre-sale.
Okay.
And then you
Yeah,
got a Rothrock movie. So it's a
Oh, yeah,
win-win.
Lady Report.
Yeah, I had just watched. I picked up the Eureka of Lady Reporter and watched it like a few weeks back. That shit is like, fuck. It's got the best dub of all time, dude. It is fucking hilarious, and that
No
end
shit.
fight scene is so good, man. Oh, dude, it's so worth it. It's really fun. I think it's
Yeah,
actually notorious for having like a hilarious dub for it. So you gotta like you have to watch it. It's so good. But
I'm
I mean,
definitely watching the
the announcements for me, the only one that I was like, I really didn't know much about was the Paganini film that Klaus Kinski directed.
Yeah.
I actually didn't really know much about that one. I was like,
I
shit.
still don't know much about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've never
everything
heard of
else I
that.
was familiar with. I knew about them and stuff, but that one kind of caught me off guard.
I've
the first
not
thing
heard. I
said,
didn't hear of a single one of these movies.
Yeah, the first thing I said when I saw that announcement, I was like, Kinski directed movies? Like,
Yeah, one.
yeah, like I fucking had no idea. I obviously, yeah, just don't know.
How does that
much
man
shit.
direct actors?
Yeah.
Did any of you get that movie?
What?
No.
The Paganini?
Yeah, well, I got the whole package, so it comes.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I didn't get that one. It's
I'm gonna check
not
it out.
my style.
I'm just curious. I mean, I like the horror film that was based on Paganini a little bit, but
So yeah, stay tuned to the end of the episode for what we will be covering next month, which will actually be sooner rather than later.
yeah, it'll be just weeks apart. Oh yeah, because we're doing different. What the?
We're
oh yeah,
actually like we were actually going to record a week earlier. This is usually the week we've been recording.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
one thing I gotta bring up
Yeah.
is like Moodz and his crybaby cheese about not being around for the picks.
dude.
What's up with the crybaby cheese?
Because I'm always I'm busy, and then I literally
You know
get
when the
scraps.
announcements come out?
I get scraps every time, and I'm like, bros. I even said, so this is the episode 4. I didn't care, like first episode, whatever it was. Second one, I was like, okay, whatever, and I'm like, fuck you guys last time, and it happened again. I'm
Well,
like, no
these
way.
two fucking losers, Tyler and Tony, are literally up at the ass crack of dawn making their picks. I'm pretty much last besides you, and I'm you normally late. So
Well, this made sense, like for this week though, like with the
I
double feature of
disagree.
Spectors
I was
and Maya.
very disappointed in how you guys played out this.
Well, no, I mean, 'cause
Oh, this was like my ideal thing. That's why I only had to get the 2 movies I wanted to get.
yeah,
was
but no
perfect.
one is going to pick Singapore Sling except for you. But this
Yeah,
double
I
feature
feel
didn't
like
make
I
sense,
don't know
JP, to do both.
Not this month.
It didn't make
Yeah, the
sense to do
next one.
both. It made sense to split them up.
Well, I'm glad
and at
I
least
didn't
give me
fucking
one
do
of the
both.
fucking Italian films.
I was
The great
talking
thing
about
is nobody
next
wants the
month.
porn title, so I'm all set with that. You know, I don't got to worry about anything on that.
No, it has nothing to do with
I'm
Thor,
like,
but
which one will I pick this month that no one else will pick?
it's more than what I want to talk about, really. And I was
right.
like,
well,
I
next
hear
month it was kind of weird because there was no like I don't know, there was no like big title to me, so it was like kind of a weird thing
I feel like
for next month.
Touch was definitely the best choice for the featured review.
You guys
Just-
know better than me. The only reason I was mad about that is because had I known that, I would have picked Witch Story just because it looks the coolest, looks most interesting to me.
Yeah, see, this was perfect for me because then I could get the one movie from the partner label that nobody else wanted, and then I also wanted Touch. So if I could somehow make that the group movie,
What
Dude,
movie from the partner label?
what's up? That's
What
that's a
movie from the partner
secret.
label?
Yeah,
It's a secret.
you'll find out. You'll find
Yeah.
out.
Interesting.
Oh,
I mean, we
another
do
bit of
steer
news.
like towards the more mainstream picks for our main feature, though. So I mean,
Sure.
just in that touch made
I
sense.
didn't really know the touch. I don't know anything about it, so
I
I don't know
just
anything about it, but Paul Schrader is one of those guys. Like, I'll just watch literally any movie Paul Schrader's made.
yeah, that's kind of the thing. And plus, I mean, it has a lot of familiar faces in it. I mean, it's got a great cast and stuff. It's got a pretty cool narrative to it too. So, I've never seen it. I know about it, but it just felt like it was something that we could have more of a better discussion about.
probably. Um, one other bit of news, I believe, was it Def Crocodile that left Vinegar Syndrome?
Yep.
Starting to get a little suspicious of what's going on over there at the Vinegar Syndrome
I
playground.
don't really think it's suspicious. I just think it makes sense. Like, I think that these labels get on there, they get a bunch of exposure, and then they're like, I don't feel like splitting the profits anymore.
Well, dude, okay. So from a business vantage point, it makes complete sense for these companies to build up their exposure through a bigger label as in Vinegar Syndrome,
Yeah.
right? And then leave 100%. But as for the fan and the consumer like us, it makes literally no sense because me and Tony were talking about, I think it was me and Tony, about so there's a bunch of these sub labels that have left that we would like to collect their ship, and I'm not going to 5 different websites and paying 5 different shipping prices when it was all at one site and I could just pay the one ship, or if not even pay the shipping usually, and get all those titles. It doesn't make sense for me to do that now. It honestly,
Yeah.
it just doesn't make any fucking sense, and it sucks for me because I really like Fun City Editions. I had everything they had up until the point they left, and it just really is frustrating to me that I want those, but I'm like, their shipping really does suck for me. It's not worth it. It
Yeah,
doesn't make the
especially you
titles
in
worth it.
Canada.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, if I wanted to go and get some Def Crocodile stuff, and actually TerraVision was the other one that really pissed me off because when Fun City left
TerraVision
in
kind of blew
TerraVision,
up after they left.
well, that's what I'm saying, and I get it. I'm not mad at them or nothing. I mean, I'm just being selfish because I'm not even. It's not even a selfish thing. It's more just a realistic thing that like the shipping prices are outrageous. They're crazy. But like TerraVision and Fun City, I was like, there's no way that I'm paying $50-$60 for shipping for a few movies. It's just not happening, man. And
Right. Well, I was
I
talking to you
bought
about
one
that
or two.
recently, Moodz.
I don't have one Fun City edition since they left, and I have, I think, 2 TerraVision, but I got them through different areas. I didn't go through the website. My buddy has a shop in town,
Right,
and
right.
he actually
No.
brought in some TerraVision titles, and I got them at a relatively good, cheaper than it would have cost me to get them there. So he gets it at cost, right? So that was pretty cool, but otherwise, not happening. Sucks.
Yeah, that's the thing, because I was talking about this recently, and because I mean, up until they left, I think the last release they had before they left was either Breathless or Party Girl, one of the two from Fun City, and I had all the releases, I had all the slips and all that.
It was
Not that I care about the
Breathless.
slips, but I just had them. Okay, then then I happen to have Party Girl as well. So even I look at something like when they were putting out a title like the Coca-Cola Kid, which I'm not really a big fan of, and I knew that when I bought it, but I was like, okay, I'll still buy it, part of the package. When I see Heavenly Bodies, which I know is a big cult film and people love it and that's fantastic, that's great, I'm not really a fan of that film. I am less inclined to go out of my way to purchase that film knowing I'm not a big fan of it than if I was like, oh, I'm already buying these other partner label titles. And I understand, I think we were talking about this in the group chat. I understand there's been some talk about some of the profits kind of issues and all that. I'm not going to pretend like I know what I'm talking about. But like, I'm looking right now at my Primetime Panic box set. That's one of my favorite box sets I own. I want to buy the second volume. I just haven't got around to it for my own, negligence, because it's sort of like, oh, well, it's one thing to add to the cart. It's another thing to like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to pay a separate shipping rate for solely this. Now, if you're buying like 5 titles, that's one thing, but, I'm not going to just buy 5 titles just so I can like justify it to myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and those are tough too. I want that box set too, but like the shipping gets jacked on it because it's a box set, and it's just like, I'm just,
especially for you again,
$80-$90 for a box set after shipping and conversion. I'm like, no. I'm like, no, right. That's just not happening.
I personally do not think that like most of these companies will sell even a fraction of what they sell now on Vinegar Syndrome's website.
That's exactly what I said.
Off. Now, TerraVision, I do think is a unique case because I do think that TerraVision was genuinely putting out like stuff that a lot of people were interested in like they sort of do like the contemporary stuff, and then the shot on video and the weirdo movies.
Yeah, their range is crazy.
Their range is really, really good. And a lot of the stuff they do, Leaf scored. And a lot of the stuff they did. Look at his face.
That was smooth.
Honestly, I'm fucking behind on this shit because I'm fucking seriously behind because I'm watching Tavares take the fucking face off right now.
Okay.
What the don't fucking say that shit. They still haven't scored. I'm sure.
Haven't scored.
Oh, there it is. Oh, nice.
Perfect.
Oh, dude, that's so gonna get reviewed.
Wait, that's illegal, right? You
High
can't swat it like that, can you?
No,
No,
as
you
long as
can't.
if it's under
Above the goalpost.
crossbar, if it's under the crossbar, it's
I think
totally
that was
legal.
above.
But if it's above, then fucking was that Bertuzzi who scored? Oh, that's fucking hilarious. Tyler's gotta be hating that shit, man, because he was big for Boston.
But TerrorVision, I think, is a pretty unique case where I feel like a lot of these labels, most of their success is directly being attached to Vinegar Syndrome. And it's not to say that they're not putting out quality stuff. It's just that like whenever it comes to the convenience of, hey, it's everybody buys Vinegar Syndrome these days. The convenience of, oh, let me see what the partner labels are. Okay, I'll grab this one and this one. You know what I mean? Versus like, I can tell you right now, a very low % chance that I would go buy a Def Crocodile release now.
I'm telling you, man, it's the fucking
Yeah,
Walmart
very
effect,
slim.
though. It's the Walmart effect, man. Like Walmart has fucking everything in one spot, and people go there because the prices are right. Everything's in one spot. It's like Vinegar Syndrome shop. Like they had all these companies that were right in one spot. You got the sales and shit. You start adding shit to carts. Like I'm not clicking over to 5 different sites and doing that shit. If it's at my convenience at that website, I'm gonna click away on these, and that's how I ended up with so many partner label stuff. I'm like, oh, that looks cool. That looks cool. Like I'm not fucking going and searching the whole fucking black dark web and shit for fucking, you know, certain titles and shit. It's just
yeah.
And it's also a way to discover new titles as well, because
fucking told you. Fucking told you. Oh, look at these fucking Americans. Look at these fucking Americans fingering and shit. Fucking fingering. What are you gonna start chanting USA again? USA.
I hope so.
Shut
That'll be
up.
awesome.
Every fucking
Yeah,
player in the
let that
building's
go
Canadian or
away, too.
Hey, a
European.
round of applause for America. We can't stop winning.
I'm just saying, I thought it was so funny because like 95% of the players in these games are Canadian and European.
Wow, they called that a goal?
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
No, they
Tony,
did.
what are you drinking?
I
did.
knew it right away
They
when I
do.
saw that swap by Bertuzzi. I was like, that looked a couple inches over the crossbar.
Yeah.
What is that? I
Oh,
can't
they
see
scored
it.
anyway? Oh, they scored in the power.
Oh, it's
that-
Halloween 3 koozie.
Official.
Oh, that's
Oh,
awesome.
Ah, very
That's
cool.
my favorite.
I got my Vinegar Sling from Koozie here, so we're Koozie brothers, I suppose.
Very nice.
Nice.
No goal.
I
Yes.
definitely bought that Vinegar
Yeah.
Syndrome
No
grinder.
goal.
Dude, Tyler's
I know you
way
did.
fucking behind.
I don't know,
Definitely
like,
Oh, I
he's in
forgot.
Boston.
I paused it. I was wondering. Oh my god. I forgot I paused
The
it.
listeners are like, what the hell's going on right
Oh,
now?
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
No more hockey talk.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's
but-
just kind of like, okay. But
yeah,
anyway,
22
you guys,
shots of tangents is fine.
you guys understand it though. It's like the convenient factor of the Vinegar Syndrome website was amazing.
Yeah. And I mean, I do pick up like, I don't pick up as much as you guys. Like I don't collect any other of the labels, but like if there's a title like, you know, Calvert or something like that I'm a fan of, Leaf scored. I'm a
Dude,
He's trolling you this
fuck?
time.
That time they did for
They
real.
did not just score.
Yeah, they did for real this time. It was Tavares, it looks like.
Well, it still hasn't fucking happened. So, man, I'm like way behind. That's crazy. It's probably because I'm streaming it on the.
I'm
on the
streaming
app,
it
so-
too.
Yeah, Johnny T.
But no, you know, so I mean, I wish Def Crocodile the best and stuff. I heard they're gonna do their own subscription service and stuff too, but just out of a purely selfish reason, I prefer if they would be on the Vinegar Syndrome label.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would be more likely to pick up.
I feel like
titles
the
from them.
majority of the really popular ones have actually left.
Yeah,
But it
yeah,
makes sense
because
because
they
they
get
got
popular
because
and
they
then
got
they're like-
popular.
they see all
Yeah,
these sales
and
and they're like,
Culture
oh,
Shock.
shit,
I had every
like,
title from Culture
I
Shock,
could
and then
be
they
making
left.
all this myself.
Yeah, and I had everything from Culture Shock too, and like they left, and I haven't even been to their website yet.
They haven't released anything, I don't think.
No, like what the fuck did they bring?
What were they doing?
They were releasing
They've
shit that I
kinda-
love.
They've kind of become like a partner label of TerrorVision. because like their sister
These
company,
these
like
things are morphing
Greyface,
into their own Vinegar syndromes
right?
now.
Like
It's
they
like
become
Akira.
their own
Just-
Could you
distribution
imagine
It is
company.
kinda
all of a
smart,
sudden
though.
Def Crocodile and fucking Fun City all of a sudden go over there and they're sister labels with TerraVision too? I'd be like, what the fuck's you would
It's
have to
kinda
question
like-
that shit.
Beef.
It's like all these other like small niche labels you can buy during the Kino sale. It's kind of the same thing.
Well, it's
You
because
get to
Kino,
get it.
it's
Like
because
Scorpion
Kino,
and Kino.
because Kino has a huge fucking distribute. They distribute so many different types of companies' releases,
Yeah,
so they sell them
so-
on there. That's why they do that. But yeah, it's just because they have that deal, right? So, but
Yeah.
Kino's nice because the cool thing about Kino though is that they have so many sales and they always have like shit that's priced right. Like they don't
Yeah,
sell
they
their
have
shit
very
expensive
manageable
anyways.
prices.
affordable, fan-friendly company out there.
Yeah,
I agree
Kino's
with
a
that.
really Kino's an underrated
100%.
company. They're like the unsung heroes of physical media because like they release so much shit in different genres that's really fucking quality good transfers. And like all the other big players get all the specs and all the clout and shit like Vinegar
And
Syndrome.
they actually have like good features as well.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
I've
The
always
only
thought
thing
Kino
is
did
like
good transfers.
they don't do like the big slip covers and like crazy editions really, which I'm fine with. I don't
Yeah,
really
not everything has to be that.
No, it doesn't. I mean, for fuck's sakes, you look at their Kino Classics line and every spine is black.
Yeah, I love paying
Not
$9.99 for like some of like like I'll just
No, the
see,
Kino
like,
Classics, it's all like not the
Yeah.
old
Oh, the
school ones.
Kino
all the Kino
Classics,
classics, yeah. But like I love paying $9.99 for like this random western with like
yeah.
Henry
Like, I do not feel
Fonda
bad
and
blind
Burt
buying-
Lancaster.
Yeah,
sure.
like they have such good sales that like even with the conversion and the shipping and stuff, it's still way cheaper for me to buy on their sales than it is any other
It's
time.
Kino Classics Pink. What the hell are you talking about?
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Oh.
You see that?
No, that's the old classics. I'm talking like their black classic line. You know what I mean?
Oh,
They have
they're
like their
contemporary
old
ones?
school line. They have their like their 30s and 40s, 30 silent films and shit. They all look
Yeah.
different.
That's
But
true.
Yeah, Kino's
I'm a big
great.
Kino fan.
yeah, I have a massive Kino collection, but they just release so much stuff I love because I love fucking obviously horror films. I love spaghetti. They released a ton of spaghetti westerns. They released a ton of noir films and shit. Like I love all that shit, right? So he has some great
and-
comedies and stuff.
You guys
Yeah, I
collect
mean,
any of the
there's
Kino cult
some-
line?
Nah, I've
Hell
kind of
no.
stayed away from that.
I have
They
all
haven't
5 of them.
really-
I have the first 5. The 6th one was like this weird comedy that I think I've actually seen before, and I think I might remember liking. I can't remember, but I haven't picked it up though. But I do have the
Yeah.
first 5.
The only one I've picked up is the Transmutations.
Yeah.
And it looks really good on 4K.
That movie sucks though.
It's yeah.
Dude,
I wish
that
it was
movie's
a lot
that
better.
movie's super frustrating because it has such a great idea, and it just doesn't have the budget to push it forward. And
Yeah,
it
it doesn't
looks
have the budget.
phenomenal. It looks
just-
so good.
There's so many things holding it back.
Yeah.
Like I felt so bad for it.
They put out Lord of the Exorcist. That movie's a fucking snoozer if I've ever seen one. I got that Mondo DVD somewhere here. That movie fucking sucks.
Yeah, it's not one of Franco's better films, that's for damn sure. But
Mhm.
I don't mind it.
I've
though.
heard people really like it though, but I didn't like it.
Yeah, I don't actually
I'm
mind it.
pretty sure
I have
this
the
was-
old Mondo DVD too, and I was like,
Oh
"Ah."
shit, Dan, you got the old school shelving units, the homemade.
No, I built these.
Yeah,
I got a
I
small
know.
shelf over there.
yeah.
That's what he was saying. Old
This-
school
Yeah, that's what
homemade.
I'm saying. I have the same one.
Oh, cool.
Even though your alignment's a bit off, bro.
No, it's just the way that the camera's angled because I'm stacking on DVDs and it's like
I don't
the angle
know, it
like
looks
it's
off.
not good. I'm also I stand like this half the time, so it
Yeah,
kinda
mine
works out
probably
for me,
looks
so,
like
I'm, like
my
walking
CD
at an
shelves
angle.
probably look like that too because it's just the way it is.
Well,
No, I
now
mean,
it looks,
I
now it
mean
looks
where the-
crooked. Now
where they
I've never
meet.
noticed it, but it
Where
looks
they meet.
crooked now that you said that.
Yeah, it's not. It's just
There's
my
a
have
wire.
this- I
like,
have
my,
to the
my
side, that's
laptop's
why I
actually
got
not sitting flush. It's actually crooked right now.
All your
Because
guys'
my-
shit looks crooked.
My camera's like wicked crooked. It just,
The reason I
whatever.
love Dan's shelving units is they save the maximum amount of space and they cost about $20 to build like a giant one, like 4
Here,
foot
take a look at
wide.
this.
Yeah.
Here, I can
Sick
should
shit.
show you a bit of thing. So it goes all the way up to the ceiling, like literally up to the ceiling,
Ooh.
and then down to the literal ground, and that's just the entire wall is just that.
Yeah,
So,
mine are the same
exact.
exact.
Next,
Mine
50
are done the
bucks.
same way.
50
I have an
bucks for the
entire
wood,
bed-
the screws, the nails, everything.
I have an entire bedroom that's like that too, with shelves in the middle.
Yeah, I
great.
can't compete with Moodz. That's insanity.
Yeah, but
It's actually not
the
even-
interesting
it's
thing
not
about
even
those
cool anymore.
shelves though is there's no under part. It's just a 1x2.
Yeah. I mean, it's simple to do. If I can do it, anybody can. So it's sort of like just take the time, do it, save yourself money.
Yeah.
You know. But I understand different living situations. People may not be able to drill through the walls and stuff. I'm just saying that if you're able to, go for it. But if not,
Yeah.
it's
It's the most
it's not
affordable
a game.
shelving possible.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these are not that cheap, but they're not that bad. I got like 2 big ones like that.
Yeah.
I like Tyler's
Okay,
stuff.
so-
I like when you walk into his house. It's a story for another time. But sorry, JB, go on.
Like
Sorry.
those shells, like they're not.
Well,
that,
you
they're
can't start a
130.
sentence and then not finish it because listeners are gonna be like, "What the hell was he gonna say?"
All they heard was
that actually did sound exactly like what he said.
Sorry.
You don't have to forget about it. Let's move on.
Okay, so I guess tonight I'm first, right?
Yeah, I guess we'll get in. Yeah, we should probably get into these reviews. I don't know how long we've been going for, but people are probably sick of hearing us talk about hockey and fucking shelving units. So, but anyways,
Well, one
um,
second though, before we get completely away from it. As someone who buys Def Croc regularly, this actually really bums me out. Not only for like the selfish like discount reason, but I guess the reason they wanted to get away. There's like a whole hour and a half interview on like the Disconnected YouTube channel. That's the guy's channel, the Disconnected. I listened to it a few weeks ago where they kind of talk about why they left, and I guess the biggest thing is they wanted to do bigger like editions, and I guess it's just something that like wasn't possible like in like the situation they were in. But the thing is, like, you can buy them all exclusively at Diabolic now. But the thing is, I guess they're all gonna be like really spicy editions and be like $40-something like each. And I liked paying.
And raising them out.
Yeah, that's
what I mean.
That's
Like,
not a good thing.
no,
to me.
for some of those movies that are like, if you get those things on sale for 20 something or whatever, you're like, oh fuck, I'll take a chance on this shit. It looks pretty good, but I'm not paying double that.
yeah.
I
It's like
could
for
see
cardboard.
I could see why Vinegar Syndrome as a business wouldn't want to, and I'm not even saying this is what happened, but wouldn't want to do like premium editions for their partner label stuff.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like $40 editions for their part. Like I am not buying $40 editions from the partner labels. Like
Yeah,
any
I
of them.
think
I don't care.
one of the titles they announced too was Feliday, which I might
which
pick up.
is a tough one because
Yeah.
I do love that movie.
Like I might pick that up, but it's like maybe I would have preferred, like a $27 version. I could have bought on Vinegar
Yes, I
Syndrome.
definitely would. I don't
Been
need
like,
a
what's-
crazy. I
Oh,
honestly,
shit, they,
I don't
they,
really
they released
even
that,
need-
didn't they? Fuck.
No, they're going to.
Oh, they're going. Oh shit. Okay,
Yeah.
that's
But-
awesome because that movie's fucking awesome.
Honestly, I'll
Honestly,
probably pick up a special edition of that. That movie's really cool.
I guess all their editions
Yeah,
are
it's
gonna have
really
like a
good.
60-page, like a little like 60-page essay booklet, which is
Dude, I don't
cool.
care
But it's
about
like I don't like I don't want
essays.
to buy that on every like release.
Yeah,
Well,
I know.
Tyler, I
I,
think
just give
that
me a
you,
standard edition. Unless it's like a movie that's like one of my favorites, I don't
Yeah.
need like a jam-packed crazy edition.
Yeah, I mean,
Just
I'm
give me
the
the
sa-
$20 version
Yeah.
that has the movie and the features, some of the features. Okay. So getting into tonight's films. Originally I was gonna do Spectors as well as Maya. Glad Moodz talked me out of that one because I wouldn't have remembered shit after doing 2 and all the features. But so yeah, Spectre. So these are both directed by the same guy. Pull up my thing here. So Marcello Avallone directed these 2 films. Pretty much the only 2 horror films he's directed. I think he did a thriller in the 90s, I want to say. I don't think it has a release over here. It stars really the only person that I know, you guys might know other ones, is Donald Pleasance, which I was actually even surprised. I didn't even know he was in this.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Dude, Donald Pleasance was fucking knocking those fucking Euro films out the park in this time, man. He was in so many of them.
Well,
Phantom of Death.
yeah, I think he after he sort of became super established. Well, I mean, he'd been established for so long. I think from what the special features was kind of saying was he was kind of just more interested in doing films that would get allow him to travel, which I guess your Italian films are pretty good for that,
Yeah.
especially
I've
if they're
heard
filming in
actors
Rome.
say things like that about being like in low budget 80s movies, like in Italy for like Full Moon and stuff.
I feel like he just stayed in Italy for a few years and just did everything that was fucking thrown at him.
Hell yeah, he like walked off
Yeah.
one set and walked on another.
That's what I feel like, man, because there were so many around this time period that he was in.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
crazy.
like you had
why
like
go
all
back?
these.
Why go back to England?
Yeah, we always talk about how all these like Italian guys from this time period were like just like working guys and just like we're just cranking out movies. Like I'm sure you could just get for hire work. If
I
you
mean,
had, like,
Pleasance wasn't just new to him to start doing Euro. Like he'd done a lot of shit too, right? Over the
oh yeah,
years.
he was
Like he
just
was
he just
always
loved being in
traveling working
movies.
guy, man.
Yeah, he's in like 200 fucking movies. He just
It's
loves
crazy. Like his
being in
filmography
movies.
is fucking nuts, dude. I'm still finding films. I'm like, holy shit, Donald Pleasance was in that film.
You'll always find like
Nuts.
random like cult shit, especially if it's like English from like the 60s that like he'll pop up in like all over like he's like randomly in like Wake and Fright. Like he's all over the place.
Wake and
Yeah.
Fright is actually one of my favorite roles that he ever did because like Donald Pleasance shit-faced all movie, like for real, is fucking the best shit ever, dude. Like he was literally drinking his ass up while he was making that movie. It's fucking awesome.
Well,
Like
then you
even
even
like
go
him showing
back.
up in like Circus of Horrors and shit like that. He's fucking awesome, dude. Like, man, so many cool
Yeah,
movies.
he's just like an all. Yeah, he's in so much like just cool like cult stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, this one, 1987, so sort of a later Italian film. Um, pretty much the giallos had dried up at this point, and you did start to get a little bit more of like a supernatural horror film coming out of Italy at this time, I'd say. And this one follows a group of archaeologists who are at some site in Rome, and then there is, I believe, a subway that they're excavating, and it basically causes a cave in, which sort of opens up sort of secret area in these catacombs. They start to investigate in these catacombs, and there's some sort of pagan evil shit that gets released and basically does evil shit. So the plot of this movie is, man, this one it feels like it takes a while to get going. There's some a lot of dialogue scenes that are a little boring to me. The one saving grace for this movie for me is the location's cool. I like the catacombs and stuff like that. Donald Pleasance does pretty damn good for what he's working with. The mood and atmosphere is actually pretty solid. You got some good fog, you got some good dark, creepy setting in the underground, and then you even have like there's a scene where there is like they're filming like a movie with a Creature from the Black Lagoon movie, and like that scene is actually like pretty amazing. Like it feels like a Universal film made in the 80s. It's like pretty nuts. I got heavy like Carpenter vibes in this one, particularly the Prince of Darkness. Something
Nice.
similar with the whole evil awaken type thing. Feels very similar to how like Prince of
It's
Darkness
exactly
does
what they
that.
were doing, JP.
Yeah,
Okay,
now
it's
that you say
exactly-
that,
no, it's
yeah,
exactly-
that makes so much sense.
Yeah, it's exactly what they were doing.
Yeah.
Speaking of Carpenter, did you notice the Halloween awkward reference at the end of the film with Donald Pleasance?
No.
What was it?
What was
I
it?
know I didn't write down the whole quote, but it was a quote where he was like, "I saw evil."
Yeah.
darkness in his eyes.
I remember it now.
What?
I remember it.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
fuck.
So there's some there's a little bit of nudity, there's some gore, creature effects. The effects artist is Sergio Stivalletti, very famous effects artist out of Italy. There is I don't recognize any. Do you recognize any of the other actors? I'm sure they're in other things. You know, Italian stuff.
Yeah, I do. I don't know if I could place them in certain things, but I do. I think fuck, what's his name? Maybe I don't. I don't know. All Italians look the same to me.
Well,
I didn't recognize another person.
No,
this is actually filmed in English too, so it's not one of the dubbed Italian films. So this,
but they still dubbed these films though. It was funny because he didn't use live sound in this. It was kind of an old school. I mean, at this point in Italian films, they were recording with live sound. We all know, if you know your history of Italian films, they always record without live sound, and just did the dubs. But he actually really believed and loved using the dubs and stuff like that. So even Maya was recorded and it was done in everybody in Maya's English speaking, in fact, actually, and they dubbed it. But there's one unfortunate thing for that movie, and I'll get to in my review, but about the dubbing. But it was weird. It was because at this time period, it was pretty much all predominantly done in English and with live sound. So it was weird to see these two movies have the dubs. Mm. It was really strange. They actually talk about it they talk about it on the commentary of Maya, actually, how strange it was. And I noticed it too. I'm like, I was very surprised to see these movies dubbed, but it is what it is.
I didn't even think twice about it.
No, I mean,
just being an Italian movie.
Yeah, it's a thing. Like, it's just when it comes to this period, they started using live sound just the way it was, and then it was just. And I noticed it right away. I was like, "What the fuck?" I'm like, "That's crazy." At least Pleasance actually dubbed his own voice, but so
there's actually an Italian dub on the discs as well, and
yeah,
also a little side note: the stereo mix was like, I guess, shitty, so they didn't use it. They just
I think they said the left side or something like that had like some weird crackling.
Yeah,
and they could not get rid of it, so they just produced both movies. Actually, I guess they just put them out in the mono soundtrack, which I'm fine with. I'm fine with
too, honestly, especially like older movies like this.
Yeah.
Doesn't really bother me.
No. Yeah, they sound perfectly
fact for you guys.
And they
I got a fun fact here.
Yeah?
John Pepper, who plays the character Marcus, you remember Marcus in the film? Because I certainly don't.
Yeah, he's the main character.
He was the second assistant director on Ghostbusters.
Wow.
Just found that out now.
Okay.
Wow.
That's all I got.
He went from Ghostbusters to Spectors.
There's so much. I would also say there's definitely some shades of like Gates of Hell Fulci going on in here as well. Actually, there's one part in the score where I thought House by the Cemetery started playing.
Honestly, like the last
that's funny. I didn't catch that.
The last act of the movie just felt super Fulci-esque.
Yeah, which is probably the best stuff in the entire movie is like the last act. You got some like creature design going on that you don't really see a whole lot. No. It's a little goofy, but it kind of fits the tone.
Kind of reminded me of like the dude from Crawl. You guys remember Crawl?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Crawl. Yeah, man.
Yeah, the Crawl, the alien from that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's the way that I'll describe it is if you were to be up late at night and you were flipping through channels or something and this was on, it would be like a pretty cool time waster. But it's not breaking down the doors of cinema or anything. Although I will say, in terms of like cinema itself, it's pretty well like put together on a technical level. I just think that the script could have used a little more oomph and a couple more scenes to a couple more horror scenes. And although I do love the slow burn atmospheric nature of certain aspects of this film, I feel like it could have used a little bit more like kills or just crazy shit happening, honestly. Like think of like a Gates of Hell film. Like if it had a little bit more crazy shit like in a Gates of Hell film, it honestly could have been like really good. But overall, I think it's decent, but nothing crazy. I give it a 6.5 out of 10. For the special features, there's an audio commentary with Troy Haworth and Eugenio Eric
Nailed
Olani.
it. Nailed it.
Eric Olani.
He's still going on
Jesus.
that.
And it was a pretty decent commentary. I like Troy Hallworth on the commentaries, film historian commentary. A lot of it was talking about sort of like Italy at the time and like what types of movies were being made. A lot of filmmakers were making movies for the American audience at this point, right? Like it was
100%.
I mean, even Argento started doing that around this time, where you were specifically making your film with American release in mind.
Hence Demons in producing that movie was all about American.
Yeah. The floor sort of fell out from underneath of cinema in Italy for whatever reason in the sort of mid 80s. And it became much more profitable to sort of make your film for America.
The reason why the shit fell out in Italy in like the mid to kind of late 80s, early 90s and stuff was the rise of just the popularity of television and being able to watch movies at home. So they just started producing a lot of TV movies, and people were just like
the video store.
They basically said fuck cinemas in Italy, and they were just content with watching movies at home, and it just murdered the theatrical film and essentially kind of killed the whole genre of filmmaking in Italy in general, because these guys didn't want to make movies for that mark. They wanted theatrical releases and stuff. Like, you know, Howarth and those guys, they talk about even Fellini's last movie that came out in the early 90s. He couldn't even get theatrical, man. You know, like Fulci couldn't get budgets. You know, Argento had to go to different means and stuff with Suave and stuff. And everything was changing so drastically. And this was right at the point too, like 87, 88 is where it just went to complete shit. Like it just went from here to like, boom, these big time directors, and they couldn't get anything done. So they said, fuck it. And the whole industry just kind of fucking fell on its face. But I mean, we saw that just from a fan standpoint. You could see it in the films. But these two films are actually quite interesting for this time period. But we'll get into that in a minute. Are you done?
Well, I'm just going through the special features now. Yeah. So commentary pretty decent. I like when people talk about like sort of the history of cinema and especially like eras. So that's always good. And then, dude, honestly, like there is a lot of special features, like in terms of pure time. It's over like 2 hours of special feature of not including the commentary of like the.
Did you listen to did you watch the whole commentary on Spectors?
Yes, I did.
Nice.
Little Roman Ghost, 28 minutes. It's an interview with the director / writer, co-writer, Marcello Avallone. This was pretty cool. It was kind of interesting for a filmmaker that obviously never popped up in the Italian horror month, probably because he really only did 2 horror films and we typically do 3. It was pretty interesting to sort of hear like his history, and he was close with Riccardo Freda. He did work for Pupi Avati, which is interesting because you almost never hear him brought up.
For who?
Avati be pooping.
And he sort of just goes into like his influences and stuff. Big influence with American cinema. He actually really wanted to go make movies for American cinema. People like Spielberg and Lucas and Polanski sort of all caught his eye. Pretty interesting little sit down interview with a guy who I knew nothing about. And then there is a 27-minute interview with the producer Maurizio Ted Esco. I don't fucking know, dude.
You got it.
Paranormal Roman Activity, which was more of sort of like the similar thing. I wish I had my notes here, but I do not have my notebook. Forgot it. But from my memory, I don't think that one was as interesting. And then Little Spectors, Little Demons. This is a 27-minute interview with Sergio Stivoletti. Dude,
You
it's
got it,
actually
JP.
harder if
Stivoletti?
I'm trying to read it out than just going off of like how I think it's going to sound, because I know the name, but when I try to read it, I sound like an idiot. This was really cool. Sort of the first, I don't know, 20-ish minutes of the interview is just him talking about how he got into special effects and how when he was a kid he had like a GI Joe doll, and he wanted to like, he saw Harryhausen movies and stuff like that, which so many people from this era they cite Harryhausen as an influence. Like, it is cannot be like overstated how much that guy actually influenced in terms of special effects. But you know, he saw, I think, 1 million BC, and he asked his mom if he could take like the GI Joe doll's clothes off and make like fur loincloths and stuff like that, and he would act out like the movies with the GI Joes and stuff. And then he sort of after seeing Star Wars, a lot of these guys reference Star Wars
Never heard
as
of it.
like I didn't know Star Wars was as that big in Italy, but apparently it was.
Probably just big everywhere.
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah, Star
worldwide
Wars was
phenomena.
massive. Yeah. But you know, seeing like the miniatures and stuff like that, and that type of stuff really sort of pushed him into like the special effects stuff. And he did a lot of optical stuff, messed with like stop motion and things like that. And then later on in the last like 7 or 8 minutes or whatever, he talks a little bit about the film and stuff. And then the next feature is 31 minutes, A Horrific Anomaly. This is an interview with film historian who did the commentary, not Troy Harworth, the other guy. I'm not going to butcher his name again. This one was sort of more so like a recap of the audio commentary. It kind of goes over a lot of the same points, but a lot of talking about like the sort of landscape in Italian films at the time. Talks about you know, how actually one interesting aspect of this film, both of these films, is that at this time a lot of people that were making movies, like I said, for American audiences, were actually making them in America, in Florida, in places like that where there were these tax breaks and stuff like that. So it's actually kind of a little interesting that these films were shot in like Rome and stuff, because that sort of wasn't what was happening at the time, which they do talk about that in the
Yeah, there was actually a reason for that.
Okay. And then Simply Emma, an audio interview with actress Erna Rauer. Kind of tuned out a little bit on that one. Don't really remember it. It was 13 minutes. And I'm not a big fan of like just pure audio interviews.
Same. Sorry.
Yeah, I need a visual.
Yeah. But yeah, so that is Spectors. I'm curious what Moodz thinks about Maya and what the reason was for filming in Florida and not in Rome.
Oh, you mean to filming in Florida and not Rome? Or just yeah. I mean, well, there's a reason why they did for Maya anyways, but
well,
I mean,
yeah,
I guess
well,
in
also
Spectors too, because they filmed.
Yeah, because the catacombs and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, moving along. I have Maya, the other film, directed by, how do you pronounce his name? Because I'm really
fuck you. Your turn.
Marcello
Marcello
Avallone.
Avallone.
Marcelo Avallone, exactly. Yeah,
The
so
Sentinel.
again, very interesting, very interesting director because, like JP touched on, he hadn't really done too many genre films like this, and then he did back-to-back films, which I thought was really interesting. And I feel like both these films turned out quite well. I couldn't help but notice right from the start of watching these movies, I was like, damn, Spectors looks really fucking good, and so does Maya. I'm like, there's a lot of money on the screen in these movies. Watching the
I will
special
actually
features,
say Dan's comments about Maya looking a little, or sorry, Spectre's looking a little blurry in the background. I actually agree that it's almost, it almost looks like a freaking painting in some scenes in the background because it's so out of focus. But it's very brief and it's very, and I wouldn't even probably notice if he didn't point that out.
yeah, I'm wondering
Well,
if
that was the
that,
peculiar thing. Is that I apologize, Mr. Cutting you off, but sorry. But yeah, it was just the first sequences that where they were outside with Donald Pleasance and all them, where normally I can like, okay, film grain, whatever, maybe it doesn't transfer well when they're restoring it, but those sequences early on, really specifically those, because it was daylight out and it's noticeable, it was bizarre. I can't even try to put it into words, but the background did look like it was like a different like format. I can't quite put it into words, but I'm glad I'm
Like
not
to me,
alone.
it looked like almost as if like there was it was like a matte painting in the background, but it wasn't. It was just like out of
Yeah, the
focus.
lighting
But
and the focus
yeah,
did look.
I did notice one scene, I think, yeah, Inspectors. It's interesting because both these movies were shot by Silvano Ippoliti. I don't know how to pronounce his name. But he shot both these movies, and like Maya's fucking beautiful. I thought Spectors was really well shot too. So I was like, the name looks familiar, and I'm like, it's not just because every fucking Italian name looks the same to me, but this guy actually shot, in a lot of cases, some people say top maybe 2, 3 spaghetti westerns of all time. He shot The Great Silence.
Oh baby,
Yeah, man.
Classic.
that's
And I was like, oh my God, that's fucking insane that this director got this guy to shoot this. Like he shot Navajo Joe, he shot The Great Silence. I'm just gonna name some movies that I'm familiar with.
I think I would definitely put that top 5 spaghetti westerns.
Yeah, dude, he shot The Iguana with the Tongue of Fire. He shot Smile Before Death. What else do I know? The Challenge to White Fang. That was a Fulci sequel to White Fang. He Caligula. He shot that movie. I'm like, fuck. So this guy
yeah.
I did know that.
so this guy knew what the fuck he was doing. Shot White Slave, which is not really the greatest one. But I was like, damn, dude, that's fucking crazy. The Great Sounds, nuts. So, the look of the films was fantastic to me. But then, learning from the special features why these movies, were shot the way they like, where they were and why they look so good and stuff. Because right away I was watching these films, I'm like, man, these look a little bit higher budget for the times. And we all know at this time period, right about 87, 88, 89, right in this exact time period, all Italian films had no budgets. So I'm listening to the commentary, Troy Howarth, and they're talking about it. And they're even confused on it a little bit too. And they're chalking it up to the fact that the director had a lot of in and outs. He did a lot of television work. He worked with a lot of different producers and a lot of different people before these films. And he just
like
had
Freda and Avanti.
he had a
and,
lot of connections.
Lamberto Bava and I mean I think he was friends with, he actually goes in and talks about how he was friends with Fulci and he would go fish or on Fulci's speedboat and shit like that or whatever the fuck it was called.
But I mean, even being friends with all these cats and stuff doesn't amount to like getting your films funded and shit like that. Like it's crazy to think that like guys like Argento and Fulci, like Fulci at this time could not get budgets for his film and he was fucking Lucio Fulci. But you look at these films of Spectors and Maya, and they were high budget films for given the time period. They were relatively high budget films. And so, like they shot Maya in Venezuela. And actually, it's only one of 2 films ever shot in the location this movie was shot in. And the other film was just a local Venezuelan film that was ever shot in this location. And it's like, what the fuck? It's like the craziest thing. So it's kind of like very unique to that kind of, style and like look and stuff. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, they were a little bit confused. They just kind of speculated on where they got so much money to do these films where, like they said, Fellini and Fulci and Argento and all these big name directors and shit could not fund their films. And all of a sudden these two films came out of the woodworks and they were like super high budget, look great. And they were like, and they did relatively well at the box office and stuff like that. Like not, they didn't blow them out the park, but they did relatively well and stuff like that. So, but it's just kind of an anomaly. And they really don't know the full history on why he got so much money and Fulci couldn't get shit and Fellini couldn't get shit. So it's pretty interesting. But give and take, like, I mean, it's something I noticed right away watching this. I thought Maya was just like, holy fuck, man. Like, this movie looks great. And at first I wasn't sure if it was just how beautiful the transfer was on it. But then I started kind of watching the film, like, man, the locations are great.
Locations are great.
And then I was like, holy fuck, dude. I'm like, that's so cool that they actually shot by like a real Mayan fucking, pyramid and stuff like that. No, they didn't. That pyramid in Maya is fucking completely manufactured. They built that fucking thing.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, dude, they built
Holy
that for the
shit.
movie. That's where
They
my
went all the way to
speculations was
Venezuela
like,
to
holy
build
fuck.
shit.
That shit looked so authentically good. It
That's
looked like
budget.
yeah, dude, they had a major budget and they actually did, all practical. Stiletti, he did the fucking effects on the film, and then same cinematographer who shot all these fucking movies. Like they had budget for effects artists,
also, I mean,
cinematographers, locations.
Donald Pleasance, like they say that like Donald Pleasance is a very pricey at that time. He was very pricey,
Right.
To get, and they said that they literally just scheduled all of his scenes to be shot first,
Right.
in 2
Right.
weeks, so that they didn't waste any time with it.
Well,
because they get paid. This was interesting, actually. I just remembered this. They get paid. So at that time, the foreign actors, like people from America and stuff, would get paid by the scene, not by like the day or the hour or anything. It was actually by the scene.
So Pleasance must have worked it into his contract, because I actually laughed watching Spectors and I'm like, Donald Pleasance is fun in the movie, but like they really stretched him out. And I was like, they probably shot his shit over a couple days and they managed to put him in 90% of the movie. I'm like, that's impressive. That's fucking impressive. And I'm like, I bet you had his contract. He's like, I'll come back and do my dub, because that's actually a contract thing, right? If a lot of guys that don't have that in their contracts, sometimes they won't come back and do it because they have to pay their way back to, actually go back to Italy and do the fucking voiceovers and stuff. I'm like, that's insane to me. But a lot of guys will have those in contracts and they'll do them. But and I'm thinking to myself going, Pleasance is fun in the film. He doesn't really have a lot going on with his character. He's just kind of there all the time, but he's in 90% of the movie, which is impressive. So yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense. They probably spent a good chunk of money on Pleasance and stuff like that, which is kind of interesting because, I think Maya, in my opinion, is the better film than Spectors, even though it has the big draw in Donald Pleasance with, in that film. And it's interesting too, because like them hiring Peter Phelps for Maya as the lead, who plays Peter. That's pretty fucking creative. So Avalone like saw him do a couple things. He's actually an Australian actor. And so going back to the dub thing that I said I was going to bring up in my review with Peter Phelps, is that if you're familiar with Peter Phelps, which you guys probably aren't, but he was actually on Baywatch back in the day, and that's where I knew him from. He's actually an Australian actor. And apparently he didn't have it in his contract to come back and do his dubbing, because it's voiced by somebody else. And when I started watching this movie, I'm like, fuck. I'm like, that's not his voice. It's right. Like if you know an actor, and Howarth even talks about this, and he's like, it's so frustrating when you know somebody and you know their voice and it's voiced by somebody else. It's like, have you guys seen the early 60s Euro films that like Christopher Lee did? Like, I know The Whip and the Body, he didn't do his own dubbing in that film, and it's so frustrating to watch that movie.
Yeah,
it's a Mario Bava film that is awesome in my opinion, but like it's frustrating to watch because Christopher Lee doesn't do his own dub in that film. And I think it's because it was like a scheduling conflict. Like he was supposed to do it and he went on to do another film and he couldn't get back to do it, and they wanted to get it out and stuff. So it was kind of like one of those things. But like it's Christopher fucking Lee with someone else's voice. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, someone with such a distinctive voice.
Yeah, and
it's like watching Monster Dog, and they dubbed over Alice Cooper with like some fucking like 80-year-old man.
Yeah, and again, it was that's a weird one too, because they should have been shooting that film with with real sound at the time. But I don't know what's up with that whole thing. I'd like to know the story on that. But I mean, it's not like Peter Phelps is like a big time actor and stuff, but But Avalone, like you saw him in a couple things, and he's like, I want that guy for the film. And they in the commentary they were actually kind of laughing about it. They're like, it's kind of miscasted a little bit, and I'm like, totally. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, and it's even worse that his dub is not right and stuff. And I was like, yeah. And they were basically repeating verbatim like everything I was thinking. I was like, this is so fucking weird. But yeah, anyways, the thing is with Maya that's different than Spectors is the obvious that the Spectors had the big name Bill, where Maya didn't. And Maya, I think, actually didn't do as well as Spectors at the box office, even though I think it personally is the better film. Kind of. I mean, I like some of the effects. There's some things going on in it that I think is pretty cool and stuff, but it's very tropey. So with that like 4,000 minute fucking ramble, getting into the kind of the story of the film, basically the backstory of the movie is, I think the backstory takes us back to like the 7th or 8th century or something like that. And there's like this really evil kind of god, and he wants to take out this Mayan Indian tribe, and he kind of fails at it. Anyways, the theory is about this god is that he has like these wizard
Not
type.
a very good god.
Yeah, I know. I guess. Yeah, they stopped him somehow. But anyways, the theory is with this guy is that he's got these wizard like attributes and stuff, and he kind of disappears, but he disappears into what they call like the Neverworld. It's like the world in between like life and death, and he just resides
It's like
there.
next to Neverland, but it's Neverworld.
Sure, if you want to.
There you go.
So anyways, he disappears into there, and it's not really explained why this happens, but essentially he can only come back if there's a sacrifice at this Mayan pyramid. And that's where our big Bill steps in for this movie, which is William Berger. And it's kind of funny. I'm like, William Berger is like, big to us Italian fans and stuff like that. But like to the common person, or like Donald Pleasance, William Berger, I mean, which movie are you going to go see? Probably the one with Donald Pleasance, right? So anyways, William Berger plays the archaeologist at the beginning of the film. He's basically in the film for like 5-10 minutes, and he makes his way over to this Mayan pyramid where he gets sacrificed, and of course it frees the evil god from the Neverworld. And then the film starts. We start getting these supernatural killings. And this is where it kind of loses me. Like narrative wise, like it's cool. They have this really fun backstory, and they talk about like, oh shit, dude, I can't remember. They talk about like the world, like the Neverworld, and they go into kind of detail about, I can't remember what it's called now. But anyways, like it's pretty cool with the backstory and stuff. But this is where the movie like turns so American. They take every single fucking American trope and just they just put it into this movie. Like they put it into this movie like just so flushly. But it's also the influence. It's not just the tropes. It's the major influences at this time period in Italian cinema. What they were really trying to do was to make American films, and they were trying to take those things from American films that would work. And of course, JP alluded to the fact that
I allude to things.
He talked about Carpenter and his influence in Spectors, and while it's very, very prevalent here in Maya, I mean, there's a great fucking shout out to Christine in this film, where there's a kill with a vehicle and it's totally supernatural. It's totally Christine. And in the same scene, this really obnoxious American fucking tourist in Venezuela gets killed by this vehicle at a gas station. And there's a great shout out to The Fog by Carpenter in that scene also. So it's really cool. There's like straight up the Fog in there. And there's also Christine in there, and like this movie has Fulci-esque things written all over it too. He's like taken from that, but it's very heavily influenced from American cinema and stuff like that, especially Carpenter, who was probably the man in the 80s at this time. Like everybody was ripping off Carpenter, like whether you realize it or not, but like there was so many things that were going on Carpenter wise.
Matthews goal.
Oh my god, can you fucking shut up, dude? Dude, you're such a fucking prick. Such a prick.
Forgot.
Dude, I hear I'm trying to do this fucking review. Like I'm trying to fucking do it.
They call me soft guard.
But yeah, I mean, you talked about even the Fulci influence in the first film. Well, I mean, to be honest, man, a lot of the 80s, the later, directors and stuff were always ripping off fucking Fulci, because Fulci was the man. He was the man. He had so many things in his films that were just so easily rip-offable. fucking Matthews got a 70th 5 games later. But I lost my train of thought, you motherfucker.
I'm sorry.
but anyways, yeah, I mean, obviously the common denominator here with these two films is that they were basically penned at the exact same time. They were written around the exact same time. I mean, the scripts are not really the strongest thing here. I think this one has a better idea than the first film, and it just gets into that American slasher trope. It's like, the thing that bugs me about the narrative here is that it's so cool. I love the backstory. But the problem is with the revenge factor of this evil god is that he's killing off people that have nothing to do with revenge. Like, he's not killing off descendants of this Indian Mayan tribe. He's killing off random fucking people like these annoying American tourists and shit, which actually completely makes sense because these might be the two most obnoxious fucking characters in cinema history. I'm not joking. This fucking dude in this movie, like, that gets killed in the Christine homage. I'm gonna call it
that
homage.
dude is so obnoxious.
It is beyond obnoxious. It's actually to the point where you just can't fucking wait until he dies. Like, he's so fucking obnoxious. Who walks into a place and sees a bowl of beans and just like hands it into his mouth? Gross. Who fucking does that? Like, it's fucking so. There's no one around. It could have been sitting there for days, but he's like, but like, there's
you
this.
gotta eat.
But it's so obnoxious that, like, there's this potential rape scene that happens. It's more implied, really. She ends up kicking him in the balls and gets away and stuff like that. But like, it's just to that point where these guys are rolling through Venezuela, just being obnoxious, drinking like fucking just maniacs, and raping and pillaging and stuff. But it ultimately comes down to pretty cool homage scenes. Like I said, shout outs to Carpenter's Fog and the Christine and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. Those scenes are really cool. I think the highlight kind of moments for effects in here by Sleddy are like, there's this really fucking weird scene in the film I didn't even know this really existed. I'm not sure if you guys knew that this existed in the world, but there's a thing called finger wrestling. Is that a thing that's new to me? And just
Thumb wrestling?
Finger, not thumb. Finger.
Yeah, it was just the index finger. You remember that scene, JP?
They literally hold each other's fingers until basically someone gets it ripped off, and the dude gets his finger ripped off and breaks off.
Yeah, his finger's like hanging on by like a thread.
Yeah, so apparently it's a real thing.
I don't remember this at all.
Oh man,
You guys don't do that? What are you, weirdos?
it's a great scene though, man. It's like these two huge monsters in this thing. They're holding each other's fingers, and one guy just gets it torn off. But it's a great fucking effect. It looks really good.
Let's start a Venezuelan
It's gonna be us,
finger
the
wrestling
next wasteland.
league.
Yeah, I mean,
Here you go.
It kind of whole plays into, yeah. Well, I'll talk about the other really cool effect is like this really awesome face smashing in a bathtub and stuff with one of our characters. But those effects are pretty cool. There's a really crazy, awesome shout out to Hellraiser in this also, where a girl gets strung
Is
up
it
by
on the
some
cover?
fucking hooks. The hooks. She gets strung up by hooks, and I'm pretty sure that was probably straight influence
It's
from
on the
Hellraiser.
cover.
I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, well, there you go. Because
This
Hellraiser
VHS cover of, like, the
had just
pyramid
come
is
out
so
in what,
cool.
87, and obviously it was a huge hit, and it had a lot of really amazing effects in it. And so, why not do something like that? So they did something like that, and I thought that was actually pretty cool and stuff like that. But getting back to, like, our fucking main character and Peter, he has got to be one of the most probably despicable lead characters of all time. And I will say he's definitely miscast a little bit in the film, in my opinion, even though Avalone, like, he really wanted him and stuff. I don't know what the fucking deal is with that. But like, it's just the narrative of his character. Like, he's a piece of shit. He's just a raging piece of shit. He's a fucking degenerate gambler. He's like, he's living, in a foreign land and stuff, just giving no fucks and stuff. Like, you really don't give a fuck about this guy. He's almost like an anti-hero in a sense, man. Cause like, nobody likes degenerate gamblers and drinkers and people that take advantage of everybody and shit like that. And like, he's just one of those guys that you just don't give a fuck about. In fact, actually, the one girl that we give a fuck about is the chick from, I can't remember what her name is. Tony, you might remember her name, but the girl with the pixie cut, she was in the Tenebrae. She's in the famous fucking Tenebrae scene with the arms and shit like that. What the fuck's her name?
Oh
dude,
shit, was that the same person?
that is her, man. That's totally her. And I can never remember her name, even though she's like it's like one of the most famous fucking scenes. Oh shit, dude.
Morella D'Angelo.
Yeah, that's her. It's too bad that she didn't do more films, because she got a very memorable scene in this film too, and a very memorable seen in Tenebrae, obviously, man. I mean, everybody knows what I'm talking about. But
He
if you've
was
seen Tenebrae before,
uncredited in a Fellini film.
Crazy. I did not know that she
Which
was in
Fellini
this.
film,
I did not
Tyler?
even like recognize her
City of
face.
Women.
yeah, I mean, I
What's
was
up?
like, I was like looking at it, I was like, I think I know who she is. I'm like, where's she from? Where's she from? I'm like, oh, it's fucking Tenebrae. That's what it's from. But
Yeah. That's such a dope scene. Everyone loves that scene.
yeah. I
Tyler,
mean,
what's the Fellini film?
City of Women.
Oh, okay.
I've
so
never
yeah,
seen
so anyways, getting back to the locations and stuff, like they end up shooting the film in Venezuela because they just basically had the budget, and Avalone wanted to do something a little bit different. And he obviously, I don't know if, well, he obviously didn't intend to it, but like us going back to the fact that they only ever shot 2 movies in this location is the craziest thing. But I think the setting and what they did visually in this film is fantastic. Give and take, the narrative, it is what it is. I think it would have worked a lot better, like I said, if it was an actual revenge thing with descendants, and if you kind of played off that a little bit more. It's so random. It's very American tropey with, by this, the slasher standards and stuff. It doesn't really make a lot of sense at all. But I think, the set pieces, the pyramid of the build is fucking fantastic. There's a lot of good shit that's going on here. It's just kind of a mixed bag. It really is kind of a mixed bag in terms of a shitty lead, and just the whole revenge thing. I mean, one thing I will note, some really good musical cues, and I can't remember. Tony, do you know who the person that scored this film? I know that he did something else. Okay, so Gabriel Dercosis, I think that's who it is. Yeah. It's okay, I'm thinking of someone else. Okay, never mind. Anyways, not too familiar with what else he's done, but there's a couple moments in the film I thought were pretty good towards the end and stuff. But overall, the score is like, it's nothing. It's not something you're going to get from like a Fulci or an Argento film. It's not that memorable. It's really not that memorable at
It's
all.
probably just the score probably just reminds you of like 1,500 other like Italian scores. So you're probably just like thinking about different cues. You're
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, that sounds like Frizzy. That sounds like Goblin.
It was a little bit, and like I feel like at the time he was even trying to do like a little bit of a Carpenter thing, like even music wise, like visually we're getting the kills. He's trying to do a Carpenter thing. I'm like, yeah. I mean, if you're gonna try and incorporate all these American ideas and stuff, and you might as well go the music wise too route, right? Also, right? So, but all in all, man, I thought this was a fantastic double feature to watch back to back. It was great, man. Like they really do feed off each other because they share so many similarities. Like I said, director, effect wise, and they're pretty decent, man. And fuck me, man, if the transfers on these things aren't insane, like I'm just so happy that they actually came out because Maya Spectors actually had a DVD at one time. Maya was sent into obscurity. It never had anything official. It's kind of unexplained why, because they were done by the same film company. Distribution, I think, was this. Everything was the same as Spectors, but this one just got kind of floored. And to me, it's the better film.
Like when you look at these two movies, you're almost like kind of shocked that these didn't come out in like a old school Anchor Bay 2-pack.
Yeah, it's weird too because I kept thinking to myself like, well, I even thought that too, and I'm like, man, but it couldn't have been a rights thing because it was literally the same. It was the same company. So explain.
Yeah, I don't think there's any like licensed music in any of them.
No, it's crazy. So I have no idea what the deal was with this, but anyways, 2024 we get them, and I'm pretty happy about that and stuff. So as for features on here, I did listen to the commentary. I said a bunch of stuff they talked about. They go into like, they don't really talk about the film a whole lot. They really spend the whole time talking about Italian cinema, the actors in the film. They break it down like, with Avalone and like, the cinematographer and his background, music. They go into like all those type of spec. They more talk about the players behind the scenes than the actual film, which I really do appreciate. That they're willing to take the time to do that. They break down William Berger's history and stuff like that. They even talk about like how he went to fucking jail in 1970 because he was huge into drugs and experimenting with drugs and stuff. And they actually busted him when he didn't even have anything on him because they just knew him to be a drug addict and stuff like that. Him and his wife, they both went to jail. And the crazy fucking thing about that story is that his fucking wife ended up dying in jail super young because she was a diabetic and she wasn't getting the right insulin, and she fucking died. And he got out a year later, 1971, and just continued his career. I'm like, holy shit, man, I fucking did not know this about William Burger.
What
It's
the
crazy.
fuck?
Yeah, it's fucking crazy, dude. I was like, what the fuck? So anyways,
Quite
he
the
gets out
commentary.
of jail and just continues his career and then actively works up until he dies, until like the early 90s. Died a couple years after this film because he was getting pretty old and stuff. But I mean, it's just crazy shit that you learn from commentaries, man. Like Howarth and those guys, like they really break it down. It's pretty interesting. They talk about, you know, the film distribution and like the whole Italian cinema thing, and which I brought up earlier about, you know, like budgets and how Fellini and Fulci and Argento and stuff, and they were going to America. They couldn't get theatrical releases, and that they had to hang it up, man. They're just like, fuck this is crazy. Can't do shit. So I did watch there's a interview with the director on here, and that was pretty interesting too. He kind of breaks down like his influences and stuff. It might have been very similar to what you watched EP2. You know, he tells stories about other actors on his films, and so it felt like I was watching an episode of 22 Shots and Tangents, because like he just goes, I was like, sorry, I'm gonna tangent off here a little bit. I started laughing. He starts telling the story about an actor that he was working with on a film, and he like demanded all these things, and he said it was fucking ridiculous. He's just going on and on, and I was like, that's hilarious, man. He's like, who the fuck does this guy think he is, man? He's just fucking demanding shit. It was pretty good, man. Yeah, and there's a couple of more interviews and stuff on here. I quite didn't get to all of them. There's a lot of features, man.
Yeah, there's like an 90 minutes worth of features on that one too.
Yeah, so I did the
That's a
commentary. I
lot for
watched
these movies.
the
Yeah, no,
20
I was
minute.
actually shocked. Like they actually packed these discs with
I wanted
with
to watch this one. I
pretty
just
much everything you could.
kind of ran out of time, but like second time around, it's 21 minutes, an interview with the producer. Because they do talk about the producer a little bit and stuff, like in his history, which is actually pretty interesting. So it would have been interesting to actually watch it, but I just did not get around to it. There's Scream Queen Memories. My God, I can't talk. With Morella D'Angelo. And then there's actually an interview with the composer, Gabriel Ducrosses, or whatever his name is. So which I wasn't really too interested in, because I was like, well, the score wasn't like my favorite thing in the world, but overall, crazy release. I mean, for a double feature of films to have this much features and this much love, to look this good, is truly amazing. I mean, we're so overly blessed to have these type of releases these days. It's crazy to me, but very informative. Very, very informative. I don't want to give I have a lot more stuff written down here that I could, but I mean, you guys watch the movies. I mean, if you like Italian cinema, this is a great double feature. I mean, did anyone else watch these back to back?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I did watch them back to back.
This is this is the epitome of great double feature. Perfect double feature.
And you brought it up too. It's like for a double feature, you're getting like two nice little like pieces of like Italian filmmaking. You have like the early like 80s, late 70s Italian with like the dub and like the very Gates of Hell-esque feel that JP was talking about.
Yeah.
And then what you're talking about with Maya, like that movie fits perfectly in with like Primal Rage and Nightmare Beach and shit like that.
Yep. Yeah, it completely does, man. Very Americanized, but I was getting such a kick out of watching this film, going, holy shit, that's straight Carpenter. That's fucking Hellraiser right there. That's Fulci right there. Like, I was like, and I love shit like that, though. A lot of people might look at that and go, oh, they're just ripping off these films. I'm like, you know what, man? You know, directors are fucking fans too, right? Maybe it's their way of showing a homage. It's not like, I mean, obviously you're not going to do a scene like that gas station scene and get it by every single person in the world. Like, no one's going to be like, well, that wasn't Carpenter. Like, what do you mean? That was so original. Are you fucking kidding me? We're fans of these films. We know those scenes. So, and they know that too. It's
one of the things I wanted to, oh, sorry, you go.
No, go ahead, man.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, one of the things that we mentioned briefly that I know it's unintentional though.
You're forbidden. I forbade you to say sorry again.
The problem is that there's like a half second delay, so I don't want to like jump in front of your conversation or try to make a point. But one of the things that I wanted to mention earlier that was kind of touched on briefly, which I think is kind of taken for granted, is and it comes to both Spectors and Maya as well, is that especially when it comes to any kind of night sequence or any kind of underground sequence, of how well lit it really is. And it's something that I didn't really take into account for until a little while ago, where I remember the documentary Side by Side, which talks about the evolution from film converting to digital, and talk about films being very difficult to light at night. Like a lot of films were they didn't truly show what it looked like at night. And then you get a film like Collateral in 2005, which was shot on digital, and it's like, oh, perfectly done at night. But what really stood out is that, okay, I mean, these are great transfers, don't get me wrong, but of how well all of the dark sequences looked, how all the fog looked great. It all looked
lots of fog.
So yeah, it could have been easy to take it for granted, where it's like you can't see what's going on. How many films have we all bought where we're watching like, what the hell are we even looking at, you know?
Right.
But that is something that I think both these films are just incredibly well shot. I don't know if they had the same director of photography or cinematographer or anything like that, but they both look just spectacular.
No, I brought that up.
VHS looked like crap, couldn't tell you.
I brought that up.
Okay,
man.
that's great.
Both these movies are very similar. They have the same writers, they have the same directors, same cinematographers, same scores, same effects artists. They're two peas in a pod, man. You know what I mean? Like they're the exact same.
They look great.
Films. Yeah.
Fantastic. I just want to bring that point up.
Actually, one thing I did want to mention I thought was really interesting, it was brought up in the commentary, that I thought was actually really interesting. So if you're an Italian horror film fan, you're familiar with the Houses of Doom films, which which are actually getting nice releases from Cauldron Films coming up here. Lucio Fulci's films and Umberto Lenzi did 2 films apiece, but originally that series actually was supposed to have about 8 films, and this director Avallone was actually supposed to be doing 2 of them because he was coming off the success of these films and shit like that. I thought that was really interesting. But again, going back to the fact that he was kind of friends with Fulci, and he had all these ins and outs of like television and producers and actors and stuff like that. So it kind of made sense at the time. He was a little bit hot in Italy and stuff, but they just couldn't get the funding. They really didn't have what it took to make all these films that they wanted. Their idea was just a little bigger than they could produce. So they cut it down to 4 films, and Fulci got the 2 and Lenzi got the other 2. So it would have been interesting to get all the 8 films, right, and him do 2 more, because then we could have done something on him and stuff like that too. But yeah, I mean, actually, going back to influences on the film, it's just one thing that just popped into my head right now was there's a really cool scene in this film that involves like an exorcism, and it's fucking batshit, dude. Like this dude, it's got the the Italian white eyes going on and stuff like that, and he's getting exercise, and he's got real live like calamity, of snakes coming out his fucking mouth, like real fucking snakes coming out his mouth and shit. And I was just, this whole scene I'm watching, I'm like, man, this is like Serpent in the Rainbow, a little bit more extreme, but I'm like, they're taking it to like Serpent in the Rainbow type territory right there and shit. And I was like, and actually going back to like one of my favorite effects in the film too, was a great scene where a girl gets her face smashed in a bathtub, but like that scene right there, it's not shot like Craven's Nightmare on Elm Street, but it's very reminiscent of Nightmare on Elm Street in terms of what happens in it and stuff. It's pretty vicious in the bathtub, but like that whole scene is like, to me, it's like almost like a mashup of like Nightmare on Elm Street, a little bit of Deep Red, I don't know, Blood and Black Light. Like there's multiple films you could probably put into that scene. Like, it's just crazy. It's so fucking cool. So if you're familiar with all these films, like watching a film like this, you're like, yeah, it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun stuff. But yeah, shooting in Venezuela apparently was fucking brutal. It was absolutely, they said it was really interestingly brutal because like they don't really have a film industry there, so like people that they would hire just wouldn't show up the next day for work and stuff like that, and it was becoming the norm there. So they would be shooting some scenes and like, hey, where's Geraldo? Well, he just didn't show up, kind of thing. And so the director was talking in his interview, and he's like, yeah, so he was asking one of the crew members, he's like, yeah, so where's so and so? And he's like, oh, he got shot last night and died.
Jesus.
He's like, yeah, one of my crew members just got shot up last night, didn't show up to fucking work. I was like, oh shit. But yeah,
so what'd you rate Maya?
I'm gonna give Maya a 7.5 out of 10. I think it's pretty damn solid. It's not, it's entertaining. It's just entertainment, man. I like these type of movies, man. It's not reinventing the wheel, which we don't fucking need to. I hate when people say shit like that, but it's true. It's not doing anything. It's full of shout outs, and I'm a big fan of that. It almost seems like, being like a hip hop fan, like sampling this, like I feel like that's like
It's
cinema's
sampling.
way of sampling. It's like giving shout
Yeah.
outs that way, showing flowers to American icons and directors, and Carpenter and fucking Craven and all these guys, man. Like it's really cool to see, but it does really look good. So, but anyways, that's going to be my little bit long-winded, but I do have a lot more stuff here. The commentary is quite interesting. I honestly, if Howard's on a commentary, I'm always intrigued because he always
Mhm.
has like some shit to say about some things. You're just like, damn, dude, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So, anyways, that's my 1989. Check it out. Great stuff. And Dan, I think you're up next.
All right. Well, here I am.
Mark Stone
So-
scored a minute and a half into the first game of Dallas and Vegas.
On a power
Wow,
play.
comes back and scores.
Comes back just in time for game one, scores a minute and a half into the game.
I heard they were abusing the salary.
Yeah,
cap.
and that's the guy that they did it with, and he's the same guy they did it with last year.
I'm for it.
Dude, me too. I don't even care if it's in the rules. Like, I don't care. Like, let him cheat.
I'm just looking at Dan's face.
You did like ready to go. I was like,
he
he's like
starts
literally
his,
ready to go, and I just cut him off like hockey.
he starts his review. He's got like one sentence in. Boom.
I'm not.
Like,
Hey,
I thought
I'm
Moodz
just
I thought Moodz would laugh really hard at that.
I'm just a guest. You guys do your thing. I was gonna be like, "Hey, Tony, you still drinking Bush Light?"
Yes.
I ain't
Let's
going
talk
there,
about
brother.
Bush.
All right, go ahead, Dan.
All right, hey man, I can talk about Bush all day. All right, I suppose I'll go now. All right, let me just get my notes together and then here we go. All right, so now this is the second release
You haven't started yet?
officially from Melosy.
No, Tyler had to interrupt for hockey.
Brother.
Shit.
I was waiting to see your dazzling face.
Mm.
Gosh, all right. I apologize. So here we go. All right, so you got all these films, all right? You're like, I got so many films, but you're thinking to yourself, gosh, if there was only a film that combined the sweeping musical score of Singing in the Rain with the lustful, erotic power of Deep Throat, well, gentlemen, have I got the film for you. This is from 1981 from both the Amaro brothers, Blonde Ambition. All right, man. Now, if you're looking at the golden age of porn, you're looking at a lot of films that are often brought up in the same kind of breaths, or the same kind of breath, I should say. And I'm not talking about films that are just solely notorious for X, Y, or Z reasons. I mean, Deep Throat, Debbie Does Dallas, those are both fine films, but neither of which I think are very great films. When I talk about films like Roommates last month, when I talk about Boys in the Sand, actually, which predates Deep Throat, or I talk about a film like Blonde Ambition, it really kind of highlights how strong of this era of filmmaking really was. So this has been kind of a long-awaited release for me in terms of I've had kind of a list of adult films that I've been waiting to get new Blu-ray or Blu-rays or 4Ks of. So we've gotten some. We've got like Hardcore put out by Massacre Video. The Avon triple feature from Massacre Video as well with those films in there, as well as Roommates, and Cafe Flesh is coming out this October. So fingers crossed for Night Dreams at some point. It's one of my favorite adult films. But Blonde Ambition is one that's always been readily available and is one that is kind of always talked about in terms of the quality of this era of really solid filmmakers making really solid films. So what I was saying before, this is technically this is the second release by Melosy. You have The Spine right there, followed by their first release over there, The Tale of Tiffany Lust. Now it's kind of like a 5-part system to get this disc out of the case. So you have this, opens up like this. and you're like, I'm ready to watch the film. And you're like, what the hell? Where's the film? Nope, there's more. You take another case out, and you're like, I'm ready to watch the film. What the hell? I can't watch. Oh, there's another case that comes out.
What
so
the
truly,
fuck?
it's just like there's so. It's like a 5-part system to get this.
Why?
And even still, and you're like, okay, so you got the disc, and you're like, oh, but I don't have a 4K player. I got the Blu-ray. It's like hidden behind all this. So, actually, I pulled the disc out. And there you go. You got both the discs, and it's great. So you have all this stuff on you. And it's like, God bless them for putting all this effort into the packaging.
Dude, like imagine like being like a kid and like taking this from like your parents' collection.
Oh yeah, you're
like,
never
just,
gonna
like,
get that shit back without them.
No, but
think,
like just like open boxes, like trying to get to the disc. Like where is it? And
I think
like,
the fucking Cenobites design that fucking puzzle box right there, bro.
That's the lament configuration.
I mean, it's crazy. If you're like, oh.
The Lamont configuration.
You have to put it back the right way and not get caught.
That is a lament configuration. That's ridiculous.
It's like, oh, I want to watch Winter Heat. Oh, what do? Oh, that's it. I just open up the disc. There you go. I get this right there. This is an elaborate system that I'm not quite sure how I feel about. I mean, this is a lot in my hand. Pause. But anyways, so
that's what she said.
Blonde. There you go. Blonde Ambition, man. Directed by the Amaro brothers, both John and Lem Romero. And it's interesting, I'm looking at the parallels between some of the ideas or some of the topics I want to bring up from this to Roommates last month, where like Roommates, we have gay filmmakers who are making a straight hardcore film. We have a character who is gay in both these films who is just so turned on by the women that he just can't help himself. He's like, I have to have sex with these women. So it's like, okay, fair enough. Larry Ravine worked on both these films. He was the still photographer, and I don't know if he was, Roberto Finley was the DP on this film, but I know he worked with, anyways, kind of getting ahead of myself here. I'm trying to ramble on too much like I did for Roommates, but with Blonde Ambition, we have a real solid cast in this overall. We have a lot of the same people who would end up kind of being in a lot of these same filmmakers kind of films. So I'm talking like Chuck Vincent before. So in this film as well, you have the main two players in this, which end up being Susie Mandel, as well as, I just had the name up right here because I'm blanking on her name right now. It's very embarrassing because I just had this up. You have Susie Mandel in this film, as well as, gosh, I'm blanking on her name. This is very embarrassing. Anyways, come back to that another point. We also have a lot of other big actors in this as well. You have Eric Edwards, who has a very memorable sequence in this film. Jamie Gillis is in this film in a non-sex role, who is actually one of the standouts in this film. And I'll get to that in a little bit of just kind of did he do a lot of him as a performer.
Did he do a lot of roles like that where he just was on screen and not fucking?
I think later in his career he did it more than early.
So he had a little bit more
later in his career,
respect in him for himself than like Ron Jeremy did, because he'd be like, "Fuck it, I'm still fucking."
It's Dory Devon, by the way.
Well, oh, thank you. I'm sorry. Funny, I just pulled it up right here because I had it was Dory Devon and Susan Mandel. Because for some reason, when you look up adult films and IMDb on the app, it doesn't show up. You have to go to Google and do it. Anyways, but with Jamie Gillis in this film, it's interesting because he's doing a non-sex role, and the role was originally for Carrie Reams, who just wanted too much money at the time, who had worked with the Amaro brothers before, and they just couldn't pay him for that. I mean, the budget on this was $30,000, but this was spread out over the course from 76 to 1980 when it was actually completed. But Jamie Gillis, who thought he was like, you're going to pay me to be in a sex film? Of course I'm going to do it. This is ridiculous. He's in this film and is actually one of the highlights of the film. He has a very funny role as this director of a Gone with the Wind parody, who's just yelling at the crew. He's like, I need you to, I need this, I need that. Oh, you're Mr. Q. Get in there. What are you doing? He is an actor who had a lot of range, who, what I was talking about with Roommates last month, I think he's been pigeonholed into this idea of what people have of either him at this time from films like Water Power, or later on with like his On the Prowl series or anything like that. Actually, here.
Are you actually showing something right now?
I am. Let's see. One of my favorite books that I have. Oh shit! Did I lose my video right here?
Yep.
Yeah, we thought you turned it off
we got
on purpose.
Dan the cameraman.
I was like, is Dan like changing or something real
AI Dan back again.
I thought maybe he was censoring it because he's showing porn. He's like, well, I can't quite show that. I'll just show Dan the cameraman.
Yeah, I thought he was dropping his pants.
Yeah,
in
don't
front of
show
us.
nudity. I forgot to say that.
Yeah,
No,
because
yeah, there's no
that's a
nudity.
big no-no for YouTube, man. They don't like that shit.
Yeah, no, it's all good. What is the irony that I end up losing my video right as I go to show something? There we go. No, there's no nudity. One of my favorite books, and this is kind of off topic, but I favorite recommend anyways, is this book Pure Filth, which was written by, I mean, primarily by Peter Sotos in terms of the forward, but this is all transcripts from Jamie Gills's later work. So you have there's stuff like On the Prowl, Brown on Ebony, a lot of stuff I can't read for the sake of YouTube. You'll have to take my word for it. Anyways, going off topic there. But it's a wonderful book. I actually got that at Wasteland. It's been a book I've been looking for a while. But, okay. Focus, Dan, focus. We're going to talk about this film, Blonde Ambition. So it's interesting because you have the Amaro brothers, John and Lex, and they are fans of the MGM musicals. They love all the big kind of spectacles. They love what I'm talking about before, Singing in the Rain. That's the tagline of the film. Actually, is that if you like Deep Throat and Singing in the Rain, you're gonna love Blonde Ambition, and that's what it is. Right from the opening of the film, which, fun fact, was actually shot at the famous club CBGB's, famous punk club in New York, and it doesn't even look like it. It's like, what the hell's going on? Yeah. It's got this great choreography, and you're like, wow, right off the bat, it's a really well done sequence, actually, which is done by Bob Fosse's first wife, whose name I have here, who I knew I was gonna forget her name, and I did. So I wrote it down. Marianne Niles. And Bob Fosse, of course, Tyler, I know, is a fan of his work, but he's done many a great work. And I will say the plot I don't totally get, and I've had to read up because some adult films either have too much plot or not enough plot, and this I don't totally get. It's a lot of one location to another. There's a subplot about this brooch that is a fake. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter. What matters is these great set pieces and these great comedic sequences. One of the highlights of the film as well is Arbola, Robert Kerman, guys would know from Cannibal Holocaust, Cannibal Ferox, all that. He is a guy who I know later on in his life, he didn't totally want to be known as the guy from a lot of these films, from this, Debbie Does Dallas, Anyone But My Husband, Joy, and of course the genre stuff, Cannibal Holocaust, Cannibal Ferox, Eaten Alive. He wanted to be taken more as a serious kind of actor, and I think this film really kind of showed how strong of an actor he really was, because some of his dialogue delivery and some of his reactions are so funny. I mean, I know he wanted to be taken more seriously, but there's one part in this film that made me laugh out loud the first time that I saw it. And it's something that if you watch it, you may not even think twice about it, but there's a fight that breaks out at CBGB's, and the way he turns around, he's just like kind of proper, and then he just goes like that. The way he does it and the way his facial expression is so funny. And I think that shows how strong of an actor he really was. But with the film itself, there's such a playful tone and there's such a light tone, because the Amaro brothers, they love these musicals. They loved old Hollywood. They loved all this. And this actually leads me into another recommendation right here, which is one of my favorite film books, period. This is the book American Ecstasy, My 30-Year Search for a Happy Ending. This was written by John Amaro, as well as April Hall and Ashley West from the Rialto Report. There's actually a great kind of forward from Ashley West in the front of this book, and I think April Hall as well, actually. But this goes, obviously it's Ashley West, but it goes through their lives, their friendships with, Michael and Roberta Finley. Michael Finley, who died very young, tragically. I talked about his Flesh trilogy on my own show. But their friendship with them, the films they're making, Roberta Finley is making these kind of like dark, kind of scuzzy films. And then here's the Amaro brothers, who are making this big kind of musical. It's this big kind of like, hey, we're not just going to have hardcore sex. We're going to have a lot of comedy. We're going to have a lot of big numbers. We're going to have a lot of set pieces and all that. And the tone is so fun that even if I'm not always finding the comedy funny, which admittedly is kind of hit or miss for me in the film, you get the sense of these are guys who are making exactly the kind of films they want to, which is funny because the Amaro brothers themselves didn't really want to do hardcore porn. They made their film Bacchanal, and around that time, I forget what year it was, I do apologize, but it was around the point when hardcore was becoming, I don't know if it was when they saw Deep Throat, or it had to have been after that. I don't remember. I apologize. But they realized that we can't sell this softcore kind of film anymore. We have to put something in there. And because of that, you end up seeing a lot of sequences in this film, which do work for the film. I will give it credit for this, that it does feel very diegetic to the story itself, but you definitely get the sense of this film could easily work on its own, which is why there's 3 versions of the film. There's the R-rated, the X-rated, and the softcore version of it. Now, one of the complaints, I don't have a whole lot of complaints about this film or anything like that, but I do have some issues with this release. I'll get into in a little bit, because it does not include either the R-rated or the softcore version, even though the previous release does include at least the softcore version. I mean, the Roommates did include the softcore version as well, but it had the inserts, so that is one thing. But with that said, there's also a nice little touch in one scene. One of the characters has a poster of The Touch of Her Flesh, which is a Roberta Findlay film. And that character is actually, I'm going to butcher his name, Kjell Nielsen, who is the financer for the film. He's a Swedish financer. He has like one scene of the film, and it made me laugh out loud, because he's on the phone and he just goes, "Jesus Christ!" And the way he says it, I was like, "Oh my God, this guy could be in comedies. He's hilarious and all that." Anyways, but there's a lot of locations in this film, a lot of great set design. There's like one sequence in particular that turns into like a Buñuel film, where it's like an ice rink, but it's like this chick's apartment. They're having sex, but they're skating around on ice skates. You're like, what is happening? It's like, and the funny thing is, they filmed that at a children's ice rink, so they set up a thing in the back, and they're filming it there. And I'm like, brother, these chicks are getting naked. Don't do that here.
That's fucked. That's fucked.
For anybody listening, if you want more in depth on the making of the film, you can get this on Amazon. You can get this on the Realtor Report's website. This is truly one of my favorite film books just ever. It's a brilliant book. It's just so ridiculous, but it has that playful kind of spirit. Like I'm saying, when you have Jamie Gillis who's directing this Gone with the Wind parody, he's like yelling at them. He's like, "No, you're Mr. Q, get out of here. No, I need you guys to finish right now." Obviously, he doesn't say finish. I'm being PG-13, but you got to do it right now. He's playing it. He's playing it up. He's having a lot of fun with it. And that really kind of comes through in the film. You get the sense of just this real kind of playful camaraderie, not just with the Amaro brothers themselves, but with the performers in front of the camera. Everybody's having what seems to be a good time. A lot of the dialogue is if you're a fan of puns, man, this film is for you. There are so many puns in this film. It is ridiculous. And actually, what's not a pun, but one line that I laughed hard out loud at is David Morris, who's in the film, who I think did a lot of gay for pay films. Don't quote me on that. I'm not as familiar with, because he did a lot of later work I'm not as familiar with. But there's
Can you elaborate what
he has at the end of
gay for pay is? That what straight dudes that fuck guys for money?
Or get
that's exactly what it was. You'd have a lot of actors. You'd have a lot of actors who were straight, who would do a lot of gay work. Wade Nichols tragically
because it paid more, right?
Away in 85.
It paid more.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that a lot of times it'd be like, well, we can get these guys who would do both. I think even, don't quote me on this, I'm pretty sure John Holmes did some as well. I'm not familiar with that, so please don't quote me on that.
Yeah, he's like the famous one, I thought.
Okay.
I thought that's how he got AIDS. I could be wrong on that.
No, I mean, the thing is that I don't even want to. I want to double check that, because with my luck, I'm going to say the wrong thing.
Oh wait,
I
forgot who I'm dealing with here.
Yeah, see, I don't know for sure, but I know
anything Tyler says.
Tyler doesn't fact check, man.
Yeah. But you might
fact check.
You're right. That's the thing. Is that like? No.
I don't think they
right.
actually know though.
Any absolutes.
I don't think John Holmes got AIDS from gay
Yeah,
anal sex. I think he got it from drugs.
I don't think he got AIDS from porn in general.
No, he got it from drugs.
He would. Yeah. I mean, the whole thing is that he. Okay, no, he.
I know he got it was
directly
from
AIDS,
but I don't know if he got it like from that. That's like I should.
Well, he died in '88. That was the thing. So that was while he was on drugs at that time, because that was after the whole that was after the murders that happened.
I thought that he got it from sharing needles or whatever, because like he was doing that shit. Pretty fucking.
You may be correct.
Yeah.
I'm honestly not sure. I
seems like the more.
It might not even be confirmed, dude. It might not even be confirmed, because I've never, as far as I can remember, I've heard people say, yeah, I got it from doing gay porn and needles and stuff, but like, I don't know if it's ever been fully confirmed, but I feel like he got it from doing drugs.
Yeah, because I
Yeah,
think
Google
even back
says
then,
I
that.
don't
I think even
claim-
back
Yeah,
then,
that's
they
what
were
I've heard mostly
testing
is
pretty
was
heavy
sharing
on
the needles
porn.
thing. Yeah.
No, yeah, I'll take your word for that. I want to just give a heads up to anybody listening. I don't claim to be an expert on any of this. I'm just a fan. So if I get any information wrong or anything, I'm just a fan of this stuff. I'm not even gonna pretend like I'm like an expert on this. This. If you want experts, you go to the Realts Report for that. You go to many other sources. I'm just a fan, so take what I say with a grain of salt. I'm just I'm sorry.
Sorry for doing anything
I
wrong.
Man,
do
Aaron's gonna
those
love
I've
this episode.
offended. I'm sorry.
So sorry.
It's pronounced sorry.
You gotta say it like TJ and My Bloody Valentine. I'm sorry.
sorry.
I'm
I'm
so
sorry.
damn
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Oh, that's
I'm
such an East Coast
sorry.
thing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's a straight like Nova Scotia thing, man. Yeah.
Nova
That's
Scotia.
I've kind of rambled a little bit about I know I've kind of jumped a little bit all over the place. I'm trying to get my thoughts kind of together on this because the
I'm
thing
still
is that
confused
the
on
film,
the plot.
You're telling me, brother. The plot itself. I mean, they're working in like this little like nightclub. They're doing their kind of they're like dancing show and all that. They have some guys on stage dancing and all that. They end up going to New York because they have a job offer there, but actually there isn't a job offer there. So Jamie Gillis gives them Jamie Gillis directs them in a Gone with the Wind parody. And then there's a necklace that's like it's a fake. I mean, I've seen this film a couple times now, brother. Somebody smarter than me can put it together.
I have never heard of someone not
location to the next, one
understanding
step
the
to the
narrative
next.
in a porno. This might be the first.
There you go. That's the first for everything. It's I'm watching it and I'm listening. I'm just like, how did they get to this point? And I'm like, whatever. It's another set piece. Eric Edwards shows up. George Payne showed up. Fine, whatever. They're having fun. George Payne's gay. He has sex with a woman. I'm straight now, so why not? Who cares? But God, I lost my train of thought before. But yeah, like I said before, is that there's a lot of great locations on this. It's funny. There's actually they're on I guess it's a private airplane, but the exteriors are a commercial airplane. So it's like, okay. But then there's like a lot of open seats, too many open seats for a private plane. And then I read that they filmed that at like a training simulator at JFK, but they weren't allowed to film any of the sex. So they had to film that separately. So they go in the back and it's like this giant room. It's like, this is not in a plane, dude. What the hell's going on here? But it's, if it was taking itself more seriously, it'd be one thing. But because the tone is so playful and is so much fun that you really are okay. You're able to go with it. There's a whole big ending and a drag show. It's a lot of fun. The Amaro brothers, they were definitely into, they knew about the whole the gay scene in New York and all that. It all comes together in a really, really fun and enjoyable film, even if not all the jokes work. This is one that's often considered one of the stronger films from this era. This is 81, and the Amaro brothers they always took a while for their films for a myriad reasons, whether it be production issues or budgetary issues or anything like that. But the fact of the matter is that this was started in 76, finished in 80, released in 81. That's put on screen here. It's a wonderful film, and I think it's one of the strongest from this era. Now, I'll wrap it up. I don't want to be too negative.
Oh, go ahead, man. Be negative.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what
some...
the tone is on this show, but on 20, just say what you want to fucking say, man. I mean,
it sucks,
keep it real though. Keep it real though. If it sucks,
right.
It sucks. So is this one of those cases where the amazing packaging is like the best thing here?
Well, I'm not even critical of the packaging, but I'm more so a film of this caliber. I don't. The DVD released by Distripix, I think it was Distripix, when this got announced for 4K, I thought a lot of that was going to be transferred over, and unfortunately, this is pretty bare bones on features. The only features that we have on here, we have two discs. One is the 4K, which includes a commentary by Roberta Finley, who is the Amaro brothers. Lem has since passed away. John is still with us, thankfully, and I want to phrase this in a way where I don't want to be rude. There's been a lot of commentaries lately from Melusine, not from directly Melusine, but like Quality Extra stuff, I think Casey Scott's a very smart guy. I think the essay that he wrote in this booklet here is great. Like, look, drop that card. I think the essay that's on here is legitimately great. It's legitimately informal. I've listened to a couple of his commentaries. I'm not the biggest fan of his commentaries. The conversations trail off a lot. There's a lot of awkward pauses, and there's a lot of stilted, seemingly awkward conversations. When he talks about, oh, I've known Roberta for 20 years, it feels like they're meeting for the first time. And I understand that sometimes maybe these people are not the best conversation holders. I get that, but and I mean no disrespect to the man. He's a very smart man, much smarter than me, much smarter than me. He knows what he's talking about. I'm a dumbass. What do I know? I just do wish that they had a revolving door of commentary, because I just listened to his commentary on Stud Hunters as well, which I also just reviewed on my channel, and I wasn't the biggest fan of that commentary either. It really trailed off there, and that's really the only feature besides the trailer and an archival image gallery. Whereas the last DVD had a commentary from Jamie Gillis, who has since passed, and John Romero, and included the softcore version of the film and another booklet as well. So it's sort of like they're putting all this effort into this. Really, it's a great looking release. Visually, the audio is fantastic, and also it comes with this card.
So they didn't port over the DVD features.
No, there's nothing. It's just the new commentary.
Yeah,
which is what makes it.
But what
really
we've learned from features over the years, though, like a lot of times you have to get the rights to that, because you sign rights to these features and they're specific to that release. You have to obtain those rights to get those. You can't just port them over if it's a different contract and stuff, right?
But so isn't it the same?
To me, that's totally fine.
Well, if it's the same company, that's a weird thing that they're not ported over them, because they should have the rights to them. But I mean, if you see a release from a company and then another company puts it out, even in America, sometimes they can't port them over, whatever. And you'll see that internationally a lot too, right? Because it doesn't work like that. So,
and I understand that, and I totally understand that sometimes there are situations where, there's Blu-rays I have behind me. I haven't thrown away the DVD for that reason, but when I'm thinking, like, why could you not include the softcore version? I mean, why could you not? I mean, John Romero is still with us. I mean, this book is only a couple years old. I mean, get April Hall, get Ashley West. These two are experts. They're friends with Romero. You can't get like even a retrospective commentary with them or a new kind of insight. I mean, a lot of the information I learn about a lot of these films is from them. They know what they're talking about. I'm a dumbass. I know nothing. I learned from them. So it's sort of like, and they both helped write the book. And I'm like, they're perfect for a commentary on this, or a new interview with Romero, or Larry Ravine, who has a new interview on the Roommates Blu-ray. I obviously understand that these Blu-rays are very difficult to put together. I mean, I'm by no means diminishing any of the hard work that they do there. It's a beautiful looking transfer. It sounds great. As a fan, for a film of this caliber and of this notoriety, in terms of people who are fans of adult films, like this film was a big deal. So for it to be like, well, we have a new kind of commentary and that's it. It's like, all right. But anyways, I don't want to be negative. I'm being so I'm going to wrap it up here and then move on. So the film itself is a lot of fun. It's a great time to have. It's a perfect kind of film where, like I said, with Roommates, if you're like, I'm not really a fan of adult films, I'm gonna watch this, I think you could easily get into this and enjoy it. Or if you're like, Dan, you're a dumbass, I'm not buying these adult films, well, I'll still recommend American Ecstasy, one of the best books on filmmaking ever. It's a beautiful, touching book about just these two brothers who are just trying to make these films and the world they're living in at the time. It's just such a great book with some great pictures in there as well. Actually, there's one picture I'll show you of them at the premiere of Blonde Ambition. I don't know if it'll pick up on camera or not, but it's a big kind of deal. But it's a great film. If you already have the previous DVD, it's your call if you want to upgrade it. I mean, it looks great, sounds great, but the features are cut in half. But I love what Melson is doing. I love this as a new 4K. So I give this an enthusiastic thumbs up. Blonde Ambition. If you like Deep Throat Singing in the Rain, this is your film.
Did you just give a fucking thumbs up?
Yeah, what's your rating, fool?
That's the Dan the cameraman trademark right there.
Don't care.
All right. Dan, I got a question for you. Have you ever seen any of Roberta Findlay's like horror films that she did? Have you ever seen like The Oracle or Primeval or Blood Sisters or what else did you do? Tenements, Lurkers?
Actually, funny enough, with Tenement, the same writer of Roommates. God, how embarrassing! I'm blanking on his name right now. Also wrote Tenement. I've only the only horror Jason I've seen of hers is A Woman's Torment, which falls closer to hardcore. But no, I'm not
Yeah.
as familiar with her genre work. Do you have any recommendations or anything that's worth watching?
All of it.
I mean,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, Tony's gonna recommend all. I mean, I personally love The Oracle. I think Tenement's great. Blood Sisters has probably one of the best commentaries by Joe Bob Briggs of all time on the DVD. The old Shriek Show
great.
DVD of Blood Sisters has the best commentary. Actually, my buddy Greg, who I meet up at HorrorCon every year, he runs a film society in Calgary, Alberta, Canada here. He actually brought, when we met Joe Bob, he actually brought the Blood Sisters DVD to get signed by Joe Bob. He's like, it's best commentary ever. I'm like, I agree. It's the funniest commentary of all time. But Blood Sisters,
No
is
one
fun.
does commentaries like Joe Bob.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and,
he's good.
and it honestly is a great one for Blood Sisters. It deserved Joe Bob's presence on that one because it's pretty fun. But I mean, to be honest, if I was to recommend, like, I mean, it's not the greatest movie. Primeval is not the great. Lurkers is okay, but Tenement and Oracle, I actually really like those movies. I think Tenement's crazy.
Okay.
Tenement's probably
Tenement has
my
a
favorite of
beautiful
hers.
Scorpion, right?
Yeah, Tenement's probably my favorite film too. I agree. Like, I mean, I don't have to agree with you.
And
I
then
mean, it's
actually-
my favorite. I don't think. I mean, but,
Shriek Show put it out.
Yeah, yeah.
They even put the Blu-ray out.
Yeah,
Shameless
actually,
plug as well. One of their strongest, the Flesh trilogy for Michael and Roberta. Great stuff. Random recommendation right there. Anyways, go on. Sorry, I mean to cut off. Sorry.
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 yeah,
I really loved those Joe Bob commentaries on all the old Shriek Show DVDs in the 2000s.
yeah,
Mhm.
man.
That
those
shit
were
was so awesome.
fucking great, man. He did so many good ones, man. I think I watched A Woman's Torment actually because Vinegar Syndrome put that out, right? And
Yep,
I'm
I got
pretty,
it over
I'm pretty
here
fucking
somewhere.
sure I watched that actually, but maybe I did. I can't remember if I did or not. But
Yep, got it right here. Oh, this is I gotta give a shout out to Taylor. She's a big fan of this film, and I think her enthusiasm of this film kind of accelerated my enthusiasm of this film. This is a wonderful, wonderful film. Just great stuff by Roberta Finley, man. Highly recommend Women's Torment.
yeah, I'd love to see Vinegar Syndrome get the rights because they put it was a Primeval and Lurkers was a double feature. Was that what that
Mhm.
was? Yeah, yeah. So the other ones like Blood
think you
Sisters
might be
and Tenement
correct.
Oracle, I would love to see those ones get released by them because the Shriek Show Blu-rays. I mean, it's like their DVDs, right? I mean, it was
Who put out
awesome to
Tenement?
have
Was
them.
that Scorpion or was that somebody else?
It was Shriek Show. Put out Tenement.
Like, I almost wonder if, like,
Okay.
Shriek or Media Blasters just owns the rights to those three movies, just like outright.
They could.
Same with like the majorettes. Like the movies, like there's only like 5 like horror / exploitation movies that they've even like put out on Blu-ray. You
Yeah,
know what
and
I mean?
I'm thinking that they probably do own the rights. And I said the same thing about the majorettes, man. I'm like, because everyone thought that Media Blasters Shriek Show was done forever, and all of a sudden, out of fucking left field, came the majorettes Blu-ray. Like it was years after they put out anything, and I was like, what just happened here? That's so bizarre. And I actually never picked it up. I still have the DVD, but yeah, it's the majorettes.
I've never seen it. I heard it's an interesting film.
It's a solid Blu-ray, honestly. It's got subs.
Is it really? Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, it's been years since I've actually watched it. I think I just heard. I think even JP or Dave Z even talking about they hated the movie or something like that. So I'm
What
like,
movie?
whatever. The majorettes.
There's
I've
there's
seen
a major tonal shift. So I mean, if you're okay
Yeah,
with that,
There's a
then
what tonal shift?
Oh, that's who it was. It was
a
Carly.
major
It,
tonal shift.
it was fucking Carly and James. They were talking about the tonal shift in the film, and I was like, oh, I remember that shit now. Yeah, it's been a while, but I remember. But
yeah, it goes from like slasher to like Rambo action.
right. And you throw
I'm all
guns into
for
a
it.
film with
Butcher
fucking Dave
Massacre.
Z. He's gonna be like, no, fuck that shit, man. I'm
Exactly.
not fucking with guns.
I'm just like, all right, here we are. Let's do it.
No, I'm cool with that, man. I like some Rambo shit. Why not? Why
Yeah.
not?
Go ahead. Thanks for letting me rant. Continue on.
Fuck yeah, man. Anytime, dude. Anytime. All right. Tony.
Oh, it's time for the best movie of the night.
The fucking
For the true main feature of the evening, we are going to talk about The Last Slumber Party, directed by the incomparable Steven Tyler.
Is it just me, or is it weird that AGFA put this out? Like, what's the connect? Like, because they didn't put out the original DVD.
No, that was VCI.
It was VCI, but why is AGFA putting like this movie seems oddball in the like if you're going through the collection of the releases through Vinegar Syndrome, what they've done, like this one seems out of left field for me.
I can actually answer that for you
Awesome, because
because
I thought this was the weirdest. Because when I saw the title, I was like, oh, cool, and I was like, oh shit, that's Agfa releasing that. Like, where the fuck does that fit into their category? Because it's not a something weird release. It's so bizarre to me.
yeah, so one of the special features is like a Q&A with the star, the final girl, Jan Jensen, and the guy who represents AGFA is Joe Ziemba, who also started Bleeding Skull. And
Okay.
before he started this Q&A, it was like a showing at an Alamo Draft House. He like told his like own personal story about the movie, about how it was like super important to him and all this other shit. So I'm like, okay, well that makes sense why AGFA releases this.
Honest question. I've been calling it AGFA this whole time. Have you guys been calling it AGFA?
I call it AGFA.
Yeah, I call it
okay,
Agfa.
Apparently, it's
Both.
not supposed to be Agfa. It's
Oh, well.
supposed to be
Really?
AGFA.
I
Pick
never
an
knew
easier
that.
name.
It's American Genre Film Archive.
Actually,
Why don't you
I
just
just-
say it the way
it's-
it's supposed to be?
It's just too
Yeah.
fucking long to say that, so I always say Agfa too because it makes more fucking sense because
Right.
abbreviation, but
Yeah, it's
Stuff off the tongue
easy.
better.
Pick an easier name then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
All right.
Tony, lead the way.
All right, so this is a movie that was released in 1988, and it was shot in either 1981 or 1984, depending on what special features you listen to.
I know I was confused. I was confused because I think 81 sounds a little bit. I think that's a misstep on the year because 81 seems too early. 84
thought
makes a
so.
little.
I
It
thought
makes
so
more
too,
sense.
but in the commentary, they were talking about how they shot it in the summer of 1981, but they said a lot of shit about it, and I even looked into it. They're talking about how they spent the summer, they watched the Princess Diana and Charles weddings, and I looked that up, and that was in 1981.
Hmm.
So I'm like, was this really shot in 1981? Because in the Q&A, the star says that they shot it in 1984, and then like all these other outlets I look at also say 1984, so I don't
Almost-
even know what to believe.
Yeah, almost everything I come across says 84, but 81 seems because like I've always stressed like films from the 1980, 81, even 82 still seem very 70s like, but this one has that kind of 84 flair like of
Definitely
80s-ness
feels
to it,
80s.
right? So like
Mhm.
84 would
Yeah.
make a lot more sense for the wardrobes and the hairstyles, and I mean music can be altered or whatever, it doesn't matter, but like visually what you're seeing would represent more of kind of a mid 80s thing than an early 80s thing to me.
I agree. Like looking at, like for me is almost like looking at the hair.
Yeah.
The hair
Yeah.
just feels very mid 80s to me.
Yeah.
And even
100%.
like the decoration in like the house felt very like early 80s with like wood paneling that had like fucking carpet all over the toilets and shit.
Dude,
Like,
what is with carpet in the bathroom?
yeah, what the fuck were people even thinking?
Dude, that's disgusting to have carpet in a bathroom, man. Just think
Dude.
of all the like literal shit that's going on there, man.
You're
Like
pissing on
The
there, man.
toilet in this movie was fucking covered in carpet. It was
so,
unbelievable.
so gross, man. So wrong. Uh,
Well, anyways, I'm going to talk about this movie. It's about this guy whose name is Mr. Randalls. He escapes from a he escapes from a mental asylum because the doctor who's like overseeing him wants to lobotomize him. So he escapes from the mental asylum to get his revenge, and he targets the house that he lives in. Meanwhile, the doctor's daughter and two of her friends plan a slumber party. And whatever. So basically, the killer is played by the director Steven Tyler.
and yes, it is
From
the lead singer of
Aerosmith.
Aerosmith. Yeah.
Was that
Yeah,
the
it is
only
the-
one who like looked that up and like thought like maybe he made a random horror movie early in the day.
Nah, I'm pretty sure we all did.
It's spelled differently.
Oh,
His
Yeah.
band's not making any money. It's like
This movie would have been really fucking dope if it was Steven Tyler.
that's so funny. That'd be
Could you imagine
hilarious.
Steven Tyler in the fucking mask with the
dressed like
skeleton?
a surgical doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, this movie is a straight up ripoff of Halloween. Like our main three girls, like they're just like your typical suburbanites. Our main final girl, whose name is Chris, played by Jan Jensen, who is in nothing else.
Okay,
She
so that's interesting, Tony. Sorry to cut you off, but like that's interesting because if we're wrong, and this movie actually was shot in 1981, it would be directly a ripoff of Halloween. But the fact that this movie potentially was shot in 1984, which is a year after the Slumber Party Massacre, which is very similar, which is also a ripoff of Halloween, essentially, right? It's fucking pretty much the same thing.
Escape lunatics, yeah, same shit.
Just fuck. It's kind of the same idea premise. It's not a direct thing, but like I feel like, that movie right there felt like more of an influence to me than Halloween. I mean, given, obviously the premise is there, but like, and also the name, The Last Slumber Party, the Slumber Party Massacre. It was like the year before they were technically shooting this film. It seemed like it was the direct influence. Hey, they can do it. We're going to make a low budget film of that kind of film and roll with it. I mean, it's like the same fucking thing.
If I had to guess a year on this movie, I would have said like 1988.
What do you mean, like filming or just?
I thought it like without knowing, I felt like it.
No, I think the styles, like if you look visually, even if you look at the clothes, if you know wardrobes and stuff, like it's earlier than that. This movie didn't get released until 1988, I believe. I think that's one of the things. It
was released in 88 and it was finished in 88. That's why you have like this heavy metal, like crappy hair band called First Strike, who does like 5 or 6 songs in the movie. And that's what's so weird about it, because it's like it's finished in the late 80s and it has all the editing techniques and all this shit from the late 80s, but it was filmed in the early to mid 80s.
And they shot that stuff like, because this movie was originally shot on 60 millimeter, right? But then the inserts, like they shot new footage and it was shot on video too, wasn't it? Wasn't some of the stuff shot on video or just edited on video?
Like the opening scene feels like it's video.
Did they shoot on tape?
I thought this was like shot on video because I only watched like 5 minutes of this. I swear to God.
There's 2 specific scenes that are shot not on 16 millimeter.
And I think
the opening scene.
Yeah.
And then at the end, there's another ending that's shot.
Right.
Because there's like 3 or 4 endings in this movie. And one of the endings is shot, like, I think on video. And it's a completely different format.
Right. Right.
But yeah, this was a movie that was always lumped into the shot on video shit. Just because every copy that we've ever watched has always looked like shit.
It. Yeah.
I only got a couple minutes in, and then like this transfer I was watching looked terrible, and the sound was really bad. So I was like, I'm like,
yeah, honestly,
I mean, the movie opens with bad sound and bad visuals. So
yeah,
you could have been that transfer.
You get past the first 10 minutes, you're good.
100%, 100%. You don't even realize it. Actually looks. It honestly looks pretty good for. I mean, 60 millimeter transfers they have their limitations, anyways, right? So if you can get by that video shit, then
I just assumed this.
I think it looks pretty good.
I just assumed this was just like a really like obscure movie that like Vinegar Syndrome randomly got the rights to, that they bought in a lot. And like nobody else would have a transfer of this.
I didn't honestly. I mean, it might be obscure to some people. I mean, I own the previous DVD of this I bought probably 15 years ago.
I didn't know enough about it. That's kind of just what my guess was. So like when I saw this, I was like,
DVD of this too?
Like this is like
it was in a double Terra 10 killer.
Yeah, which got the 4K treatment too, which is the most insane thing.
I still haven't watched.
Legendary release, that double feature.
You killed me on Fatal Games, goddammit. I don't trust you now.
Why? That movie rocks.
Fatal Games.
I didn't like Fatal Games.
Fatal Games rocks. This movie rocks too.
Yeah, this movie is a lot of fun. So it's
fair
basically
enough.
you have a group of three girls who are having a slumber party at their friend Tracy's house, whose dad is the doctor of this escaped mental patient. And at the same time, these three girls invite three boys, so you have like your cast basically just to get picked off one by one. But
A lot of ladders.
yeah, somebody just let's put a ladder in the front yard leading up to like a second story window. It's like not even discreet. And it's
Yeah,
that ladder
and then
like
also
stays
they
there the
like just
entire
throw
movie.
shit out the window too.
Mhm.
Like they
The
just
guy just always going up there. He's like, I'm here now in the room.
like the dude splashes his beer on himself, right? And he goes
Mhm.
over to the window and tosses the whole beer out the window. Like did he just open? And then he has another one like hanging out of his pocket.
There's a
and
lot of
then
beer tossing in this film.
And then the chick finds the scalpel on the carpet and she throws that shit out the window too.
Yeah, they do throw literally everything out the fucking window. All right,
man.
so what am I gonna get at? What should we even talk about
Keep
after
cutting Tony
this?
off.
Like, there's really nothing to talk about.
Can I
Like,
can
the
I bring
most
up one
interesting-
thing? Can I bring
Yeah.
up one thing first? The lead actress in this movie had me bawling a couple times. Like her acting is, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like she's underacting and overacting at the same time. I can't put my fucking finger on what it is.
You take the Annie character and the Linda character from Halloween, and you like they fucking have a baby, and it's this girl right here. It's
Oh,
unbelievable.
It's so fucking bizarre how she's acting. Like I can't. The whole movie I was laughing. Like, you know, that's one factor in the film that's pretty entertaining. And like I could see why people would look at that and be like, that is the worst shit I've ever seen in my life. But to me, it's pretty entertaining. But honestly, the dialogue is the belly fucking curdler here, man. They draw like it's so politically wrong. And sometimes I think the women are the highlight in this film.
Say some.
Our
call
final
everyone
girl
gay in the
is like
movie.
the most.
Slurs.
I
crude
just
final
love the
girl
chick
ever.
that keeps calling the fucking dudes like in not even like a jokingly way, like just so nonchalantly. She's like, yeah, the homo is like he left again.
Come here.
They keep
Yeah.
talking
where you
like
at,
this.
queer?
They call so many people gay in this.
It's homos like it's the women calling the dudes this. It's always the women doing this.
Yeah,
and
like
it's
even the
fucking
boyfriend,
hilarious.
the friends, like it doesn't even matter.
Well, because
And that's our final girl.
the dude gets killed and we know he gets killed, right? And she's like, oh, I guess the homo left again. He guess he doesn't. And I'm like, Jesus, man.
Guess he couldn't handle it or whatever.
Fuck, it's so
Oh my
funny.
God.
It's just the dialogue is
One of the,
so bad.
I love shit when that shit does like stuff like that in movies.
It is
like,
over and
it's
over.
so
and
much fun. It's so funny to see.
it's such a
90s,
product
like,
of its time,
What-
though, right?
what-
Like even for women, like that's how they talk too. Like people kind of forget. They
Again,
think that
though,
we
but
talk.
that feels later 80s to me too. Like I
I
don't
mean, I guess
remember a lot of
84, 85.
early 80s movies talking like that.
Yeah, it's pretty funny actually.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, like
how all the
honestly, I
characters
kind of
have this
agree with
kinda, like,
JP.
extreme like
It is
dialogue to
different.
them.
I don't
sorry,
know,
sorry.
man. I mean, I don't know. I have a lot of sex comedies from like the 70s and early 80s and stuff, and they blatantly throw around, the homos and the gays and shit. They're constantly saying shit like that in those movies. So I don't know.
I
Yeah.
don't know. For me, it
But
always
like in
seemed more
the
of
the
a
realm
later
of like
80s thing.
slasher movies though, like if you take like Last Summer Party and like Cheerleader Camp, which was also like mid to late 80s, it's almost like slashers in the late 80s finally started adopting like the sex comedy like formula into like their shit as well.
And that's exactly what that dialogue is. That's like derived right from the earlier films, 100%. I mean, you could even take Porky's and all that type of shit. I mean, the dialogue is definitely prevalent from those for sure. Where's the fucking Blu-ray for Cheerleader Camp?
Exactly. What the
What the
fuck is
fuck?
going on with
Like
Where
I
that?
is
just
it?
you bringing that up just got me thinking. I'm like,
For some
I
reason, I thought
still have my old Anchor
heard
Bay
that there
DVD of that shit.
was, I think I remember somebody saying that
fuck
like
is
there's no
cheerleaders?
elements for it or something. Or,
Dan's like,
lost
what
elements.
the fuck are you guys talking about?
I'm like,
Wow,
what
you
the
know what
fuck you're
Cheerleader
talking
Camp
about?
It actually
I'm
has
a-
one of my
I'm honestly-
favorite poster arts. I love that artwork, man.
Yeah, it's good.
That's why
Good.
everyone
I'm
Really
a
good
fake horror
poster.
fan, obviously.
Yeah, like I would love a Blu-ray of Cheerleader Camp, but if that never came out, I mean, really, that DVD looks nice and it's a good widescreen transfer for
Yep.
being 20 years old.
Well, maybe Lustig still has the rights to it, and he'll just port it over to. Well, he would have put it on Blu-ray Underground DVD.
Do you
He would
not
have
listen
done
to
that.
anything I say?
No, would you say?
I said I'm pretty sure I remember somebody saying that there's like lost elements or they can't find the elements or something to that film.
So they lost the elements after they ported it over? Because there's a DVD release that looks really damn good. They obviously got it from a good
but
source.
is it an HD transfer?
Well, the DVD came out in like 2002, so probably
Right,
not.
so it's not HD.
I mean, honestly,
there's
like
still
the elements
elements.
could have been lost after
Well, I'm still
they
saying
made that transfer back in the 2000s.
the original elements aren't
could be
HD.
wrong, but
they're
that's-
ported over into HD. That's what I'm saying, is that they obviously had good elements at one point to do that DVD release.
To
It's
do a
in nice
master though, or to like I think it was different when you just did a DVD transfer. I'm not sure of the technical aspects of it, but like I think you could use like shittier elements essentially for like DVDs, but you need like specific kinds to do HD. No,
Not sure.
Couldn't tell you.
Well,
like
I'm
because there's like
assuming
the
I never
the
thought about it like
negative
that,
and the inner
no, but
positive
yeah,
and the fucking.
I think you're right. I don't know. For
no, you
sure
don't need an
either,
inner positive.
though,
You
but-
can have an actual, what it was probably shot on 35 millimeter, right? So if you have an actual print of that, as long as you have one, you can still port it over to HD. It's just a matter of how the quality is from the 35 millimeter print that you actually have.
Yeah, there's a lot of Blu-rays out that are just purely from a 35 millimeter print.
Yeah, there's got to be something out there that they can
I don't know.
port over and remaster from that.
Usually,
I mean, yeah,
usually if it's not a rights issue, it's a elements issue.
I think it's a right.
Spectors and Maya weren't from the original negative.
Yeah, I mean, having the original negatives would be nice for sure.
I really don't know how any of that.
But that
shit
DVD
works.
looks so good though, man. There was obviously a nice print. It had to have been taken from original or something like that. It just looks way too good.
Yeah, it was definitely not a print transfer. That's for damn sure.
No.
All right. So, anyways, like, what are we going to talk about here? Let's talk about the kills and
We
how
talk about the
fucking.
bullies.
Let's talk about
bullies.
the
Wait,
bullies?
Bullies.
I love the bullies.
like the three
I like-
boys, like the girls' boyfriends.
The hardest I laughed out loud in this film is when, for one, they keep messing with this kid. They go, "Hey, science! Hey, science!" And that they're in the parking lot, and they one of the bullies opens up a beer. I don't even think he sips it. He throws the whole beer at the kid, and the kid like bikes away. I'm
Yeah,
like,
a lot of
"Dude,
beer abuse
he-
in this movie.
He just threw a
Well-
whole beer away at this fucking dude.
Well, that motherfucker paid for the price later.
I loved it.
One thing I love,
Dude, come
one thing
on.
I love about this movie is that
Openly
like
drinking in the car.
it's like the funniest,
I'm like-
like the
ever
funniest
been with
twist in the
someone who
world is that
tries to,
there's
like-
two killers in this movie, right? Like, do you guys
Yeah.
even like catch on to that?
Yeah.
I didn't get past 5 minutes, so I certainly did it.
So the character Science, who's bullied for like 5 minutes in this movie, kills the guy who throws the beer at him. And the guy who throws the beer at him is like a spitting image of like Adam Devine from Workaholics.
Dude, he looked like Kevin Bacon. Eric. I made the note. I was like, that's Zac Efron fucking from Iron Claw.
Oh
The
my
hell?
god, that's funny.
Just like a short, stout, fucking like dark-haired dumbass. But yeah, Science. So Science kills the guy by cutting him in the face with a scalpel. Meanwhile, at the same time, Mr. Randalls is going around the mansion killing off all these other people. And it's
Slit
mostly just
throats.
like slit throats, cut faces, like a bunch
Cut,
of stupid
cut.
shit.
I love killing somebody by a cut face.
And actually really bad slit throats and stuff like that. Like there was one or two times in the film I swear I noticed, like when they go to cut, it doesn't start bleeding right away. And then it
Right,
starts.
right.
Like it's that
Well,
type of
have
effect.
you ever seen somebody's throat get cut? It doesn't bleed right away.
Have you seen that in real life?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mr.
Jesus
Randall,
Christ.
Oh,
maybe
fuck.
his maybe
We're
his
back in
scalpel was
Tijuana
getting
there,
dull.
motherfucker.
Live stream from Juarez.
I'm just saying, if you're doing the effect of it, you might want to start that, that blood knife right away.
I
It
just
just looks
think the
more
kills
effective.
were bad.
Yeah,
think-
it's like 70-80% slit throats.
And then the rest are off screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Science, he gets a slit throat, then everybody else gets a slit throat. Besides the guy that Science kills, he gets his face cut. And he just
Mhm.
like stares at him and just like
He doesn't like scream.
I mean, I get what they're going for. I get what they're going for. It's like an escape mental patient that's like dressed like a doctor with a scalpel. I mean, the whole thing makes sense, but like you got to throw in some type of different kills, at least one or two.
He just uses a scalpel.
Yeah.
Yeah, he uses a scalpel and he just looks directly into the camera like 100 times in the movie.
He's
Just like,
it's
what
so
an
true.
inconvenience.
It's so true.
look what I'm about to do.
Fuck, it's so good.
Ah, damn, he
That
got
guy's
me.
breaking the fourth
there's
wall like
even
a
little bit of
motherfucker.
sloppy editing when it comes to like when he's in like the bedroom and then like he's not and then he is like behind the bed or something.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, so the first kill, Mr. Randall's kills like Chris's boyfriend, the blonde dude who's also super obnoxious. He's laying in bed, and we have like this established shot of him just in the bedroom. And then literally the next shot is like looking down at him, and all of a
Oh,
sudden
yeah.
an arm reaches around and like cuts his throat.
Right.
It's like, yeah, this guy just literally appears out of thin air.
I wish I had taken notes for this, man, because now I remember that shit now. It's awesome.
Even the editing in the film, it's like they have that bizarre dream sequence like in the middle, and I'm like, and I like looked away. I come back, I'm like, what the hell's going on? Like it's like this hallucinatory sequence. The guys come in the window. It's like, hey, come upstairs. The party's upstairs. I'm like, did I fall asleep? What the fuck's going on? And then, oh, I'm waking up. I'm like, what? What are we doing? Why is it even the film?
Yeah, you got to have your token dream sequence in a late 80s slasher movie. What's
Fair
funny about
enough,
that?
But I'm just like, it doesn't even like. Oh, you go.
Or early 80s.
What's funny about that dream sequence is that in the commentary, the director was talking like he doesn't even remember making it. And then the star and the other person involved were like, yeah, you were totally there, you fucking idiot.
Oh yeah, because the guy's like falling in the window and he's like, "Hey, come upstairs. The party's upstairs." I'm like, "Am I dreaming? What the hell's going on here?"
There was like one character in this dream sequence, and he's a character in the actual movie that just really like confused me. His name was Scott, and they were like trying to set up like one of the girls with him. Like he wasn't actually like friends with Adam Devine and the blonde guy who was like the third wheel. But in the dream sequence, he like sneaks into the house and he's like peering into like windows and shit, and it's really strange.
Yeah.
But then like after the dream sequence, like Chris or final girl's like outside doing something, and all of a sudden behind her, this dude just like sneakily like goes into the house and doesn't even say a word. Like it's such weird behavior. I mean, and he just ends up dying. I don't even think he says another word in the movie.
Yeah, it feels like such filler with that character.
Right.
It completely does, man. They're just filling up time, which is crazy because this movie's like 72 minutes, and that's the type of shit that they're filling in with.
What's crazy with the film's not even that long. The third act, I don't know about you guys. The third act, I was just like, it was like them wandering around. It's just like, because you could end this at any point. It doesn't even feel like there's any kind of natural like plot progression. It's like, I guess we're gonna wander here, and then I moves over.
Well,
know,
yeah,
it
because
just didn't
there's
work for me.
like four endings. Because it's like you have a regular ending, and then she wakes up from a dream.
Yeah.
But then is
Of
it a
course.
dream? Maybe it's not a dream, and then we have another ending. Like it's
You know
like
me, man. I fucking hate dream sequences that aren't part of a dream narrative. But then when you try to end your film and then you throw in dream sequences, it kills me, man. I'm just like, oh my God, fucking seriously, stop. It's a trope that just needs to be fucking totally abolished, man. It's so bad.
It's like
I feel like you can probably
it's such a good
Oh, sorry.
trope, but it's like some people it just got so overused at some point.
Well, it's super
Ruins it
cheeseball,
for
right?
everyone.
I mean, it's there to throw people off and stuff, but then you just keep doing shit like, and you're right, it ends up being like 3 or 4 endings.
And it
yeah,
just feels
and
like
it's
a cop
not a
out.
clever device anymore.
No,
Like,
it's not.
It's what it is.
Man, I was looking at the back of the Blu-ray right now, and I'd never read it until right now. Fucking made till I don't know if you guys read this, but it says a surreal slasher from the wilds of New Orleans. The last slumber party feels like a novel, which is young adult novel by
Yeah,
R.L.
it
Stein.
does.
that
It
was filtered
does.
through a hazy of DIY madness. Really, they brought
That is a
R.L.
great
Stein into
description.
this. That's
It's
fucking
a really
insane.
good description.
I mean, the bullies feel like they're from a Stephen King film because they're just fucking psychotic. They're not even like bullies. They're like just psychopaths. It's like,
You know, I would have
And
never
the kills
have
are
thought,
so tame and bloodless.
I would have never have thought R.L. Stein until I read that. And I literally had read every original Fear Street book up until, fuck, I don't know, early 90s or whatever. And those books were Bibles. I loved them. They were great. But like now when they put that description in there, I'm like, totally. It's what this is. There actually is an R.L. Stein book that's that actually is like a slumber party. I think it's actually called Slumber Party.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
think
really-
there might be like a couple of them.
Yeah. So it's
Might
really
be
interesting.
the
But
main
yeah,
series.
just when I saw R.L. Stein on here, I was like, oh, I need to read that. What the fuck? Crazy.
Exactly, because like just like all of his Fear Street books and whatnot, like it can get pretty convoluted towards
Yeah.
the end. There's always a dream sequence that ends in like a jump scare. That's the thing I love about R.L. Stein. Like literally every fucking chapter ends in some like little fucking jump.
Jump scare, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the
I
things that
actually
really,
read,
But I mean,
read,
when you're
like-
reading these things when you're like, 9, 10, 11 years, they were great, man. Like I could fucking read an entire
I
Fear
still
Street book in
read
3
'em.
hours. I could read them in
I
three,
still
like
read them
2,
too. I
3
just
hours.
read
They were
I
fucking
read
great, man.
Prom
Yeah.
Night and The New Girl last year.
Oh, so like the old ones. You're reading like the original ones. Nice.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I've never read, like, I know that he has like tons of different, like my kids read all the Goosebumps.
Yeah,
and
all I
all
ever
that
read
fucking-
was Goosebumps, but I was like super into the show too. I've seen like every episode of like,
Fear
Game of
Street and
Thrones.
Christopher Pike books were my jam.
How come there was never a
school.
Fear Street? Like there was a Goosebumps show, but there wasn't a Fear Street book series.
They got the trilogy like a couple years ago.
And
Which
yeah,
Fear
the,
Street-
the
on
next
Netflix.
one, the next
Fear
one
Street
based
came
on
out too
Prom
early.
Queen.
It was like
Yeah.
late 80s, early 90s. So it was before like that thing really just took off. And
Yeah,
by
I
that
mean-
time, like the original Fear Street run was like pretty much over.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you know what, like, I mean, around that time, late 80s, early 90s, there was quite a bit of anthology shows happening. I think if you had have made the R.L. Stein Fear Street stories into like an
I would've
anthology
watched the
series,
I feel like
Yeah,
they might be a
adapted
little
his
bit too
stories.
long
maybe,
for 20
Yeah, you're
minutes.
right. Are You Afraid of the Dark came out in 91.
but I mean, you had Tales from the Crypt was playing at that time too,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
So
You
yeah,
had Monsters was playing at that time. Fucking
I'm just saying,
Tales
like,
from the
if you-
Dark Side
if-
was playing at that time. Like we had
if
a
you
lot
were-
of shows that were playing at that time. Like throw in R.L. Stein's Fear Street. Take the ideas from the stories and make them into. You could do hour episodes. You wouldn't have to do half an hour.
Yeah, you would
episodes.
have to do because like I'm just thinking about like the last two.
Well,
that I
Hitchcock
read,
show
and
was an
there's
hour,
a
wasn't it?
lot of. Yeah, but for kids though, it's very
Yeah,
rare you
yeah,
get
I guess so.
hour-long shows.
But I mean, to be honest, I mean, it's young adult. Like these weren't for kids; they were for young adults. They were for preteens.
yeah,
they were
but there
for young
really
teens.
wasn't a
Yeah, what
network
network do
for
you-
young
Yeah,
adults at
exactly.
that
What
time.
network do you?
Well,
play that
I
on?
feel like Monsters was though. Like the TV series Monsters wasn't for adults. It wasn't for kids. It was for 12, 13-year-olds, man. I mean, those stories were
Right.
pretty tame.
yeah, it's
by
made for
standards.
basic TV.
Tales from the Dark Side was kind of the same. Tales from the Crypt was obviously for adults. It was rated R shorts, but like Tales from the Dark Side was more for like teen. It was fine for teens, preteens,
thing
and
is,
teens and
though,
stuff. It
like-
was PG stuff.
If that's
Mhm.
your target audience, like what time do you play those? Like what time of the day can you play those?
Right after you play them right after Seinfeld, so they become a huge hit.
Yeah, well then they gotta be more adult. They have to be more adult oriented if you do that though.
Yeah, I think
I'd say
I
more
think
of like a Tales
Tony
from the
just I
Crypt.
think it was a little too early for those.
Yeah, it just there wasn't a good network for them.
Yeah. like,
Anyways, the
now it
idea-
would work.
The idea is not bad. though.
Yeah,
Like,
now,
I mean,
now you definitely could do
but
it.
like if you were to take the original Fear Street stories and adapt those into like I think that would really work. I think honestly, I would be super curious and I'd go back and watch those because I remember a lot of the stories, man. Like what was the ski one and like Prom, like you mentioned Prom. Like there's tons of good ones, man.
Well, Prom Night's the next Netflix adaptation.
Is that what they're doing? Are they?
Yeah.
Because the original, so this trilogy that they just put out actually wasn't.
It
I
wasn't
mean,
directly based on any
no, it
specific
wasn't
book, but
adapted.
it had like themes like Shady Side and stuff like that.
Did you guys like it?
Yeah, I thought it was fun.
I love the trilogy. I mean, but yeah, like for me, like I also grew up reading all the Fear Streets and shit. I still have all my old books.
Yeah, unfortunately, I gave
And-
them all to my sister, and she fucking. I had literally the entire run of the whole Fear. I had every book, and I gave them to her, and she got rid of them. I'm like, fuck, I actually want them back, man. But
So for me, it's just like a fan service trilogy. You know what I mean? Like they
Mhm.
were even like doing fan service for shit that R.L. Stein wrote that wasn't even in Fear Street. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
Yeah.
it was just like an R.L. Stein like fuck fest. But
I liked the trilogy.
What the
I thought it
hell?
was pretty good. And this is what pisses me off about like, Netflix and media and stuff like that. Is like you get the odd release that comes out from Netflix on physical media, but that trilogy I want to release for.
for real, I fucking hate
specifically,
Netflix, dude.
I know. Specifically,
piss me
Prom
off, man.
Night is kind of like works for like a movie because it's essentially a slasher film where or Prom Queen, sorry, where like the people running for Prom Queen all start getting picked off. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
That
I
might
could see
actually
that.
be my favorite Fear Street book, honestly.
It's
Man, I
one of
would-
the best ones.
I would have to go back and really look at the listing of them because I can't quite remember right now, but I know if I looked at the titles, I'd remember the books and stuff because they had such a big influence on me.
That one has one of the biggest body counts in it, the Prom
Yeah.
Queen.
What's
Yeah.
the ski one? What's it? Something ski? Is it not ski school? That's the fucking.
I think it's just Ski Resort.
Is it ski resort? I
I
love
think
that
it
one.
might be.
I ski resort. I love that one, man. That's the one that always sticks in my mind for some reason. But
So anyway, the last slumber party.
sorry, guys.
What do you got
I
for
R.L.
features
Stein
on
the
that?
shit out of that one.
All right, so features wise, let me pull.
Yeah, one more thing before the features. Be 2 seconds.
Sure.
I thought that the sound design was hilarious because the music was way too loud and I couldn't hear the dialogue. Anyways, going for the features.
Oh yeah, and honestly, like if you didn't watch the Blu-ray, then I feel sorry for you because the Blu-ray has subtitles, and I don't have that problem like you guys do.
I don't need your sympathy, Tony. I need you to read off the features.
All right, so we have a
I thought Tyler
commentary.
was sleeping, but I guess not.
No, I'm not sleeping. I'm chilling.
So we have a commentary by the director, the final girl, and like another guy who's like a random cast member / crew member, just like a jack of all trades dudes. And I mean, honestly, like it was a really fun commentary to listen to just because it was mostly like listening to French just reminisce about this summer they had filming this stupid ass movie. There weren't too many really interesting tidbits. Like the most interesting things that I heard was that the name Science for the little nerd they actually took from Francis Ford Coppola because apparently he was named Science in high school. So that was really weird.
That's weird.
I don't know why I find
also-
that so funny, but that's funny to me.
Exactly how
It's
fucking random.
random.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're gonna name this guy for Coppola in our wonderful film that we're making.
You would never know that without a
I just
commentary.
love those like blunt nicknames to people. Like you didn't even try to come up with something so clever that it would be funny, but like science is just
Science.
hilarious. It's hilarious.
What's
Right,
up,
it's so good.
Science? Huh? Fucking nerd
Right.
science.
It's so
Yeah,
fucking
it sounds
stupid.
like something that like a jock who was like had
No,
like 6 brain cells
it's
would
it's
come
like
up with.
it's like this dude I used to know. Like people used to call him T-shirts. It's like,
What's up, shirts?
Let me guess,
What's
he
up,
wore
t-shirt?
t-shirts.
Yeah, man, he always wore his fucking T-shirts, man.
Yeah,
No,
you know
there's more
me.
there's more of a story behind that though, but like again, it's the same thing. It's like science T-shirt. Fuck, come on. It's not even being clever, but it's funny. I like it.
Yeah, I thought it was funny that they like heard that story that he was called Science, and you're like, hey, maybe we should call our guy Science. Wow.
It's great.
Because he
But-
likes science,
Great.
obviously.
I didn't realize this, but they actually do like name drop the fact that the killer is called Mr. Randalls in the movie. Like towards like the end, they're like talking to like a nurse like on the phone, and she like name drops that, and I didn't even realize that. And I've probably seen this movie like 5 times before, but in the commentary they also mentioned that his name is Mr. Randalls, and they just laugh about it because it's such a stupid fucking name. Which I agree, Mr. Randalls.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was shot in New Orleans, and
Can't
one more
tell.
thing. Yeah, you can't tell. It's like, who knows where the fuck this movie was shot. But yeah, one more thing that was interesting is that the house that they shot in, they shot it simultaneously while the family that lived there still lived there. So it's like they only had certain wings of the house that they were even allowed to shoot in. And then the rest of the house was actually being lived in at the same exact time.
So they were like moving out at the time.
No, they just like
they
let
were
them
just let them use their house.
Oh
they
shit!
just
Okay.
let them use the house to film. But
That's
They,
why
like,
they're
gave
on
them,
the
like,
couch
a-
and
While
That's
the lights
random.
on.
They just
Monday
put a
night
posting in the paper. I'm like, hey,
wrestling.
if you guys want to shoot in our house, come and fucking shoot in there.
Notice how all the lights are on in the
Weird.
film. It's like, why don't you turn the lights off if you're only in the living room? Like, what are you doing? Like, the whole house is lit up.
they had a
See
lot of
that's
stupid
like my
posters
house.
in it too.
I'm weird like that. I have like all
Okay,
lights
fair
on.
enough.
Yeah, I'm not a light guy. Like if I'm leaving, the lights go out. But yeah, that was interesting. It was funny because they told the family that it was only going to be like a week and it ended up being like 3 weeks.
That
So yeah, I'm
sucks.
sure they're pissed about that. But whatever. The last slumber party's filmed in their house. How cool is that? But yeah,
I
I mean
think they
that's
like always have a copy on hand and show people like this was filmed in our house.
yeah, like I would be
I
super
would.
proud of
I
that.
would.
That'd be
I would
awesome.
be like, you want to see a movie filmed in our house?
Yeah, like the
That
movie
is a
Beyond
snuff
Dreams
film.
Door that Vinegar Syndrome put out in the first Homegrown Horrors box set. Like that was filmed
Great
in
film.
like my neighborhood. And I like love talking to people and be like, "Oh yeah, look at that. Like that's a little landmark about my town and this and this and this."
Well,
Like
Tyler,
that
you and I
cool.
have reincarnation of Peter
Yeah.
Proud. That's our area.
It's fucking so cool.
I got
It's like
Dawn
really
of-
take-
I just got Dawn of the Dead and Night of the Living Dead.
I never even heard of that. What the hell's
Creep
that?
show.
Yeah. What are these like new films? What are these? I don't never heard of them.
We have this
Well-
one like right in our actual like city, and like they have like they take like videos like random landmarks around like the area, and they're like, "This is what this is," and it's like not what that means. They made
I'm
that
totally
up.
not believing this right now because Tyler didn't fact check that at all. It's probably wrong.
Oh,
Dan
look
can
this up.
vouch
Jamie,
for me.
pull this up.
Dan can vouch for me.
Jamie, pull this up right now.
I don't know what we're talking about, man. I was taking a piss.
just
Um,
like movies shot where you're from. Like
Oh.
I'm actually from outside of Dayton, Ohio. So like Deadbeat at Dawn by Jim Van Beber is like literally worshipped
Masterpiece.
like from where I'm from. Like I
Dude,
know
I love
literally
that movie.
every fucking street corner that movie was shot on. It was
Who
amazing.
doesn't love that film?
Nobody. It's a 10 out of 10 classic.
Except for JP apparently. JP's giving the
What?
Seek Heil. If you're listening to the audio, you can't see it.
Damn.
I've never seen it.
You've
I've
never
never
seen
seen
it?
Oh, I somehow muted myself there.
No, I've never seen it.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
fucking
wow.
sweet, dude. Deadbeat at Dawn, dude. I love that movie, man. I got a few
Oh,
different
masterpiece.
additions to that movie.
It's such
Was
a
But
good
it-
Van
movie.
Beber, man, it was one of those directors that, like, I think it was such a fucking shame that he didn't do more work, that he just couldn't figure it out. He just couldn't get the funding for a lot of his films. He's got a lot of film
Plus, he's a
projects.
psychopath.
Yeah, being a
Yeah.
psychopath probably doesn't help.
But you know what, man? I kind of like that.
But
in
he
him.
made a great film out of it, and God bless him for that, man.
He made
Was there-
multiple
was there-
great
Razor
films.
Glass
His,
Deadbeat
Man-
at Dawn.
his Manson family movie is also really good.
That's actually mine and JP's next review on the fucking Room War Challenge. We
One
never
day.
got to.
His
We'll get to
documentary is fucking crazy. Diary of a Deadbeat. If he does not come off the best in that documentary, but
Dude.
but watch that if you want.
Was there any other like features or just that commentary?
Yeah. So that Q&A I mentioned earlier, the only other tidbit that I have written down that I haven't already mentioned is that the final girl said that the movie was finished in Japan by like
What?
some company that was like distributing it in Japan. Like the movie wasn't finished being edited. So apparently, according to her, the company in Japan finished like putting the movie together.
That's pretty cool.
What?
That's pretty cool.
The
Just
That's
give it to
that's
us, we'll
interesting.
finish it.
Yeah, so I don't know what to believe like during that. Like it was kind of like just like, oh yeah, it's finished by the Japanese. I'm like, wait, what?
I mean, it's possible. They used to do their own cuts of stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised anyways because the movie's a fucking mess. Like when it comes to like editing, it's
Dan
like
is trying to capture some memories right now or something.
No, I just thought it'd be funny to get you. I can't even try to describe the setup that I have right now because like I've just set up like so much shit here. So I took a photo to send to you guys and to send somebody else. But anyways, go on. Don't mean to cut the
chaos,
conversation short.
chaos is good, man. It's good.
all right,
It's good.
so that's pretty
Check.
much it for the
20
Q&A.
minutes
It's
before.
like your typical bullshit. It's like kind of like a convention thing where like the whoever's hosting the interview like introduces them, then they watch the movie and have the Q&A after. Like it, that was pretty much it. And a lot of the same stuff was touched upon in the commentary.
Yeah.
But besides that, we have like 10 minutes of outtakes that are completely silent with no sound. They're literal outtakes. I'm not even talking like bloopers and shit. It's just like the most boring fucking like bullshit.
Well, I feel like, yeah, I mean, I think at the beginning, like the beginning of the film, man, the fucking ADR is so off in the film too.
Yeah, you can't even hear what people are saying. That's what Dan was talking about.
Well, not even that you can't hear it, but like, I mean, it's not, I mean, the ADR is off. Like, I mean, she's talking, her mouth's moving, there's nothing coming out, and then it's coming out later. Like, it's just off. Like, I don't remember that from the DVD, but it could be there. It might just be the way it was actually filmed. I have no idea, but
it might just be the way that it is. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
who knows? Like, it could be just like the permanent like thing about it.
So, what do you rate that bad boy?
Before I get to that, I'm going to mention that there's also a trailer, photo gallery, and most importantly, this movie has a VHS rip on it for the special features, which is something that I wish more companies would fucking do. Like, why
What?
wouldn't you have
Shit.
just like a VHS transfer as a special feature? Because why the fuck not? You know what I
That
mean?
is
shit.
kind of cool.
shit,
That is
I
kinda
never know.
cool.
I never noticed that the VHS version is on here. I never even noticed that feature.
Is
And
it
it is-
is there any differences? Like, is there a different like cut of it?
It's just a straight up rip of the VHS.
It'll
I
just look
don't-
like shit.
Yeah, it even has the copyright warnings at the beginning and everything.
That's
like
kinda
I didn't,
cool.
I
I
didn't
like
watch
that.
it because obviously I didn't feel like it, but I feel like it's probably just the
I
same
feel like
movie.
Yeah,
But it's
there's
cool,
there's
like,
a
if you
bunch of
just want
releases like
that.
that. That's pretty cool, man. That's
Yeah,
cool.
that's like Full Moon. I was watching one of Charlie Band's videos the other day, and they're working on these like this new series of films called like something noir or something. And they decided like that they're gonna release them all, and they're gonna release black and white editions of them all too, which I thought was kind of cool.
That's cool.
Yeah,
They
why not
found the
do
warehouse
fun
back
shit
then.
like that?
Yeah, that's fun shit.
I'm gonna meet Charlie Band in a couple months, actually. Again, I've met him once, but I didn't get anything. I didn't really talk to him or nothing, like too in depth and stuff. But I've been kind of racking my brain, like, what do I want to bring to get signed? Because Charlie Band has his
Bring
name
his
on a
book.
million
Probably,
fucking things.
he probably charges by the letter.
It wouldn't be. I wouldn't surprise me if he didn't charge at all.
I should bring one of his fucking knockoff big boxes to get signed and be like, "Hey, yo, man, it's one of my prized
So-
collections or one of
Found
my
this in your
prized
warehouse.
possessions."
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you rate The Last Slumber Party? So I can.
So, out of pure enjoyment factor, I give it a 7 out of 10.
Mhm.
It's a good time, but it is a really, really, really bad movie. And I don't fault anybody for not liking it, but if you like really crappy regional shitty slashers from the late 80s, then fucking go for it.
Or the early 80s, depending.
Yeah, it could be early, could be mid, could be late.
Let's just face it. Let's just say it's
knows?
from the 80s because I think it's from the 80s.
It is
So-
the 80s in a nutshell.
Yeah.
For me, I actually really had fun with that movie. Like just it feels like so like I love the feeling of just like a couple of like teenagers like hanging out in the house for like a horror setting, like on a Friday night. Like that just
Mhm.
works for me all the time, even the bad stuff. So I actually really I never seen it before.
Yeah,
but
it's
I
Slumber
actually
Party
really-
Massacre.
Yeah, Sorority House Massacre. It's like there's literally so many of these, but like I agree with JP. It's a tried and true formula. Like
It's
if you're
comfort
into
food.
that, yeah, it's the perfect
why-
thing to throw on a Sunday afternoon.
That's why I love the trilogy, man. The Slumber Party Massacre trilogy, man, is so good.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching the second one back in the day. Would have been probably the early 90s, and
And you were like, what the fuck was that?
no, I literally was a kid and I went, what in the because I loved the first movie, right? I'd never seen the second one. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, this is like the weirdest, like supernatural fucking hill, like rockabilly slap. I could not wrap my head around what the fuck was going on in this film.
Listen, when I was a kid,
Oh,
I came home
confused the
from
shit out of me.
school. It was a Saturday night, so like the next day after Friday, and like the IFC channel played all three of them in a row. And right away, whenever the first one starts and it's like that shower scene and there's tons of tits, I was like, dude, like I'm in. And I watched all three of them in a row when I was like, I don't know, like 13 or 14 or something like that. And I remember when I got to that second one, I literally I never seen any like of the like rock horror type things that, you know, like Trick or Treat or Slaughterhouse Rock or any of that shit. Never seen anything like that. So I was like literally so confused at what I was watching. And it was pretty awesome.
Well, because
Gosh,
that movie,
that movie
was
is
like,
so good.
it was like made to be like it was made to, you know, it was supposed to be kind of funny and stuff, right? But like, talk about a 180 from the first film.
Yeah,
And
it's weird.
it is
And then
such
the
a
third
weird
takes
trend.
another 180.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that they released the third one like uncut. Like you can, you know, I think they originally released it on, was it on the DVD on the Corman?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I have
they-
that original Corman trilogy.
So they released it. I mean, then the Blu-ray came out, and then that was like fully uncut and stuff. Well, that's pretty
I
cool
missed
because like it
that.
actually has a little bit more gore. It's nice. So,
I
but
really
actually
like the
going
third
back to
one.
going back to part two. So I was confused as shit, and remember watching the third one and liking it, and then I went back to the second one years later, and I fell in love with it. For some odd reason, I just love that movie. I think it's so bizarre. It's such a fucking, it's like this moment in time where nobody made a movie like that because it was a sequel to a film that was, you know, this slumber party kind of slasher film. And then they just took a left turn and then I think it got laughed at for years. Like people just didn't understand what the fuck the direction was in this film. And to this day, I really don't understand why they took that direction, but I love it, man. I could watch part two all day long, man. It's great. It's got one of the most
two's great.
iconic like weapons, like the guitar.
We gotta do that
fucking-
for next season.
Oh, dude, I love it's so much
Slumber
fun, man.
Party
And the
Massacre
third one does the same thing.
quadrilogy.
And like, and you know, one of the coolest things about that trilogy is like they're all directed by women.
Well,
And
I
I-
don't know about the fourth one. Actually, didn't
I think a
Rebecca
woman
McKendry
directed
do
Since
that?
when
new
is the
one, too.
fourth one part of the trilogy?
I said quadrilogy.
Oh, I said trilogy. But anyways, all
Are
three
you
are
talking
directed by-
about Cheerleader Massacre? Or are you talking about the remake?
The remake.
It's not the remake.
I think that was directed by a woman. Yeah.
I think it was Rebecca McKendry, actually.
who directed the remake? I actually liked the remake of Slumber Party Massacre.
Me too. It was pretty good.
Yeah, the unofficial cheerleader or not cheerleader,
Sorority House.
Cheerleader Massacre.
yeah, that's what it
The
is.
Jim
Yeah,
Wynorski movie.
yeah.
Jeez. There's so
Jeez,
many of
and there's
those.
actually a sequel to that too, isn't there? Isn't there two of those?
Oh
Dude,
my
a whole
god.
I think
big
there is a
massacre
Cheerleader
franchise.
Massacre too.
I think there is, man. Oh, that's ridiculous, man. Actually, you know, surprisingly, like I remember when the remake came out, I was like, oh man, I don't know about this shit, man. And then I watched it and I was like, damn, it's pretty fucking good. I like what they did with it because, in my opinion, this is how you do a remake. You make it your own. You don't fucking remake the movie. You make it your own shit. And I thought it was pretty fun. I thought it was fun. Fuck the haters. I thought it was good. So
Fair enough.
Solid series, no bad entry, unless
Yeah.
you count Cheerleader Massacre. But who counts that, right?
Jim Warnowski, he's done better, man. 'cause
You.
He was responsible for Chopping Mall, which, you know, I consider to be a slasher. It's a slasher.
Yeah, who cares? Robots slashing people
Exactly.
with lasers.
Exactly. Who
I
said
do
the
love
slasher has
how-
to be human?
Exactly.
That's true.
Like literally, if like the intent is to kill, then whatever. It's a slasher movie.
It's people getting picked off one by one. Does it matter who's doing the picking? if
in
it's
one
a-
night in an isolated location. Come on, it's a slasher.
It's the formula, and it's just not. It's a robot. It's the same fucking. It's fun, man. Really, the head explosion. Come on, man. It's fucking great shit. And I love. And you guys know me, man. I love me some shit that's set in malls. Hence, Dawn of the Dead is my favorite movie of all time. I mean, the only way that Chopping Mall could have been probably better if it was set on a boat, and that would have been fucking hilarious, man.
Mall on a boat.
On a fucking boat.
Was that famous mall too? That like Commando and Phantom
Yeah.
of the Mall was shot at too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Was it? Wow, that's cool.
All
Love
right,
that mall.
Singapore Sling.
Oh, JP, you look so fucking
I've
bored.
been up for 27 hours, you fucks.
I
and
don't
we're talking
believe
about
it.
chopping
I
mall.
honestly do not believe it. I think he's just being
27
impatient.
hours.
I
27.
could talk about Shopping Mall for an hour if you
I'm
guys
not gonna lie.
to.
The whole time we've been recording, I have the Criterion channel playing 24/7 in the background, and Gimme Shelter just started, which is one of my favorite films. So like, talk for another hour and a half. I'm watching this while you guys are talking ugly shit. So go on, man. I don't care.
You guys
I
are
love
trying
this
to
film.
put me in the grave.
Tyler's about to put
Love
you
you.
in a grave with this review.
Singapore Sling says he didn't break out the case.
Here we go.
I have
Let's
all
hold
the
on,
movies
like
sitting
copies.
here right now. I just whatever. But
right,
Singapore Sling.
Anyways, moving on. No, I'm just kidding.
Now this is a movie. Wow.
Not as good as last
you are the
Slumber
most
Party.
pretentious motherfucker I've ever met in my life, man. Like, I've watched Singapore Sling a couple times now, and I still cannot make out what the fuck I'm watching.
Dude, this movie is
This
Great.
movie blew my
classic-
mind.
a classic retelling of Otto Preminger's Laura, but through the eyes of Grey Gardens and Sallow.
Dude, you sound so pretentious.
But
Tyler, what
Write
is
that
Is
that?
it
sentence
really a
down.
re- is it
Write that
really a
sentence
retelling, though?
down,
Is it
read
really a
back,
retelling?
and
Or
tell
you
me
just
that
are you just doing that? Are you just saying that, or is
Tyler,
it actually a
where is the
retelling? Because now
Sallow
you're fucking
coming
with me.
from?
dude, like it's a
fuck is this guy talking about?
This
Tyler,
is like the most
I'm here, man.
mismatched
I gotta kinda,
genre
like,
film.
I gotta combat this, man. Where is the Sallow part coming from?
you
I
don't
get that
see
at all.
like you don't see parallels to like the whole mother-daughter.
I see parallels
It's
to
not-
Sallow.
yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, I'm not saying it's like
What?
the same fucking
You can
movie.
find
They're not-
parallels in
like-
anything if you're looking for it, man.
Yeah,
It doesn't
like,
mean it's
sure.
fucking
I don't-
there.
I don't see that at all, man.
dude, like because you're taking it way too literally. Like if you look at it in like
I said 2 words. What are you talking about?
but
All
you're
right,
like because you're
let Tyler review this fucking movie, please.
because you're looking at it way too literally. Jesus. But in addition
All
to
right, I'm a
those
dumbass.
things,
Anyways,
you also
yeah,
get
go on.
some necrophilia, some incest, some sadism, some female on male rape, some disembowelment, some urination, regurgitation, all in a classy black and white presentation. So if that's
Classy.
this is the movie for you. If any of that sounds great.
Have you
But the
seen this
crazy thing,
before?
but the crazy
This-
thing is
no,
like
I've never seen this before.
it's shot like film noir,
It's a
and it
noir.
play-
This is literally what this is. It's Laura. It's Laura, but it's fucked up.
but it's like it's film noir mixed with like sexploitation though too, because if you're just taking it for what you're seeing too, it's like straight sexploitation because all the shit that you're saying is in that realm of sexploitation. So it's like this weird film of like noir and sexploitation, which is
So
I
this
don't know how to
film
take it.
doesn't really need anything, and that's why we have the wonderful special features to kind of like work that out. The director kind of just said, like, dude, like, I like noir movies, and I want to make a noir film. And whatever comes in, like I throw out, and you guys can figure out what it means later because it's just I'm just filming shit. I'm just expressing myself.
I got a question for you. Well, for everybody really. Is the daughter actually the daughter?
No, the daughter's Laura.
Yeah, I mean, I know what her name is, but I'm saying, is she actually the daughter?
No, she's the girl that the detective's looking for that ran away that they found that they thought was murdered 3 years ago. That's her. She's just so fucking brainwashed and she's like she doesn't know who she was anymore. She's held captive and brainwashed, and she like has this whole like other life. She's
But
like,
don't they
She got-
imply?
She
But
got
don't they imply?
Stockholm syndrome?
But don't they imply later on that that's actually not her though? That the
They
real
try-
Laura was actually killed, and like this girl actually took the identity of Laura.
they do kind of like imply that, but
Well, this girl, because the reason why I say that happens is because they
no,
kill
like yeah,
Laura,
like right up. I know what you mean, like right
and
at the
she
end.
gets so involved with shit, and she gets so fucked, and
I
she
think it's-
becomes Laura.
I think it's the unreliable narrator thing, and I think when at the end of the movie when he walks away and says like I know that wasn't like Laura, I think he means like, oh, I know like that wasn't her like
Anymore.
anymore. Exactly. That's what I thought. That's what I thought about this movie. But that's
Well,
the
I always
thing
took
about
it
this
as like
movie.
they killed her. She took over the identity mentally, and like her goal was to kind of convince him that she was Laura, but then he realized at the end is like it's not her. Like he knows it's not her because how could he not know? Because he wouldn't be brainwashed. He wouldn't be fucking crazy. He has nothing to go off of to be nuts. So I guess that's a noir in it. I guess I don't know. It's a
Well,
fucking
it has
weird
like
film, man.
it has like a super classic noir. It like I thought they even did a good job of just like making this movie feel like 40s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
It's shot beautifully, man. Oh
No,
my
sorry,
God.
go.
This has got to be one of the most repulsive, repugnant films
it
I've
just
ever
like
fucking seen in my life that looks so damn beautiful.
from that
Everything that
opening
they're doing
shot
looks so beautiful.
where it's just like raining and that classic like noir music is playing and you have the voiceover, like it just feels like exactly like what it wants to be, but he's just like putting this his own he want this director like wanted to make a noir, but he didn't like, but he also just like wanted to make like his movie. And he just like found a way to like really like put it in this weird shell. I'll get into more of like kind of just like who he was like later on, but like that was like his main influences. He just like really loved noir movies and he just made a bunch of noirs and he just did this like really he just had this really unique way of expressing himself and he liked to like just maybe like provoke like kind of be provocative and like push the envelope. And he like was just he didn't care about like getting like famous. He just like wanted to make what like he wanted to make. And I think that's why like it's like this like you get a movie like this, it's just like so bizarre. But I that's why I think like I like this so much because it's like immediately I just felt like I was just like watching like a classic like smoking noir that and then like you get this opening scene where they're like they're digging this hole. There's like credit bush in it, so you already know this is gonna be like a filthy pervert movie. You get this like cool like noir voiceover. Then they pull this body like out of the bushes, and and then like they're kind of like talking out loud what they're gonna do, like what they're doing, and then one of them just turns to you, and I'm like, "Are you talking to me?" And it just breaks the fourth wall, and I just
So
love
do they
movies.
explain
See,
that?
Tyler, that next.
So do
Oh,
they
sorry.
explain that away? Because I was waiting for because I wasn't gonna watch the features on it, but like, do they talk about why they break the fourth wall in this?
Because they do it. That's just the movie. They just like
Because
that's what the
it
movie.
becomes so it's like not even
It's
like
this
it's
movie at its core too. Is like it's like part of just being like this like black comedy satire, and part of it is like it's like a joke that
yeah,
like
it's
we're in
definitely
the movie,
funny.
like we're
Yeah.
winking at you.
Right. Well, that's one of the things I wanted to
I
bring.
guess, right? Yeah, good enough.
Yeah, well, Tyler, I'm very interested to hear what you have to say about it because I think you're probably higher in this one than I am. Because some of the points I actually agree with you on, but some of the points I think I disagree with you on in terms of, in my opinion, what I feel like the inconsistencies of the film itself. But I want to hear your precise thoughts on this before we kind of like go back and forth on this because obviously you're very high in this film, and I'm very curious what you have to say
Okay,
about
well,
this.
just explain those for the three things I say. When I say like this is like lore, this is about this is the same story about a detective like going searching for like his searching and getting up to the situation with his past love, and it's gonna that and it has like the same parallels to that story with a detective like looking for like this woman that's gone. And then I draw the parallels to Sallow, where it's about like this like story of like oppression and like there's another like parallel where you can also
What
where
do you mean oppression with the daughter and the
or
mother?
like yeah it's
Like
just like with the daughter is just so brainwashed that she's just like a pet. Like the daughter is just like this I the way I interpreted this film is that this daughter is like this like just that is this like escaped like Laura girl that's like completely brainwashed to who she was and like is like almost like reprogrammed to have this like
well,
that's
the
why she has
daughter
all
is
these
also she talks about being raped by her father too,
yeah
though.
and
Like
I
so
think
she's
those
obviously a victim of, that circumstance too, which is very psychologically
and like
traumatizing. Like
I think like that part of that too is even like almost like a false memory that's like instilled like by
she literally breaks it down bit by bit how her dad bends her over and fucks her doggy style, and it goes into great detail. And I got a boner, honestly, listening to the fucking
She
I'm
just
kinda
like I
with Tyler
love
on
how she
this.
just gleefully like looks at like the camera and just
I
explains.
mean, I know
it.
JP did because that was incest. So
I kind of looked at that as a false memory too. Like the way she was like describing it felt like it was like from cue cards. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
and
Yeah.
I feel like you're right there, Tony, because I feel like this is the product of the mom doing obviously
Mom.
doing influencing her some way, right? I don't know because I mean, it's the opening
Mom.
scene, one of the opening scene in the films. Dude, I'm fucking English, man. Straight up.
You're Canadian, but
No, I've fucking my whole family's from England, so I'm gonna say mom. But
well, yeah,
but-
you said it right that time. So
shut up, shut the fuck up, you fucking pumpkin head.
Yo,
motherfucker.
as a side note, I've been listening to a lot of like the top 10 shows from like the 2010s from the 22 Shot Show.
Uh-huh.
And you guys have brought up like the mom shit every fucking episode. It's ridiculous. Because like Christian and like Dave and all them talk about that too.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the difference between Americans and Canadians, I guess. But like in Canada, I mean, our language derives from the English. You guys speak American.
It's English.
No, it's not. You guys speak American.
American in this chat.
Well, yeah,
brother.
because we like to create our own shit.
Yeah,
You
I know.
guys just,
Apparently,
like, copy
Miles
off everyone
and
else.
fucking Gal. Like, what the fuck are you guys talking about, man?
Miles and moms, baby.
Fahrenheit, dog.
But no, anyways, going back to Singapore Sling, the opening scene where, well, one of the opening scenes where the daughter starts sucking the fucking dildo through her mom, or like, you know, basically from her
Mother.
mom's fucking crotch. And it's like, what the fuck, man? I mean, this has got to be deriving from the trauma of her being abused by the father. Is that not where it comes from? Because what kind of same like, or the mom has polluted her mind to the point where she's just able to be like, hey, Laura or daughter, fucking, you know, suck my pinky.
Yeah.
It's really fucking weird.
Yeah, and like there's another movie I'll talk about that's a more modern movie that I think is like very, 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 very related to this film.
Because that, I mean, this movie holds no barriers, man. It starts out and it gives you that shit straight up.
At the end of this, what's really good about this movie is this movie works really good it really works fine as a straightforward movie, but it also gives you just enough room for like interpretation where you can think about whatever you want about these things.
I still,
one of the things.
One scene in the film that I find so actually disturbing is when they basically tie down the dude, use him as a sex slave, they beat him over the head, and then the mom pisses in his face. Like she's literally pissing, and I'm like, man,
It's
dude,
like
like
Saturday
so
night.
so was he a fan of German films too?
You just
like piss porn? Like, I mean, that is just out of it just seems so extreme and like so crazy to throw into the film where I mean, I get it. They're using him as a sex slave and stuff, but like to piss in his face all over him, like, and like the puking on him and stuff is very Japanese. Like, I mean, he's taking things from like, it's really nasty. There's some nasty shit in this.
I think like more of that. See, like, it's tough. Like, it's like you wish you could just have this guy. Like, you could really like get a thought process of what this guy was like thinking at the time. But I think it sounds like he doesn't even know. He just came in like he thought like, and it wasn't even like he was just like thinking I'm gonna think of weird shit for them to do. It just he like thought about just like life, like how he felt about like life in Greece and like culture or Uptown, and this is just like what came out. And like this goes through like a lot of his movies. And like that's like it makes me wonder like if like is this movie just like super like uniquely Greek or.
Yeah, I know. I was wondering that too. Like, I don't really know a lot about Greek film, but every fucking one I see is weird.
Yeah, Island of Death is one that comes to my mind right now. With the goat fucking and like you got that type of shit in there and stuff. Like, there's honestly, you're right though. Like, a lot of Greek films do have a lot of extreme kind of weird fucking shit that's going. They're pushing the envelope. But I mean, this one has, you know, like the pissing and the puking and stuff, which. You know, it's a stereotype to say it's German and Japanese, but I mean, at the time that's what it was associated with because they kind of popularized that stuff. Like the puking was a thing. It's a fetish thing. So, and the pissing was a fetish thing that was known for German and Japanese.
It's like, I think there was a level too of him just wanting to produce something so like boundary pushing and modern when this like in this
What
very
year is
classic
this?
1990.
1990.
Yep, exactly.
And like but like set it in this like very classic like 1940 type movie.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And that's part of like what really works for this movie, and like really just like it's not so much about like it's hard to like describe like because I don't like think I even know what like a lot of this stuff means. I don't know if there's anything any of this stuff like particularly means. It's just like it's about like what you just take away from this, and like I think every time you watch this, like your interpretation of some of these things will change.
Well, in the documentary, did they break down certain things about the
No, because
films?
it wasn't like a documentary about the movie. It was more of like him, and he was already passed on like when they made this. So like you kind of get what he says from archival footage.
Oh, so there's no actual commentary on
No.
this. Man, this would be a fun movie to do a commentary on because holy
All
shit.
the people like involved that like spent time with him and had anything to say about him or this movie like loved him. Like he was
Is
like
there
a
not
big,
a
like
film historian commentary on there?
No,
I don't think so.
it kind of
Huh.
sucks actually because I would love to hear an interpretation of what people would think of some of the stuff because like I said, I mean, we can talk about this film all day, but like at the end of the day, it's like, I
Yeah.
mean, is a right or wrong answer? I don't know.
I
Probably
don't
not.
think there is. I don't think like that was like
I
why
think
he
this
like
shit's
made
all
films.
objective.
I think he just made
Well,
films.
Tyler,
for, like,
one other thing.
I mean, subjective.
Sorry, I apologize. I cut you guys off. Tyler, one of the it's funny that you mentioned before. You kind of alluded to it before, a film that you had mentioned, a more contemporary film or another film in conversation with this, that you were comparing it to because ironically enough, there was another contemporary film that I'll bring up after the fact where a lot of the same issues that I had with this film I had with that film kind of parallels. So I'm curious what you were saying before of like another film that you were putting in comparison to that.
well, just in general,
Unless I'm jumping ahead.
no, like no, like well, I have it's like this is kind of like what I kind of like had this like marked down to talk about like after I was done talking about the movie, but I'll bring
Okay,
it
I'm
up.
sorry, I
Like,
apologize.
yeah, no, I'll bring it up. That's it's false. Just I'll bring it up. So I think the very obvious like comparison or just like sphere of influence here is how many fucking times has Yorgos Lanthimos seen this movie? Um,
That's fair.
I think
Is
this
that the
movie has
killing of a sacred deer, dude?
yeah, and he
Right.
made a
I'm sure he
film called
worships this movie.
Dogtooth. He made a film called Dogtooth with a character named Mother, who is
Which is a great film.
the same actress who plays Mother in this movie.
You know what? I've actually never seen. I know about Dogtooth.
And Dogtooth is basically like it's another film where it's people brainwashed and all they know is what they're taught inside these walls. And that's basically what the movie's about. And it's like that movie's way more like violent and just like 20 years later of like boundary pushing.
So this, getting on the whole topic of boundary pushing, man. What do you make of the scene where she's like molesting food in her vagina, and it's straight up? I mean,
It's like
we're
what
seeing
was that, like
open
a kiwi?
vagina, and we're
was that,
seeing
a
fucking
kiwi?
food going in there, and it's like,
Yeah, that
what
part
the
is nasty.
it's fucking really nasty. But like,
That's
what do
just
you
like
make?
a regular Saturday night.
Yeah,
There's just
shit,
like
I don't know
there's
what
so
the
much.
fuck. I'm
There's
so
just like oh man, there's just so much like grotesque shit in here, and it
is
just
it just the insanity of the character that just doing crazy shit?
I think
Because
so. I
like,
think like they just the movie. It's just these characters, and this is why like the other parallel I brought up was the documentary Grey Gardens, which is about this. There's even like a movie made about him, but it's this famous documentary about this like whacked out like mother and daughter living in this like dilapidated like old like mansion like away from the rest of society, and they're just like they're in their own like world within these walls, and it's like also like a black and white shot film, and it just like
Very good film.
yeah, and because it's a documentary, like obviously they're like talking to the camera, so that's where I kind of like saw some parallels. Like this is like Grey Gardens,
yeah, it's interesting.
but
Yeah, I can see that.
yeah, like the plot in this is kind of loose. Where like yeah, you have like you have that opening scene where they're like burying a body, and then the detective has his voiceover and he tells you what's going on. He's like looking for his love Laura, and he crawls into like their car for safety. He's just there that night. You just roll with it, and he like then goes to the house and like collapses on the door, and they kind of find them, and he's trying to find information about like this girl Laura he's looking for, which is his girlfriend, that they thought everyone thinks is dead because they found a dead girl in her apartment in Laura's clothes, and he feels like he actually knows like that at the time he thinks like they know where she is and she's safe. Like he's like kind of in that like level of delusion or she's dead. But either way, like he feels like the answer is with them. So that's why he like just endures this like torture from these women. Um, like there's some like real fucking weird stuff, like him getting like electrocuted while one of the other ladies like molests them or rapes them, I should say. Yeah, this movie goes there. And it's just like it's you almost like don't believe these are just like real people acting, but
It's crazy too, man, because like this movie, I'm not sure how long it runs. What does it run?
just under 2 hours.
Yeah, 112. Like for a movie that's just under 2 hours, man, it is just filled with shit happening. Like there's
It
never a
just
dull moment. It seems like there's always something crazy happening. There's like
it was
what the
just
fuck?
so unpredictable and chaotic while paying like homage to like this like very like very like well like carved out like film genre, and like juxtaposing it with like something completely like different and expressive and like coming together to make this like one really unique thing. And yeah, it's just like I really like this movie a lot. um like I said, we're straightforward, but there's also enough ambiguity where you can kind of like make your own interpretation of what the character's supposed to mean, what the director's trying to say, what actually happens in the movie, who's reliable, who's not reliable. Maybe you think some of it's a dream, maybe you think all of it's a dream. Like there's a lot of things you could take away from this. And I just like I really have to like give it credit for like creating like this movie and like making this like stylistic choice where everything just like it cut really comes together for me. And like the wall breaking is just my favorite. It when a film does that and pulls off as well with this, it really like highlights that undercent of like that really darkly like satirical humor that like I really really like. That's like one of like I think that's such like a hard note to hit in a movie while you keep taking the movie seriously. That it's such like a chef's kiss to hit that sweet spot, and this movie just is one of those films that does that for me. And yeah, that's why I was wondering if this was really just like really uniquely Greek, and like this is just like maybe this film is a big part of Greek culture, or maybe just like this is what Greek filmmaking is, and it's all just like that. And that's why like you see someone like Yargos again, who I think like really takes a lot of I see a lot of
I mean, I've
like a
seen a
lot
lot of
of style in this
Masarakis
movie.
Makarakis' films before, and to be honest, his films are not like this at all. I mean, I shouldn't say at all, but he's done some extreme things. But Island
Yeah.
Yeah,
Death and
I mean,
stuff. But
Island of Death has some fucked up shit in it. I mean,
that's
not
what I'm
to
saying,
like,
Island Death. But I mean,
not to
comparatively
the
to
length
this,
of Seymour Sling, but yeah,
no.
like
I
the
mean,
goat shit. Like,
This is
yeah,
a
I mean,
really
that was probably
sleek.
the one moment that he had was Island of Death. I mean, most of his stuff is
Oh, the
pretty
goat
straight
scene?
up. Yeah,
the goat
Masarakis.
I mean, the
scene.
thing. Oh, sorry. Go.
No,
I was
just
I was just
go
gonna
ahead.
say this is like I was just gonna get to the special features. This is a really sleek release. Got the versatile art, which is something that I always do because I'm like that.
Yeah,
And
such an
it's
interesting like
Yeah, it's
artwork.
just
The other side,
yeah.
such a weird little poster.
And yeah, it's got some the film looks crisp as fuck, like as you would expect. But
it's
the big
almost insane how good it looks. It's
I
like
like I
crystal
was
clear.
mystified like by like the
Yeah,
opening.
you're
It makes
blown
you wonder
away
why
like
this.
every 5 seconds.
It's amazing why this wasn't a 4K.
Yeah, I'm really surprised it wasn't, but I'll take it.
Like
Like I'm
it,
like
it
this
looks like
is
one. It looks like one. It's
this
so
might be my favorite one of my favorite releases like I bought in this year so far.
Is that a straight Vinegar Syndrome release?
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
462.
So yeah, there's some new interviews with some people in this movie. But the main like feature that you're is there's an 80-minute doc called Directing Hell, which it's a documentary basically about exploring the work of the director Nikos Nikolaitis. Who, yeah, it has a lot of he used a lot of the same people in his movies. So even a lot of the same, all the people that there's little interviews of who were people in Singapore Sling, um, they all were in like this documentary and kind of like had things to say and had some stuff to say. So you get a little insight about him that like he really didn't care about like getting famous. He didn't care about like spending a lot more money to try to like and spending more like trying to get bigger budgets to like promote his films in America. He liked having like small budgets and then just having the freedom to do whatever you wanted. So that's why you
He
get
was an
films like
artist.
this. Yeah, he didn't. He literally he didn't take filmmaking seriously. Like he just it was something he did, and it was kind of just like painting for him. You know what I mean?
Well, he took it
Yeah,
serious on his level.
he took it like he says it's weird. Like he says a lot in like the commentaries. Like I don't take like filmmaking serious.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't believe, like, I mean, you watch this movie, it's
Yeah,
shot,
yeah.
like
Well, he
everything
like there's
about it
also
is
like he
really
was
well
very
done.
like he had an explosive like uh personality because that was like something a lot of people had to say about him. But you get a little tidbit of a lot of
Yeah,
his
but so did
of like
Fulci, man. A lot of people hated working with Fulci too. So
yeah, I guess he was kind of nuts, but everybody that like that all these people like seem to really respect him. And yeah, you the way like the doc works, it kind of runs quickly through all his movies. I really wish to spend more time on Singapore Sling because even like him himself was like, this was the most fun I had making the movie. This movie was probably my favorite one. So and it's all spread out kind of equally and but you kind of get like a lot of like little like previews into his other films, and a lot of them seem very similar to Singapore Sling. Some seem more of like hard-boiled crime films, but they all like seem to have some sense of like eroticism and uh like enigmatic qualities like he has in that like noir foundation. So he really just like he this is probably obvious the most notorious one of the bunch, but he really just made what he wanted. It seems like he really liked making these types of movies, and he just didn't care what anyone else had to say about it. But it really made me want to check out a lot some of his other stuff because it looked like very in line with this. And if I really like this, I would definitely check out some of his other work. And he obviously have this like really like loyal like following of people that like still work in Greek cinema today. So this is definitely a release I'd recommend. It's pretty reasonably priced because it's only a Blu-ray and it's just a regular Vinegar Syndrome. So it's probably only somewhere in the ballpark of like $25 with the slip. But yeah, Singapore Sling. One of my favorite first time discoveries of the year. I'm gonna give this one a hot 8.5.
8.5, that's it? Shit, I think you're gonna be higher
Yeah.
than that. You are an interesting cat, that's for sure.
8.5's high for you.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, so that's it. Let's get into the featured review, which is going to be what year is this? 1965?
65.
1965, yeah. Dr. Terror's House of Horrors.
Which is, I believe, the first Amicus production.
I believe it is the first Amicus. Yeah, I think it is the first one. Yeah. Which, kind of spawned, the whole Amicus, thing that are known for is anthologies, right? I think they did 6 or 7 major anthology films. So, which is crazy because they really only produce they produce other films besides horror films, but in their horror line, it was mostly anthologies, really was.
The
But
art on this one is crisp. This is
The
like,
art.
yeah, I think this
Yeah,
is
it's good.
really, really nice.
Yeah, so what's the plot, Moods?
okay, so the plot is it's funny, man. This whole movie to me is like, if you watch this film for the first time, like say right now, you're watching this going, I have seen all this before. But guess what? This is the original.
1965.
This is the original, man. All these stories and twists and stuff have been ripped off multiple times throughout the years. But I mean, this is, it's an original film from 1965. I think the majority of these stories, I do have a question about one of the stories, but we'll get into that. So this is directed by one of my homeboys, Freddie Francis. I love Freddie Francis. He was known for directing tons of fucking Amicus stuff and great films. We'll get into that maybe later. But quick little synopsis: aboard a British train, mysterious fortune teller, Dr. It says Shrek on here. I thought they call him. Is that what his name is actually in the film?
Shrek is German for terror.
Okay.
Yeah, they call him Shrek in the movie.
Do they actually? Okay.
German for ogre. Yeah.
He uses tarot cards to read the futures of 5 fellow passengers. So our Dr. Shrek is played by Peter Cushing, who basically steps onto this car, and it's filled with our main characters, which is made up of Christopher Lee, Neil McCallan's in there. Who else is in there?
Donald Sutherland.
Donald Sutherland's one of the main characters. Just trying to go through here. I'm trying to figure out who is. I think Alan Freeman's one of them too. And
White Castle.
Yeah, and so they have a discussion about tarot cards and stuff like that, and he says he can read their futures, and it gets into our anthology. First story is called simply, and I love this about 60s anthology shows. Like, I mean, when they have names, it's just called Werewolf. It's fucking great, man. It's super great. It's just called Werewolf, and it stars Neil McCallan in it. Who wants to start? I mean, Werewolf. I mean, anthologies are hard to talk about because if you haven't seen this, you don't really want to give away the fucking twist.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of people haven't seen this, even though you probably seen this.
I hadn't.
Yeah, it's a first time watch for me too.
Really? Okay.
I seen all the other. The only one I hadn't seen is this and Torture Garden, but I've seen all the other.
You kind of know, you kind of can figure out how all of them are going to end pretty early on, I think, but I don't think that like really ruins them or like makes it
Well, it's like a monkey's paw kind of tail. Looks like,
Yeah, it's like, and I don't think it makes it unsatisfying because like there's just something I think the thing about this is like it has such a nice charm from the era, and it kind of feels like somewhere to me it felt somewhere in between to me to like Tales from the Crypt and the Twilight Zone, like somewhere in the middle.
This short reminds me of The Crate from Creepshow.
Yeah, that's cool. You can see that.
I mean, it just has those vibes to it, man. I just feel like that story might have been influenced by this, where I feel like one of these stories has, these influences.
I mean, yeah, you're probably right. Just the fact that like by accident you find like a secret compartment in a fucking like chunk in the house that you've never seen before, and there's this new supernatural bullshit that you're gonna have to deal with.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I got that vibe right away from it. I'm just like, it's hard not to watch these old films. I mean, it's actually quite interesting if you go into a little bit of a backstory of the guy. I always forget his name, but he's the guy that started up Amicus, and he was super influenced from Dead of Night, and that's kind of what influenced him to start up his own company and stuff like that. But he started writing he wrote these stories right after Dead of Night came out in 45, 46?
I think
yeah.
It's 45.
So he wrote these stories shortly after that anthology came out, and then they finally got produced, obviously, in 65 or whatever, after Amicus started up, after they started the company and shit. It's pretty interesting. That's just like 20 years passed, and then these finally got produced and stuff like that. But I thought it was kind of interesting. But so what are you guys' thoughts on the first story?
I think it's pretty good.
It's solid.
I think it's pretty good.
I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it, but
it was like a solid whodunit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was okay.
I feel like to me, there's one of these that is like the clear standout. But all around, I think like they're all good, but they're like not like long enough like to really like build up anything like that like insane.
I think that's kind of I think that's kind of the beauty of these shorts, though, is that like they were great ideas, and you didn't want to overstay their welcome. Like they're short and sweet,
no,
and I think they all have that good payoff.
Yeah, I think that was actually part of like maybe like not that like they were like bad, but these all felt like you said they're very short, which was like you really don't see anthologies that often. They're just like 5 like short tales like this with like a solid wraparound. This is
Well,
like
back then you did.
Well, that
I
was the
haven't seen
point.
that
Amicus
many.
always did this. They did anthologies properly, and when I talk about anthologies, I always talk about Amicus and how they did it properly. Where what we get a lot now today is just a compilation of shorts. Those aren't anthologies.
Yeah,
People
Right.
tend
this
to call them
is
anthologies, but they're not. This is an anthology. You start with a wraparound, it goes in and out of it, and then it ends. Right, but it's
Yeah.
5 shorts. I think this is
I think
superior
first of all, I think
filmmaking.
the setup is pretty solid. Like I like the tarot card on the train thing. I think that's pretty cool. Obviously, we all see where it's going because we've seen so many anthologies do the
Exactly.
exact same thing.
If you can put
including
yourself
ones
into
that-
1965
ones
mind
that
frame,
Amicus did.
right? If you could put yourself into the time frame of this in 1965, where this was really, really fucking original. Imagine watching this for the first time in 1965.
yeah. I've always felt like the earliest like real like anthology movie I've seen was something like the original like Tales from the Crypt or Vault or whatever one came first.
Which is
like
also Amicus.
yeah, like well, that's probably why like I thought they felt
Yeah.
like similar, and this predates that. But like this has got
Well,
like
they're
so
all
much,
they
like,
all sort of
star
have
power.
it all is derivative from the EC comics, right? Like they're all
Yeah.
sort of like a similar format in terms of like usually like a twist or something,
Like a morality tale.
a morality tale, a
Yeah.
comeuppance, stuff like that. And
I mean, in this case, I mean, it's the classic anthology thing where they all have the twist, right?
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
So
I
I
like the
felt
twist
like-
on the first one. Like it's almost like the only thing that you possibly could have done, but they did it, and I don't know, it was nice and it was classic.
but again, it's 1965. Like, I don't think people had really seen that type of. I mean, anthologies
Well,
weren't
that's the
overly
thing. That's why,
popular.
like, these like
They-
feel like really
they probably
classic
didn't, they haven't
stories.
seen them in film, but
Yeah,
in comics,
In comics, for
yes.
sure, for sure. But I mean, not. I mean, for the average person to be in those years watching or doing both, probably not. Right? You either probably had the comic heads, you probably had the movie heads,
Yeah.
and but I mean, yeah, I mean, you see this coming, but I fucking like it, man. I think it's good. I think it's cool,
Mhm.
man. I think it's really
one
cool.
thing about the length though that I felt like I almost wanted each one to be a little bit longer because I felt
That's like a good thing in anthologies, though.
yeah.
Like
So,
you
and,
don't
like,
ever
I-
want them to feel too long.
that's
You
why
want
like
them to
I
feel a little bit.
I thought it
long.
was also a strength that they were short. That's why it's kind of weird. But I felt like sometimes like the real satisfaction of it, like even in this first one, like is like what got cut out. Like it
You know
kind of
what, man? I think that's what makes the anthology format so special is like you can do these stories that they have a full narrative and a twist in like a short 20 minutes. I think
This
that's brilliant.
motherfucker
I
wants
think it's
every
actually hard to do.
anthology to have a whole movie in between it, like quiet.
no, like I even mean like I even just mean like a couple
Right.
months.
This movie runs just under 100 minutes. It has 5 full-length shorts.
Yeah, like
if that
it's
makes
Plus
sense.
a
And a
wraparound.
wraparound, which has
It's-
actually got a lot of time in the film too. It's
That's
crazy.
why I say like it's a strength of it, but like I also like this is this story is a good example where I wish it like just had like a couple more minutes so we could have like really got the satisfaction of the ending because
I
it
don't
does
know.
I
just
think
kinda,
it's
like, end.
perfect.
I think this
like
one.
how
I think
these
this one
are.
wouldn't benefit from being longer. To be honest, Werewolf. I think you. I mean, I think what it does it in a great length. There might be one maybe that I think maybe could have a little bit longer, just because I actually really like the short so much. But
I actually think that Voodoo could. I didn't like Voodoo at all.
Yeah, we'll get to that one.
okay, so the second story is called Creeping Vine. And I know that JP probably could vouch for me on this one, but man, dude, I mean, it probably isn't, but you can't help notice like this contamination 0.7. Come on, man. Like, doesn't it just remind you of that shit?
Yeah,
It totally
that
does.
and Stephen King segment from Creep Show.
Exactly. Yeah. But the first thing reminded me is this contamination 7, like just the air.
I like this one a lot too.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one was pretty cool.
So basically it's simple, man. It's got your main star Alan Freeman's in it, and they return from a trip. I don't know where they're coming back from, France or somewhere, and they come home, and there's this vine that's outside their house, and it just keeps growing and growing. They can't do anything about it. They cut it down and starts acting all crazy and shit like that, and yeah, it just goes from bad to worse.
Murderous plant.
I like the whole idea of this band. And you know, the cool thing about like this type of story for me is like, because they don't really get into like, it's not caused from like toxic spill. It's not caused from like, there's no real reason for it, but it's just
because we weren't worried about pollution in 1965 yet, so
no,
nobody was talking about that yet.
Right.
No,
like in this one, like the doctor's just like, what if plants gain like the ability to think? You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like
it's more
literally
like
just
50s
that.
sci-fi.
It's just
But
the
they
next
break it down.
evolutionary cycle.
They break it down actually really cool in it, where they show the Venus flies trap, where like certain plants will actually get, you know, carnivorous or whatever they call it, right? And they'll eat flies and stuff like that. I'm like, well, that's what's happening here. It's just a bigger version of it. I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool.
It's Audrey.
But I mean, 1965, like how many times did you see on film where a dog got fucking annihilated? Like it just, I just feel like it just
In
didn't happen
1965, one.
It won.
Did you guys notice that like the dog barking was like obviously a man barking into like a microphone? It was just like
I didn't notice that.
And
but
that's
next time I watch it, I'll definitely pay attention for that.
It could be.
I like the way this one was shot. Like when after one of the scientists was killed by the vines and like the next person like busted in the door, you could like see like in the right of the frame like the vines just slithering out the window, like out of the person's like point of view as they're running in. Like stuff like that I thought was really cool.
Yeah. There's some good shots, man. It's pretty cool actually, because like Bernard Lee was in this film, who played like the commander in the Bond films, and he was like super famous at this point. And I'm like, that's cool that he just went and did this fucking short anthology segment for this film. I'm like, that's pretty cool, man. But if anybody knows Bond films but me. But anyways.
I'm awful with Bond films.
No. But and yeah, he was the commander, like in the original, I don't know. Oh shit, man. He was there for 20 years at least.
I wish I was better versed in Bond movies. I actually have a poster behind me.
I'm like,
I thought about
embarrassing.
picking up that Blu-ray set one day, but never got.
But
to
my
it.
wife, she's a massive Bond head.
Oh, then she would know Bernard Lee. Just mention the name then, because he's the original commander. So yeah.
I just
He's
had
in
like
every
no
film for
one-
like 20 fucking years, something like that. It's crazy.
Damn.
So, yeah.
I had like no one around me like growing up that like was a Bond fan.
Oh, I was a
so
Bond
saw
dork
that
growing.
stuff.
I've seen every Bond movie so many
I
fucking
played
times,
the hell out of
GoldenEye.
GoldenEye.
Except for the Pierce Brosnan.
Love Goldeneye.
That's about
GoldenEye's the only one
extent
I've
of
seen
my
multiple
Bond.
times.
Millennial sleepover classic.
Yeah.
I think I've
Um,
probably seen every Bond movie at least once, but
You guys
not enough
play-
to be like really like resonate.
Did you guys play SummerSlam 2000 on N64? Or
Probably.
was that just like a very like niche thing that my group of friends
I am
did?
not sure.
I think you're talking about WrestleMania 2000.
WrestleMania, or maybe it was WrestleMania 2000.
This
Yeah, there's
fucking
a-
guy, don't ever
Did-
listen to anything.
Did
he
it have like a
says,
green
bro.
label on it? That's why I thought it was SummerSlam, because it had like a green title on it.
Yeah, you're thinking of WrestleMania 2000.
Yeah, I think it was hype. I remember that.
Great
was
How the
game.
hell did we just go from James Bond? Oh, okay. It's N64.
Voodoo, Creeping Vine. Okay, so Creeping Vine we all liked.
Yeah, Creeping Vine's good, man. I think it's pretty cool. I mean, these are hard. I just don't want to give them away because I feel like, you know, again, people
Yeah.
haven't
They're
seen
brief.
this. But so the third story is called Voodoo, and it stars Roy Castle, who actually was a
Voodoo.
he was a jazz artist, right? So
Oh.
it made sense. Like he's actually really playing that stuff in the short, right? So well,
Boring.
I can feel like, yeah, some people don't
I like
this
this one actually.
Of course.
I thought it was good.
I just like it. I like how it just has like, oh, it just makes it.
It
They
was, like,
really
goofy.
put it
It's
out
just,
there,
like
like
that he's just like stealing the guy's shit.
yeah, it's the fucking white dude still. I mean, it's got a lot of commentary. I mean, this short has a lot of commentary in it. You know, it's got a lot of commentary, but the white man stealing shit from the black man. I mean, obviously, that's been a thing forever in music, right? With jazz
Yep,
and
y'all are
rock and
all a
roll and
bunch of
stuff like
pieces
that.
of shit.
I love how
The
they were
white
not gonna
man
lie,
stole all that shit. But I mean, it's
forgot I was
got
in this
commentary
conversation.
on it's
I
got
was
commentary
wondering.
on
watching
capitalism.
this
I mean,
film, and I'm like, oh shit, what the fuck? What did I miss?
it's
I'm
got
watching this film,
commentary on
sorry.
capitalism.
I
All
just
that
like
type of
it
shit.
was
It's
like
pretty good.
I just like loved how they were just like you can't ever play that outside of here. He's like okay, and the first thing he does, it's like,
Yeah.
all right,
Well,
I love that dude is just like a grade A moron. His band is like
Yeah.
Biff Bailey and his band. I love that that's just what the band is called.
Right.
Of course they're gonna play some fucking voodoo music.
But I like the karma though in it though. It's like,
yeah, he
the
gets
commentary,
it's good. He gets his comeuppance.
the commentary is crazy, man, because like, even at this point, people knew that white people were stealing the shit out of black music and stuff like that. And, this is karma, man. It's going to come back to haunt you. And this is what happens. Right. So I kind of like the whole thing.
I like it.
I don't mind it. I like what they're saying in the shit. Kind of cool.
Yeah, the synthology is also in the same universe as Child's Play, since the voodoo god in this anthology is Damballa,
Yep.
Right.
which
Holy
is who
shit,
Chucky worships.
didn't even fucking put that together. That's fucking amazing.
Yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
noticed that as well.
That is fucking I didn't even notice. Never even put that together. That's awesome.
All right. And the next one
Is called Disembodied Hand,
I
which
think this is my favorite one.
we can this is the short that's starring Christopher Lee, and it's my favorite too. You can't help but notice, man, the correlations to the hand.
This is just like this was the standout best one, like clear cut best one to me.
The Oliver Stone movie,
For sure.
The Hand. It's
Which I'm a
literally
big fan of as well.
Yeah, I like that movie too, but this is obviously where he got his inspiration for this.
Probably.
The crazy thing about this short though, the story is very similar to, Oliver Stone's, but is the effects in this for 1965 are really fucking good.
Yeah.
Like that hand is walking, like it's walking, right? It's crawling around like really good. Like it looks really fucking good. And I'm thinking, man, like, that's obviously animatronics. There's no CG back in those days. Like they did something very good there. And like, I can't figure out how the fuck they did it, but they did it.
I think what helps this short too is like you almost already get like a little bit. You almost already get like a good dose of character development of Christopher Lee before his short starts. So
It's the greatest joke that they play on him too, right? The monkey.
Yeah, so you already know he's an asshole, like
For
before,
real.
like right when it sure starts.
What an insult to your intelligence.
Dude, it's one of the funniest moments I think in cinema, man, because like it's like you think he's this smart ass motherfucker and shit, and he's like, oh yeah, you're nobody, you can't paint shit and stuff, and he's like, well, we got this painting from this artist that we really want you to take a look at, and they show him the painting, and then they reveal who it is, and it's a fucking monkey.
And he's just like fucking glowing all over this shit, just straight glaze in this fucking painting. It's like it's the greatest thing he's ever seen in his life. Fucking Dunstan checks in, starts walking in.
Oh man.
It's fucking brilliant, man. So good. So good.
But yeah, big mistake trying to play a trick on fucking Christopher Lee, right?
But
That's gonna come and like fucking bite you in the ass.
But this is how you make like a full length short, though. Like, it's got this character development with both these leads. And then, obviously to play the joke in Christopher Lee, and then something happens with Christopher Lee and the artists and stuff. And then it comes full circle on him. Like, it's fucking awesome, man. This is a good short. This is a really, really good short. I can see how this would be influencing some people. Like, is there any other films besides Oliver Stone? Like, because Oliver Stone's film, I never fact checked this, but I'm assuming that his movie is taken from this idea because it's the same fucking thing, right?
What about the Addams Family? Like, what came first? Because you had like
The Addams Family was after.
Okay, so yeah, like maybe this was like the first severed hand like film thing.
But
I'm
I
not
feel
sure.
like there was a severed hand story before this.
Maybe in a comic.
Yeah, it could be in a comic or so. I don't know. I feel like there was something before, but anyways, I feel like Oliver Stone's story is based on this. It just has to be because I mean, this was pretty popular, right, for the time. But um, yeah, I mean, the whole narrative in this short is fucking fantastic. It's like it's karma, right? Shit, fuck.
He just like he gets to play such like a cool like smug villain, and he's like super committed to it. It just like it makes it. He's got like that's what carries this one for me. He's got like so much charisma, like playing this like art villain.
I mean, I guess the whole moral of the tale is kind of what goes around comes around, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's when you really get the full like satisfaction of what happens, and maybe that's what I was like craving, like I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, this one really kind of does it full circle on it in itself, besides the wraparound kind of thing. But yeah, this is probably my favorite short in the anthology. So moving along into the fifth story with final story, which is called Vampire. And this one stars a very young Donald Sutherland. And it's kind of another tale of someone returning home from a holiday. Well, he actually returning home to America with his French bride. And she's not all that she seems to be. I guess that's kind of spoiler material. I don't know how you even fucking tell the story.
It's called
definitely
Vampire,
not.
bro.
It's definitely not a spoiler, but it's definitely like a direction. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
just because she may not be what she is doesn't mean she is what she is.
Right. Man, there's actually one funny point in this short where I noticed, and I don't know if you guys noticed it, but I noticed it when Donald Sutherland's character is leaving the house, and he says something, and he says "a," like a total Canadian, because he's actually Canadian.
Oh, I think I did catch that.
He throws out the A, and I actually
was
started laughing. I even noted it in my notes.
I had no idea he was Canadian.
Yeah, and he says A, like he didn't even need to say it. Like he just said it because he's more from the East Coast. I think that's where he's from, right? So makes a little bit more sense why he would say that. But I actually started laughing out loud. I was like, oh, I wonder if anyone else is gonna catch that. You caught that, Tyler?
Yeah,
Where he
I
says
remember
A,
it now.
he totally
I thought
does.
that was kind of weird. I was like,
Yeah, no, he's Canadian, so yeah. But fuck, man. So I mean, speaking of effects, like the hand effect in the disembodied hand is fantastic. I wouldn't say so much about the flying bats in this one.
I love the flying bat.
I would
Like
say
just
it's
like
great.
the
It's fun, but it's
cheap
not
ass
great.
glowing eyes. It was
Right.
so goofy.
ran out of
It's-
budget.
It's so like, oh fuck, it feels like early Hammer, like just all those early kind of fucking vampire films that use those bats that were literally attached to
Strings.
the strings. Like that's what it was. So, but
I was
I
cool with
actually
it.
like this story though. I think
Yeah,
it's
I
really
like
good.
this story too.
Yeah.
I pretty much
sweet.
like them all. The only one I don't care for is Voodoo.
Which is kind of funny because that one actually has the most commentary, the most things actually going on in the story. I mean, like I said, with the, White stealing the music and stuff. I mean, there's a lot to say there. I mean, this is 1965. You got to remember the time period that this is being made. This is actually, in my opinion, kind of the more risky story in there because, like, 1965, man. I mean, we're dealing with some major race shit in North America. Well, in the United States. That could be touchy if you really actually look at the story, right? So, I mean, we don't have to get too much into that political stuff, but yeah, I mean that's I think it
Yeah,
passes.
no, I definitely in terms of what it's like, the commentary is the more interesting part.
Yeah.
I just thought that it is boring before any of that happens.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, man, the lead, he wasn't really an actor. I don't think Roy Castle wasn't an actor. He was actually a musician. He was the guy really playing that shit. So he wasn't really he was always goofy. He had this weird charismatic goofiness to him that was actually kind of annoying because he didn't really know how to act that well. So, but
I mean, for me, honestly, like the musical number sequences in that segment were probably my favorite. Period. Like I loved like when he actually started playing like the voodoo music, how like it was just like a whirlwind of everything in the fucking room just driving people like insane, and they just ran away.
Yeah, I thought the composition of the music was actually really cool because what they took from the voodoo sequences and turned it into the jazz music was actually quite interesting because you could hear it in there, but like whoever composed that actually did a really good. I don't know if he composed it himself, he probably did, but it's actually really interesting how they did that. So pretty cool.
Yeah, I like
I
that.
liked it.
I liked his band members. Like they're really funny. I like how they kept doing like the extreme close up on the fat guy like playing the flute. Like that made me laugh.
Nice, nice.
But in terms of endings, though, I would say like the voodoo ending was probably my least favorite out of all of them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. This
For
one
sure.
had a good ending, this last one.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I like
Yeah, I
the
love the twist on that.
yeah, the twist in this one, man. I mean, we've seen this happen later on after this and stuff too, right? But I mean, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I
It
mean,
was so cheesy, and then just the last final shot was so funny.
but it's like it's just it's cool that like you put yourself in this time period and like how he is writing this and stuff, and that's really fucking cool, man. I like that. You know, there's only fucking room. You know, I like that. But then of course the wraparound, and then we get what happens with the wraparound and stuff like that. And I mean, I think it's fucking awesome. I think it's one of the cool scenes. It actually kind of reminds me. I mean, I'm not saying Fulci ripped that off too, but it has that type
The
of like
Beyond.
atmosphere with the Beyond kind of thing, right? It kind of has that thing kind of going on too. But
I fucking loved the wraparound on this.
yeah, it's great.
Like it's such a classic fucking trope, but you can tell it was like an OG, and it just felt
Yeah.
so authentic. You know what I
Super
mean?
authentic.
Like imagine being like in the theater in 1965 and seeing that as like the final twist of the movie and just getting your fucking shitter blown out.
That's what I
Getting
try
some
to
chills.
that's what I try to put myself into when I watch these two. I'm like, could you imagine watching this in 1965? Like all these stories would have been crazy, but that wraparound, dude, would have floored you. Your shitter would have been all over your popcorn.
Right. Like just
So-
watching, I'm just like, it's so fucking awesome. Even after seeing like it 100 times before, just knowing that like it came from this,
Right.
it just felt so rich.
Mm. Yeah, no, I think it's pretty good epilogue.
Yeah, it's really good, man. Really good.
And like I said, I like the tarot card set up, and I like the idea of them being on a train and stuff. It's cool.
I really, really, really loved like the final shot that was like put into like the end credits of the guys just walking into the fog. Cause you just like you know where they're at, you don't know what's like laying ahead, but you just watch them just being like, well, fuck it, let's see what goes. So you just watch them walk away until they're not there anymore.
Yep. All right. So I guess ratings on this bad puppy.
Yeah.
Let's start with Tyler.
I like this movie a little bit more a couple days after watching it. Not that I didn't like it the first time, and I definitely would watch this again. This feels like something I'd want to bust out like right around Halloween. I'll give this one a real solid 7.
Whoa. Higher than I thought for you. Tony.
8. Very solid anthology. Pretty much on
Very
par
nice.
with like some of my favorite of like the Amicus anthologies. Like it fits perfectly in line with the rest of them.
And Dan, did you watch this? Dan is muted. Dan.
Dan's watching.
He's lost in his
Shelter.
movie. Did you watch
Sorry,
this
what's up?
movie, Dan?
What film?
Dr.
Oh,
Terror.
yeah, it's a good one. What about it?
Would you rate it?
6. Why not?
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead with a 7. And Moodz.
It's a good question. So what did everyone give you? You gave it a 7. What'd you give it, Dan? 6?
6. Yeah.
Tony gave it an 8. Tyler gave it a 7, which shocked me.
Wow. You know, I never even wrote down a rating for this. It's really interesting. I would probably come in at an 8 on this one also. It's probably my second favorite and Amicus anthology behind Tales from the Crypt.
I really like Asylum as well.
Yeah, I saw
Asylum's very solid.
right there. Vault of Horror is right there. I actually really like Vault. From Beyond the Grave is really good.
I like From Beyond the Grave too.
Torture
They
Gardens.
all-
Yeah, I like From
They
Beyond.
all
think-
rock.
I think Torture Garden is my least favorite. The House that Drip Blood always makes me laugh because there's literally no blood in that movie. So, always kind of makes me laugh. But I think Torture Garden might actually be my least favorite one, even though I really like it. There's no misses. The Amicus. So yeah, probably 8. Yeah.
What would you guys vote for your release of the month?
So are we voting on the ones that we reviewed?
Any of them? If you watched a different one that you think's the release of the month?
Oh man, I can't even fucking. It's this Spectors, Maya, hands fucking down. 2 Italian films. It's Italian cinema is my forte. I love this shit. This is by far my favorite. I mean, this was a great release for me. I already had this on Blu-ray, so I mean, to get it on for.
I
mean,
actually am gonna follow you up with the same pick. I don't think that either of the movies are like fantastic, but for a double feature, great double feature, for 2 films that were, you know, at least one of them was relatively harder to see. I think that it's if you're gonna pick up something, this is a good choice, especially if it's during a sale or something. You're getting 2 pretty solid movies that you probably haven't seen, with a lot of atmosphere and stuff. I think it's the pick.
yeah, they look great.
What about you guys?
I'll go first. I'll also say Spectors and Maya. I mean, pretty much for the same reason you guys did. Like the fact that they were so obscure and now they're available in such good quality with so many like special features just jammed on that disc. It's amazing. Like I love The Last Summer Party, but it is like it's a cult classic and everybody already knew about it.
Except
Like
Tyler.
But like Spectors and Maya, it's like late 80s Italian shit is like what I crave, especially movies that I haven't seen.
Like, I mean, these type of releases, if they did this every month, would just be like bonerlicious.
Right, and we have another one coming up with Witch Story.
Exactly. So it's fucking. I mean, they're just killing it with that shit. So.
And for you, Tyler, I assume Singapore Sling. Going south.
I didn't really like this movie. Singapore Sling.
for you. Dan, do you have
You didn't like Going South? Crazy.
Nah, that's all right.
I need to watch it.
I liked it. It was fine.
Dan, do you have a pick?
Well, I'm sorry.
Do you have a favorite of the
This
month?
guy.
I
It was
mean,
your idea.
I'm watching this film. I'm like, I tuned out like an hour ago. Yeah.
Oh, we know. You never said anything during the last review.
I have. I mean, I'm sorry. Blame the Criterion Channel. Yeah, Blind Ambition. Yeah, it's great. I don't care.
Okay. All right, so we're going with it. Sounds like Spectors and Maya is the pick of the month, guys. Pick it up. As for next month, what are you guys doing? Moodz.
Fuck, where's the fuck is my? Oh, here we go. Yeah, so I'm doing Witch Story next month.
Yep.
Some more Italian shit, man.
Because you're
Got-
Crybaby Cheese.
Fuck yeah, dude, I am. Doing Witch. I'm Witch.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
slip on this looks fucking great, though, by the way.
I like it.
Well, you already got your shit. Damn.
Yeah, bro.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's fucking.
mine's in the mail.
Mine hasn't
box.
shipped yet. Shitty. Crazy. right.
Okay, and you, Tyler?
We are gonna go to the Film Movement partner label, and I'm gonna do Shunji. I was all about Lily Choo Choo.
I have no idea what that
That
is.
sounds
What
like a
about you,
Tyler
Tony?
title right there, man.
Yeah, he'll be the only one watching that next month.
Because yeah.
Right. What'd you pick, Tony?
I picked House Where Death Lives, aka Delusion, early 80s slasher movie. Starring the redhead from Squirm. So I'm very excited to watch it.
Nice.
And I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm doing I guess a documentary. It is Mom and Pop, the indie video store boom of the 80s and 90s from Saturn's Core.
I wonder if that'll have a lot of special features on it.
Probably not. Maybe extended interview. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I can list them off for you right now, actually.
Okay.
So we have an audio commentary
Fuck.
by the director, some bonus interviews, extended interviews,
Oh, there you go.
still galleries, a music video, and a trailer. Honestly, that's pretty light for a Saturn's Core release. Like, their shit's usually fucking
Dude. Some of their shit's like out of control features. It's
Yeah.
What's
crazy.
the actual title of this?
Mom and Pop, the indie video store boom of the 80s/90s.
Yep.
And then
The
Dan,
long
what
title.
are you returning next month to do some porn talk?
I mean, if you guys will have me, I'll talk about something. But if not, I'm not going to interfere with your guys' show. I'm not going.
So are you apologizing right now? Or what?
I'm not. I'm just saying that, like
Just let us
clearly,
know,
like,
dog.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, like, the past hour, I
Tuned out.
did not care about the conversation. I'm watching this film. So if you guys do your own thing, that's fine. I can talk about something. It's your guys' call. It's your show. You want me on?
So you didn't watch Dr. Terrors then?
I did. I just am watching this film. Like, I don't care. I'm watching this film.
Wow, that's some very pretentious shit. Okay, I'm just fucking. So anyways, the feature review next month is going to be a movie called Touch,
Which is the cinematographer release.
Yeah, and that is from 1997, I think 6, 7, something like that. Yeah,
97.
97. Good call. Yeah, got a crazy cast. Looking forward to watching. I know
Before
about
you
it.
end-
I've never seen it, so
Another thing
Can
that
I,
I bought
can
this. Go ahead, Dan.
Oh, I was gonna say, before you guys end, can I promote my own show for a second?
For sure.
Okay, I just want to say, for anybody who's like interested in the adult titles, I just reviewed Stud Hunters from 1984 on my own channel. You can find that on Spotify, YouTube. It's on there. Look it up. New adult titles every week. Look it up. Check it out. That's all I got.
Cool.
there you go.
But yeah, I was just gonna say another thing that I bought this month that I'm very excited to watch is this Bleeding Skull release, like the films of Fabio Salerno, like this underground Italian filmmaker from like the 80s and early 90s who made a bunch of weird, like low budget, crazy Italian shit that's never been available to like English speaking people. So I'm very excited about that too.
That's interesting. I didn't even know
I
about
think I
that
picked
one.
it up. I think I picked it up.
Did you guys get the hey folks, it's intermission time video party?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yeah,
I wanted to, but it sold out like kind of
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah, because I love that type of shit, man.
It's
so
back in stock now.
I'm super excited.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
like,
that's
what's
cool.
sold? Like, because it said the standard and the slipcover sold out. So how the fuck is it back in stock?
I don't know. The standards have been
Money.
They found more in the warehouse.
Oh,
They
because
probably
the stand-
just
well,
they
because
probably
the
just printed
standards
more.
aren't
more.
technically limited, right? It's just the slipcovers,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
then
I
once
think
the
so.
standards sold out at their first run, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
Charlie Band found more.
Right. Okay. Well,
But yeah, so I think that's it, right?
that is it. That is it. I think we've been going for fuck, man. This must be a
4
record.
hours,
Over 4
and a
hours.
half.
Shit.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Well, we're turning into 22 shots length of old because we don't do shows this long anymore. But
Especially not on like no sleep.
yep. All right, guys, we're out of here. That's episode 4. We'll be back episode 5 next month. Check you guys then.
See you in May.
Check you later.
Peace.
See ya.